Fuck it, we'll do it live!
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Bill O'Reilly. So, this is Downloadable Something, or,
Also
Brian
known as
and
the
Lucio's
Brian and Lucio
Trader Time Hour.
Trader minus Travis Hour.
Yeah.
But we love
Travis
him.
moves to LA, so he's dead to us all. So anyway, there's that business wrapped up. Anyway, we're doing a podcast about The Walking Dead, but before we can even get into that, I guess we got to talk about Red Dead Redemption for a second.
We don't have to.
We do,
but-
because everyone thinks it's interesting sitting in the room.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, so yeah, before you even listen to this, you should know by now we're going to spoil some shit. You really can't talk about The Walking Dead game without spoiling some shit, so we're just going to spoil everything.
But also for Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, and honestly, play the game and then listen to this.
Play the game,
if
just
you're,
period.
If you're
It's
interested
great.
in gaming at all, and you haven't played it, turn this off and play that game, and then in 2 months when you've recovered, come back, listen to the podcast, and our inane babble that is about to ensue. I know, because I'm mumbling.
Red Dead Redemption.
Anyway, Red Dead Redemption. So, Arrow brought up the point that it was interesting that I... we're also going to spoil Red Dead Redemption. It's a 25-year-old game, so fucking deal with it. Arrow thinks it's interesting that I appreciated Lee's death in Walking Dead and hated John Marston's death. Is there anything either of you want to add before I give my explanation?
No?
That's about the long and short of it.
Okay, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Lee's death, narratively, fits because the game is built around that story, and it's a very human story. Red Dead Redemption is not a very human story, and I felt like it was trying to ape the styles of cinema, and in a way that was not believable. When the second-to-last mission you kill 600 people, and then 5 seconds later he comes out of a barn for no reason just to get shot to death, when he could throw dynamite or do a video game thing, I just felt like it was really corny and cheesy, and then L.A. Noire did the exact goddamn thing a year later.
Oh, I didn't beat that game, but thank you.
Well, you're gonna hate
It was a
that.
cutscene death.
You're gonna hate the ending because it's goddamn horseshit.
I absolutely agree with you that I noticed that with Red Dead Redemption because you are, a second ago you're shooting 20 people and it's not even a thing.
Yeah.
You get shot, you duck, and you heal again.
Yeah, see,
and-
You spent the
It's-
whole
I
game
just wanted to
miraculously
understand why it was,
surviving.
Because, I do agree with that.
So I definitely noticed that, but as far as the narrative, like it being inconsistent with the narrative itself, it made sense to me because at no point in the entire story is John Marston in
I
control of the
logically
situation.
understood it.
So yeah, I mean,
I just hated it.
it doesn't. Yeah, in that context, if you're looking at the gameplay versus how it then ties in with the actual events of the game, it makes no sense because you're killing 100 people and then you have an issue with 10.
They think they're making a Western movie, but they're not. And you could tell a lot of the things they did after the game was released. Like, they released a bunch of cutscenes as a movie, like it's a movie. But it's not.
Wait, they did that?
Yes, there's like, if you look up on YouTube, there's like an hour-long thing that I swear to God, some cutscenes and some shots of John Marston just riding across the plane. And it's one of the most boring things I've ever seen in my life, because it's not a film. But it thinks it is.
That's
And
bizarre.
it carries itself with the gravitas of a film, and you're just sitting there the whole time going, this is the most boring video game movie I've ever seen. And I've seen them all, and they're all shit. And this one is actually a video game movie.
I can top you. I
And
just
it blows.
remembered that the Advent Children DVD.
You know
the
what?
movie that came out.
You
I
beat
just
me. You
remembered.
just beat me.
Did you remember that?
Remember what? That it
the
sucked?
Advent Children movie. No. It actually came with either a second disc or it was on the DVD disc that showed you the events of the Final Fantasy VII game, but with actual gameplay, and just would
No,
wow. It just showed the conversations, and it was an hour long, and it
Yeah,
just
that's
showed.
hideous.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is.
I mean, games can have cinematic qualities. However, they need to remember what they are. I mean, I think there are some things that you can grab from movies, but video games have such strength that I feel like you're watering down.
It's going to take a long time for them to get over that. Because
Yeah,
for the
I
first
agree.
few decades of film, they thought and treated it like it was a stage play.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You know, it's going to take the Marlon Brando of fucking video games.
But as far as that being a perfect lead, and I will say, Walking Dead, as far as I'm concerned, it's the closest that gaming has gotten to being a cinematic. It was fucking
The Walking Dead is in my top
Beautiful.
3
Easily
games,
in my top 5.
right next to Silent Hill 2.
Easily
and-
in my top 5.
And might replace Silent Hill 2 on this podcast as things I over-reference.
Take a shot.
Take
by the
a
way.
shot, yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna reference
Where's the
Silent Hill
Jameson?
too, by the way, so
And by the way,
get alone in that.
it's a great companion
I
piece
was
to
actually,
Silent
wait,
Hill
what'd you say you were
2.
going to reference, Eru?
I was also gonna reference Silent Hill. Too.
I was also going to reference BioShock 2, actually.
We can get
Yeah.
into that because
Yeah.
there's definitely something to be made there.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. I'm glad. That
So-
wasn't sarcasm. It sounded like
So we
sarcasm.
kind of led in with Red Dead. I guess we should preface a little. If you, like we were saying earlier, if you haven't played The Walking Dead, I was thinking about it within this context. It really...
Lee dies. I just
Yeah,
wanted,
Lee dies.
in case you
Lee
missed
dies.
that, spoiler alert.
For reference, we're talking about Walking Dead Survival Instinct, the $60 game just released by Activision.
Oh, no one
Oh,
bought that.
God.
No one bought that.
I think it's one of the most compelling arguments, and I hate that this is still an argument, but I will just say it. I love that Walking Dead is still one of the most compelling arguments for gaming as an art because, like you're saying, there's a lot of potential for it, you know, in terms of cinematics and kind of how they treat the game. The gameplay lends itself to the story, almost like the opposite. I remember instances where the controls felt wonky, and that added to the tension because
Yes.
you're in a situation where you can't really like
Much
Lee.
like Silent
Lee
Hill
doesn't know
2.
how to handle a gun, and so when you have to handle a gun, you're just
Falls
as
down.
Yes,
Yeah,
I made that joke to
exactly,
Felicia. I went,
exactly.
Lee falls more than a toddler, than 5 million toddlers in their lives. And then, right after I said that, he tripped 6 times. And I'm like, see?
yes.
She's still on episode 1, so hopefully she's not listening to this podcast. Oh, she watched me play the ending, so that's pretty much the ultimate spoiler.
'Cause you made her.
Nothing else matters after that. Oh my
So
god.
okay, where do we start? I guess I'll preface. I'm gonna say that word a lot. I hate to say that. Anyway,
We all got crutches.
I'll say that I've never really played any moral choice or kind of you create the storyline as you go. I mean, there's lots of these games now, obviously, that I missed. Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, or
BioWare.
Yeah,
I
BioWare.
think the original Bioshock really popularized the moral choice.
BioShock. Yeah,
games.
what else?
I would say BioShock and Mass Effect.
Yeah, Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I feel like I said that
But,
right.
but those
Anyway,
two are just so dualistic.
LA
It's
Noir
so
to a
primitive.
point. So yeah,
Yes,
so like
they
I've
are.
never played any of these games. So coming
LA
into
Noire
this
is
one,
not immoral.
Walking Dead made very clear early on that what you pick actually matters, and I guess we'll get to this point when we get to the end.
I wanna
thought it was
specify-
a huge, just real quick, I thought it was a huge strength to the game that, you know, a lot of games sort of tout like, whoa, there's all these different directions you can go and there's multiple endings. I thought one of the best things about Walking Dead was that it was a completely different story based on the decisions you made, but that everyone got to the same ending, and I thought that helped it as far as a narrative.
I wanted to specify what makes it a true moral choice game. I don't think that Mass Effect is a moral choice game. I don't think BioShock is a moral choice game. I mean, they are, but they're not because they're so shallow. Like we covered on a previous episode of this podcast, and like Eru just said, it's so two rails that it's not reality. And in Walking Dead, you don't actually have any real choices. There's very little flexibility in the storyline. You're just choosing what kind of person you want to be in the face of ugliness.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't matter what you say. But
Yes, a lot of
Just
times.
like in real life.
There's this moment in episode 2 where Andy St. John grabs Clem by the hair and yanks her back, and you're pissed, and you have a choice to say, "You fuck her, let her go, or I'll kill you."
Right.
And you know, before you even say anything, it's not going to change anything. He's not going to let her go.
Right.
But you're so angry that you say something, you yell at him.
Yeah.
And,
That-
and I thought that was so different, that I wasn't saying something or doing something in a game to make something happen. I was just reacting in an
Yeah,
emotional
there's
way.
Yeah.
a connection to Lee. There's such a synergizing between the player and Lee. It's not like in Mass Effect. It feels like you're just making Shepard do things to give you things that you want. Like, oh, be nice to this to have this. You know, you don't feel
Same-
like
the same
you're
with Little
Shepard.
Sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and in Walking Dead, you become synonymous with Lee, depending on the type of. I guess if you're a shithead, maybe not. But for me, like, Lee was an extension of me, more so than any other game character that I can honestly think of. You know, so
That's something I do want to mention. I had two female friends of mine play the game, and my mother. And
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, what were they saying? Why was it just like kind of?
Because even when they were trying to calm people down, they felt like he was very aggressive, like he had a lot of anger.
That's funny.
That's actually an interesting point because
I didn't have that experience or feeling.
But we're also men, and we're
Yeah,
playing as
yeah,
a male
exactly.
protagonist, so that I hadn't even considered
Right, so
that.
Yeah, he calms everyone down by yelling at them.
But that wasn't really my
Yeah.
that wasn't my perception at all. I mean, so many times Leah's like, "Hey guys, everything's cool. We don't need to go here." Like I felt like I was playing him. Milk Toast sounds like an insult, but honestly,
Kind of calm, just like
me playing
Wasn't
Lee the
he
way
saying
that
stuff
I
like,
would
"Hey,
be.
back off," or
Yeah, he doesn't say that. He always had this, for me, in my experience, maybe I just hit different buttons than they did, or maybe they have a different experience than I do. I always felt like Lee always had, like, a appealing to your better nature quality to his voice, even when he was yelling, like, "Hey, come on, guys! We're still people!" You know, and one of the things, before we get into this, that I just wanted to mention, because I'll forget otherwise, offhand, that made the Walking Dead show, which is a miserable pile of shit, which made it
That's another note that The Walking Dead as a concept only works in this iteration, in my opinion, and that
Yeah.
it's funny it falls under the, I don't know what you want to call it, the Star Wars rule, where
Yeah.
it's best when the creator has nothing or very
Yes,
little
exactly.
to do with
As
it.
far,
right, yeah.
well, and we're certainly going to get into some Robert Kirkman bashing on here between me and Arrow, if not you, because that's our favorite
Oh
pastime.
man, I have one Kirkman quote that just makes me so mad.
We'll get into it. But the thing I wanted to mention before we move on is a lot of people in the second season of the show hated Dale, and for me, Lee is like Black Dale. Like he has the exact same but the way I played him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I played the game before I started watching the show again, because after I watched the first season, I was like, oh, that was a pile of shit. And then I played the game and loved it. I was like, maybe I should give the show a second chance.
Bad call.
And like, yeah, it was a terrible call. But Dale was the only character besides Shane that I actually liked, and he had a great quote, which is something you'll never hear me say about that show again, which was when he was going to confront Shane in the woods. I can't remember what the exact quote is, but the gist is, you know, it's fine, kill me now. At least I can say the apocalypse didn't beat me. And his point being the world ending didn't turn him into a shithead. And he was being really moralizing and emotional, and everyone who watches that show apparently hated that. But I found like he was the best character because of that. And I actually liked that him and Shane were in the group because both of them were interesting, especially together. And it was very volatile, and it felt like a more symbolic
natural
struggle.
conflict.
Yeah. It felt symbolic and natural at the same time. Then, of course, both of them get offed, and Dale dies in the dumbest possible way. A zombie sneaks up on him in wet, crunchy grass that's knee-high, somehow. I guess Dale's fucking deaf.
That's the problem. Is that the show and the comic only have one story to tell, and that's zombies show up and people die.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The thing that's great about the Walking Dead game is it's not about the zombies at all. They're just there. It's really not about them.
They're
it's
the
about
conflict,
the people.
I mean, yeah.
Right. Well, even Kirkman understands that zombie fiction isn't about zombies. It's about what
Does he?
Does he?
Does
I don't
he?
know that he does.
That is so shallow.
Because every character is so far from a human being. Like Michonne, she's just a black chick ninja. And then the governor, he's got a tank. He cuts arms off because, haha, he
Yeah,
rapes
he's a
people.
psychopath.
Whoa!
They have another villain, Deacon, who's also a crazy psychopath. He's a governor knockoff.
Yeah,
It's just, ugh.
I don't know what your
Stinks as a
quote
writer.
was, and I don't have an exact quote, but yeah, I remember reading an interview with Kirkman where he basically said that like The Walking Dead started off as almost a break from regular comics, and he wanted to do something kind of realistic, and that struck me as just insane, especially with like you just said with characters like Michonne and the governor, which I remember reading the first volume of the comic, and I thought, well, okay, this is no one talks like a real person, but I can at least kind of see
Oh my
where
God, the
he
scene-
sort of.
The Walking Dead,
This
Like-
scene where he says, "We are the Walking Dead,"
Yeah.
and it's like he's basically screaming it, and it's so dramatic. I would have just
it's on
been like,
page, splash,
douche.
splash page.
So-
He's gesturing to the whole group.
yeah.
So even forgiving bad
Lucio.
language. Where
We are The Walking Dead. First of all, no one has said Walking Dead in the whole comic. It's the name of the comic. So way to break down the fourth wall with a fucking missile launcher.
But but then you have characters like Michonne and the Governor who are just clearly comic book characters. Just
he said he wants The Walking Dead to be a never-ending story with a constantly rotating cast.
oh my god.
So kill Rick.
That's a cry for help, people. That's saying, I don't know how to write endings, you guys.
You know who else said something like that? R. Kelly said he wants to keep going with Trapped in the Closet. He said he's got
Forever.
a million stories.
He just wants to
he's
be
got
li- he
40
wants to
new
live in the
chapters.
closet, yeah.
He's got it's just gonna keep going.
It's just like, oh god,
Jesus.
Aaron, what was that book by the crazy guy that you linked to me? Who wrote like a 40,000 chapter Odyssey that was about saving slave children, and it was just completely crazy.
I can't remember the guy's name.
Now that guy is an artist because he's batshit crazy. But this is like, I don't have anything else, and I'm just waiting for someone to take it away from me.
What else has he done? I can't even.
Battle Pope.
Oh god, you're fucking right.
Because it created The Walking Dead by Telltale.
Battle Pope.
Oh Jesus.
Battle Pope, yeah, that's it.
Battle
forgot about
Pope.
that.
Oh, I just reminded myself by chanting Battle Pope. I highly recommend everyone see the film Spring Breakers.
That was.
I know that came totally out of
little
left
bit
field,
derailed,
but that movie is the most aggressively nihilistic film I've seen maybe in my whole life. It's insanely nihilistic and critical of our current pop culture. I just wanted to throw that in. I don't know if it has any relevance to
okay.
Walking
Just
Dead.
watched God Bless America today.
That movie had its heart in the right place, but boy did it get its message
it fell
mixed.
apart at the end.
It fell apart in the beginning, really. Like, I had a hard time taking it seriously, because just like with Kirkman, there were too many monologues that didn't feel like they were coming from people. Like, this is not... No one would listen to this guy say this. You wouldn't be sitting in an office while he talks about shock jocks, and you'd be like, okay, whatever, Ted. I get it. You don't like cringe humor.
I really like your description of it, and that's Leon the Unprofessional.
Yes, that's what was Leon the Unprofessional. And then, honestly, the whole... When they started flirting with, oh, maybe they'll run off to France together. That's where the whole Leon the Unprofessional thing came from. Like, oh, maybe we'll run off to France together and start a farm. I wish it did that. Because then it would be weird and different. Instead of just, like, predictable and trite and hammering the message home with a fucking hammer. Like, I get it. American culture sucks. You want to see a movie that really makes American culture look shitty? Spring Breakers. Holy shit. That movie felt like 3.5 hours long. I walked out of the theater, I'm like, I feel like I've been in there all day.
All right, I'm gonna check that one out because
It's great. And it'll be in theaters for another 35 seconds, so I recommend catching it quick.
All right. So, how did you guys want to do this? You want to talk about it by chapters? Because, I mean, the whole experience of the game is interesting because it really sort of, for me, sort of challenged my notions of what I thought was sort of like a choice-based game, especially from the beginning.
It's very well paced.
Yeah.
Especially episode 2, because it has that kind of up-down quality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's start with episode 1. I mean,
Yeah, let's
I'll
just go through it.
So the first thing I noticed right away, like having never played a choice game, was that I was very aware of the choices I was making initially because the first thing you're doing is just talking to this cop in a car because you've been
Can I
arrested.
just say that I
did you
didn't
do
play
it?
The game not knowing anything about it. So when it kind of pans down to the highway and then you see a cop car and then you see your character, Lee, a black guy, sitting in the back of a cop car, I was like, okay.
See, I told you
Really?
someone
That-
was going to bring this
Lee, a
up.
convicted felon. Will he find redemption in this little girl? I was like, oh, fuck's sake.
But that bothered you?
It's so cliche. It's like, oh, he's gonna be this gruff, tough gang member who
See-
finds his soft
See,
spot.
me and Lucio are about to gang up on you because we had the same experience. Me and Lucio played and didn't notice at all.
Yeah, I mean, just from the get-go, I had I just was ready for like a story.
I never judge a character by race unless he's screaming like a racial stereotype. If he was like, "Yo, dog, I didn't do it, y'all," I'd be like, "Oh, fuck you, Lee."
Yeah, like just in the character design alone, I mean, his, I never got the impression that was any sort of thing. Like right away, I got the sense of like something's up here. Like
Right.
it just.
I'm telling you, as soon as he opened his mouth, it went away. But it was just that.
Oh,
second.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I didn't have that second.
But
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad you brought it up because a lot of people carried that through the entire game, even though Lee was obviously not that, and it was a story that could apply to literally anyone.
Yeah.
Oh, he's an English teacher at Georgia University or whatever it was, and he lost his temper. Like, that's a thing that could happen to anyone. You know, he obviously freaked out. Especially, I think men can understand that, like, oh my god, my wife's cheating on me, fury at the guy, and then going too far by accident.
He's really cagey about the whole thing. Like, even throughout the game, he insists that, it was an accident. I killed the guy in a fight.
Yeah, I liked that.
Unless you confess to the stranger, unless you specifically bring up your wife to the stranger, that you say, I killed the guy.
You can get it. You can get it in little pieces here and there.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, he only comes
He only
straight out with. But I
explicitly,
like that because that for me is. It's another part of the giant metaphor of the game. Of okay, you have this thing in your backstory that you didn't actually do. Like, this is something that happened to the character before you could make any choices for him. And unlike Spec Ops: The Line, which the whole game is that, basically, like, you have no real freedom. In this one, you have all of the freedom to be yourself, except for that one thing, but that forces you to add a dimension yourself. Like, you have to feel about yourself, because you integrate this character into yourself, so you have to go, well, how do I feel about this murder that I supposedly committed?
I mean, yeah,
And,
it makes you...
I didn't want to think about it the whole time, which was reflected in Lee. Like, he obviously didn't want to talk about it, and I didn't want to think about it too much, because it implies there's a dark side to Lee that I didn't want to see, and that the playing of Lee didn't want to see either. And that just increased the synergy for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, it did.
And then when he comes out with it, it felt very natural, and it felt like the way that I would have approached it too. Like, there wasn't any shame. In terms of, like, I guess there was, but, you know what I mean? It was just honest. It wasn't about being ashamed. It was just about putting it on the table. Like, I'm acknowledging myself. Because I don't know what's going to happen next, and I don't know if I'm going to die.
In that sense, I do agree with those friends and my mother that Lee has an anger problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe not, though. I mean, like, it's an extraordinary circumstance, you know what I mean? You can't know how you react.
I think it's sort of, I mean, it's maybe a subtle point. I don't know that the game goes out of its way to make that point, but it's just, it does sort of... It emphasizes, well, like you said, that, this could happen to anyone. It's
right.
like, as you said, that decision was made for you.
Right.
You don't get any say. And so in the same way, you could look at it as, well, there are lots of people in that position who are, like, good people before they did this fucked up thing, and they'll be good people after. But there is this one thing that they cannot undo.
And that's a great subtle, what's the word I'm thinking of? I love it when movies are like this, where they fuck with your brain without openly acknowledging it. Because as a person, that's a problem in our society right now. People do want, is specifically American society, and specifically with black males, which is they've done a thing, they are thing.
That thing.
And you play, and they never, subversive, that's the word I'm thinking of.
Yeah, okay.
They never explicitly point that out, they just leave it there. They do so much with that in this game. That's like the mastery of this game that we'll get into. There's so much they just leave there for you to pick up or not pick up, but it's there. And I like that the entire audience has to play as a black criminal.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, everyone who's annoyed by it, I'm actually thinking about it for the first time now.
You did this thing, but you seem like an okay guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it really doesn't have an effect on how people treat you, because I was honest with everyone about it as soon as I possibly could be. And, the most, effect you get from it is Kenny's like, this will affect your place on the boat. And you're like, okay, well, there's no boat, so who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, even when his family's still alive, Kenny's boat is a fucking dream. And even Kenny knows that without acknowledging it, but we'll get into Kenny's whole...
Sure.
I loved Kenny.
Yeah, no, he was a great character.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Even while I hated him, I loved him.
Yeah, I
because of
disagreed
how
with him
well-written
so
he
much,
was.
but he was just such a...
That's a perfect way to write an antagonist, because he was arguing with me for almost the whole game, and I never completely disagreed with him.
Fuck, man, I'm from Florida. Sometimes shit just comes
Yeah,
out of my
I
mouth.
like that. I like the first scene. The first scene, did you touch a kid? And if it wasn't that, then he doesn't really care. Yeah.
He's like, all right then.
You say, I was on my way to prison 3 months ago, and he says, no shit. And he thinks for a second, he says, it wasn't for touching kids, was it?
Exactly.
But then I looked at him, and he was dead fucking serious.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what my thought would have been. If Lee had come up to me, I was on my way to prison, I would have went, huh. And then I went, kid touching? Just to get it out of the way, because that was my first fucking thought, too, of like, oh, do I need to fucking separate you from Clementine, you fucking creep?
So yeah, way backtracking, I guess. So
Yeah.
I noticed immediately that not having not played these games, I was aware of the fact that I wanted to kind of make choices thinking that they would affect I don't know, items or something. Like I was very careful and
Your experience points.
yeah, something like that. I didn't know. Like, obviously, nothing happens when you make the choices. I mean, it does occasionally, but at the beginning, it doesn't. When you're talking to this cop, it's just you're saying what you say,
It's just
and
teaching you.
It's just
yeah,
teaching you
exactly
how to talk.
So I thought it was really cool because almost right away you get a little relaxed, like, oh, this isn't really like this is just happening. This is not anything, and so you feel like you can kind of make your choices based on however you would want to make them, as opposed to like, well, I want this item, so I should probably lean this way so I can, grease the wheels or whatever. So
That's funny. I didn't think like that at all.
I didn't. Well, like I said, I've never played any
just felt
games
so
like
bad
this.
Yeah.
So initially, I was just feeling like, oh, I've never done this. Do I need what are the rules, kind of a thing? And then once I realized, oh, it's not going to do that, and
Yeah.
that's why I was saying yeah. So
Yeah, I knew almost
Two things I
nothing
wanna
about
mention
it.
From the beginning is, first of all, the inclusion of the timer,
yeah.
which is a departure from, like, say, Mass Effect 3, where you could just stand there and say nothing indefinitely.
Yeah, I told
Yeah.
you about the little Mass Effect 2 thing I did with Andrew, right?
No.
Where at the beginning of Mass Effect 2, I guess, what's the name of the ship that's crashing?
The
Normandy. You're talking to Joker, and
You just left to bear the crashing ship for 10
and the
hours.
ship is crashing, and Shepard is looking back and forth between Joker and the window, and you can't see what I'm gesturing at. He's doing it just for about 10 seconds, and I was just dying live. I said, Andrew, wait a minute. I had Andrew literally wait 30 seconds while I pulled up Guile's theme and just started playing it, and literally I just played the whole thing for like 5 minutes. I was dying. I said, okay, I'm really sorry that was amusing me. So yeah, but that's a huge plus, because the fact that they remove something like that keeps you in the game, because you really feel like you need to make decisions. You need
And
to
there's
answer
a
these
whole
people.
playthrough of saying nothing.
Oh, is there?
You can watch whole videos of Silent Lee, and everyone is creeped out by him.
Really?
Because he said, they're like, "Are you her father?" And he's just like, "Okay, well, let's all get out of here then."
Did anyone use silence? Because I did.
No, never.
No, I never did.
I'm
I
not
mean,
the kind of person who
My
ever
reaction
uses
is when
silence in
people-
my life.
When someone I feel like is being unreasonable, I stone face them. So in certain situations when Larry was going off the rails, I just, gave him the silent treatment.
Yeah, I always feel like the silent treatment is like, I feel it's very passive aggressive, like something a teenage
Yeah.
girlfriend will do to you when
Kind
she's
of like-
mad at you.
kind of like what I was just saying. Like I was, how I felt like this wasn't the kind of game where you make decisions so that you can get X or item X or item Y. I
Yeah.
felt like if you pick silence, you were almost. That's like you'd only do that if like you wanted something like that, like you were looking for some sort of payoff by not having to be proactive.
Right.
Because
There were a few times I was tempted to say nothing, like when people were asking about Lee's past, but I decided instead to be upfront about it.
yeah, I'm trying to remember now. I don't really feel like I ever disagreed with both people enough that I would have been silent, or that I agreed with both that I would have been silent. Because I definitely remember thinking like, well, no, this person's making more sense. So that's I should. Like, why would I just be quiet if I'm agreeing with the person I can agree with?
Yeah, I'm just not a naturally silent person, so silence felt like a failure to me. Like, oh, I didn't pick in time.
Where I was silent was when Kenny and Katya were arguing over who was going to take care of Duck, because I felt like that was none of my business.
I think there's an out for that, but I remember not really taking sides.
I'm trying to
I took-
remember what is that
I took
specifically.
Duck's
that's,
side.
No, not there. In the middle of episode 3, where Duck is dying.
Oh, okay. So you
Katya
meant
and Kenny are arguing over who's going to take care of Duck. And
Okay.
you can say, Katya should do it, Kenny should do it, or I'll do it. And I said nothing, because it's none of my business.
Well, I said
I'm pretty sure I said I'd do it.
I said I'll do it.
yeah.
Obviously, because I thought either of them doing it was probably the
It
most
seemed
awful
really
thing.
really terrible.
And it felt like that was their out as much as you could possibly have an out. Like, it's an awful thing to do, but asking a mother or a father to shoot their own
Yeah, I
child
just
is,
didn't-
is so unthinkable that
yeah.
like I totally get where you're coming from.
And that's,
on
I
that.
mean, in a real life situation, that's what I would want to do. Like, to be, like, if I were actually
I'll
standing
shoot
there-
him.
Not, like, excited, you jackass. I just meant, like, if I'm watching that happen, like, as I was saying, I have a daughter.
feel like
if
a
I was
Matt in
having
the
that,
conference
if I was
video.
having some sort of
Violence?
surreal argument,
Sorry.
I was having some sort of surreal argument with my wife about who's going to shoot our child.
Yeah,
Like,
that's so
that-
fucked up.
I would almost hope that someone would be like, you know what, you guys can't do it because I couldn't like.
That's such
I would
an
never make her do that, and like
Want
how?
someone else to do it?
Yeah, well, because I mean, here's the
Yes,
thing. Here's the thing. I will say this: as a man, like I would, I would not want my wife to do that, obviously.
Right.
But I have to be the one to fucking do that, and she's gonna know that I'm the one who did that, even if she knows it was the right thing to do. Like,
Yeah, that's
you
an
know,
interesting perspective.
It's that third degree of separation. Like,
Yeah. See, I was afraid Kenny was going to hate me.
Kenny already.
I
doesn't
mean,
like you.
yeah, he's got kind of issues with you.
I was pretty resigned with that, but I also felt bad for
I
Kenny.
mean, I did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck, the game's going to make me actually put the cursor
The game is,
over
yeah,
Doug's head.
gonna make you shoot this
Yeah.
child in the
Make me
face.
shoot him.
yeah.
Uh,
That and the piling of the dirt in the grave. You
Yeah,
dig,
that
like,
was
60 times.
Yeah, that
There's
was.
so-
Jesus,
there's
that was
many
fucking
instances
macabre.
That, like whacking Lee's brother's head.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
They
Yeah.
don't let you off the hook with just
No.
You have to like keep hammering that thing.
No.
With the hammer on the babysitter, busting out the window, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm saying, like, that's where I'm comparing the gameplay lending itself to the narrative in the way that BJ
Yeah.
said that, or Brian said that Red Dead Redemption did not, because yeah, obviously, take out 100 guys.
You never feel
and
like
it's-
John Marston.
Yeah, you don't feel like a badass. You feel like a guy who's just trying to fucking survive.
Yeah, you don't connect to his family life, even though they try to make you connect. It was too late, and he's
It's-
just such a video game character. You
Yeah,
know,
I still enjoyed it.
I liked
but,
Nico
yeah.
more because he was more real, but they also didn't make you have a fucking Nico dies moment. Anyway, what I wanted to say was both of your perspectives on. I thought your perspective on your wife would look at you and know that you did it. The way I looked at it was that both that as the man, like Kenny would feel like I got to do this so that she doesn't do it, and I thought she would feel the same way. I got to do this so that he won't do it, and I thought I needed to intercept that so that neither of them had to deal with it. For me, just even having the conversation was awful. So the possibility that I could jump in and make the conversation stop, like don't even think about this.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take care of it, was the most moral option in my mind, which is why I immediately jumped in. Like it wasn't like like I was just like I'll shoot him,
Yeah.
you know.
So
Okay, so we were in the cop car.
we were in a and
Meanwhile,
well, we can
back
kind of
on
skip.
the freeway.
I mean, I just wanted to make that point about it was different for me because, like I said, I've played games. The closest I've played to decision making games was BioShock, and that has everything to do with literally what you're getting
Yeah.
for one decision to another. Do
Eat
you,
the children or
do you-
love the children.
Yeah, and
Okay, here's the other thing: is if you decide to harvest the little sisters, you get a certain amount of Adam. But if you don't harvest them, if you save them,
you get more.
fucking
Yeah.
They give
Dad
you-
Mom gives you gifts.
Yeah, they
of
give you
Adam,
better
which ends
stuff.
up being more than harvesting them.
Yeah,
So
which
there's
is-
literally no benefit. to
Which is
taking
why that was
them.
one of the weaker parts of BioShock. I love that game.
I
love
honestly
a lot
thought that
about it,
mechanic
but-
was far better utilized in the second game than in the first game,
Yeah, kind of.
since it had
but
a
it has
direct
specifically
relevance
yeah,
to your character and
what you are and what you
and to the
represent.
girl.
Okay,
Yeah.
until Walking Dead like blew me up, it was BioShock 2 that kind of made me misty-eyed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just the
no,
idea
definitely.
of Lamb is watching.
That's my daughter.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, exactly. Like,
In a diving
learns
suit
from
with
you.
superpowers.
And it's like, oh, that was such a powerful moment.
It's a
and then
metaphor,
Walking
man.
Dead walks in and like, nope.
Oh, you like that, huh?
Yeah.
I'll do you one
Why
better.
you like that, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, and getting to that, so I don't. I'm trying to remember if meeting Clementine was particularly special when you compare like other narratives or games. I
It is-
kind of like that. I don't remember it being too
It is special. and
hammy.
it's-
Like it wasn't just like I'll protect you, little girl. Like it. It was definitely felt natural. Like you don't know this girl. You
Right.
kind of are trying to figure out. Well, I want to protect her because it's
Yeah,
just
he
the
was-
decent
he was
thing to
very-
do.
yeah, he goes
And
down,
it's
he goes down on one knee to talk to her, which is what you're supposed to do, and asks her, "Do you want to stay here or come with me?"
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was because you feel like he's
well, that's
never,
one of the things you can say. I said, well, I'll stick with you until
yeah like
things fix
he-
themselves.
it makes it apparent that he's like a real it makes it apparent this relationship is going to go somewhere because you're watching him sort of deal with something he's never had to deal with. I mean, just based on what he says to the cop, you can infer that Lee and his wife never had children. Like they don't, he doesn't.
Well,
really,
that's one of his confessions at the end of the game. He
Yeah.
wanted kids and she didn't,
yeah, so,
which
I mean,
adds another
a whole
additional
other,
layer.
to it.
Oh yeah, and actually, when that comes up even earlier when you're talking to Clementine in the barn, when you give her her hat back from Jolene, she asks you if you ever wanted to have children, and if you say yes, she says you'd be a good dad.
Duh.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, actually, I think that's what I said.
Yeah.
So you meet Clementine and Lee are just obviously the core of this game. Like,
Yeah.
it's really fascinating to me how in the first few chapters you don't really interact with Clementine a whole lot compared to the rest of your party. I mean, it's sort of interesting thinking about it in retrospect because you talk to her almost in between a lot of this other stuff going on, and she gradually works her way more and more into the gameplay and into like your character's life. Because like if you think about the first chapter,
because she wants to take on more responsibility.
Yeah.
And that really culminates when she says she wants to come to Crawford with you.
It becomes more clear that the world's not going to go back. In the beginning, that's why your job is to protect this kid until this shit blows over. And then when it's clear that it's never going to blow over, then it's like, that's where Chuck kind of brings it to the different
that
place.
was a great moment. That was fantastic. I don't know
Okay, this is where I want, because this game kind of spec opses you a little bit, because it criticizes your parenting. First, Chuck comes along and says you're not preparing this girl. Then Krista criticizes you for putting her into too much danger.
I told Krista to shut
Vernon
the fuck
comes
up.
along and says, one of these days she's going to ask you for more than you can give her. That's hard to hear, but I can take her off your hands for you.
Yeah.
And then the stranger comes along and throws all that shit in your face again.
Yeah.
And so it's like, of course I would take care of this little girl. I'm the protagonist, but it's like, are you really the most qualified?
See, the funny thing is, I didn't even
We're jumping
react
around
to...
a lot. I think I'm going to stop trying to...
Well, no, we'll go...
No, it's all good. I'm just thinking like...
We'll go back.
Kinda...
It's impossible not to
Yeah.
because of the circular nature of this game.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I didn't take that... I took that like in a zen way, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't take it as a threat or necessarily in touch with reality at all. I'm like, yes, I am the best person to watch her because her safety is the only thing I care about. So,
Right.
how are you gonna top that?
Yeah.
Everyone else has their own agenda. Speaking of Spec Ops, it's like with Spec Ops, there are 3 different factions in Dubai, all ostensibly there for the greater good, but it's their interpretation of what the greater good is. And I don't know what anyone's interpretation of Clementine's greater good is, but I know what mine is.
Yeah.
And as long as that stays...
And I mean, when you get down to it, that's what being a parent is.
Yeah.
It's you have people telling you all the time what, they think is good parenting and bad
who have the
parenting, and
luxury
it's
of not having to live with the reality.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anyway, so, yeah. It was interesting because, I mean, you mentioned the moment where Chuck kind of, talks to you about what it is you have and haven't been doing. And that was an interesting moment for me because I didn't quite make that... I think I talked to Brian about this either through text or on the phone. I was talking about how that was an interesting moment for me as a gamer versus a father in real life because I had been playing the game up to that point kind of as a gamer, just in terms of thinking about being sensitive to Clementine a lot, and it was funny to hear Chuck say that.
Her relationship value goes
Yeah, exactly. It was just it was important to me that she be able to look up to me within the context of the game.
You didn't think
so
of her
that,
as something who could die in the middle of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Chuck, it doesn't happen obviously, but Chuck kind of hints at that, and at no point did I think Clem would die. I mean, obviously we talked about how Lee's probably going to die.
I thought Clem was going to die.
No, I really thought
until I saw Clem's hat in the alley, and then I went, "Oh, it's Lee."
Yeah. But it was interesting because I was thinking like, well, in real life, I tell my daughter things all the time that don't make her happy and make her sad, but I have to do it because ultimately, raising her into a functioning adult, like she just has to hear shit she doesn't want to hear sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so it was funny because it made that connection in my mind where I was like, wow, the people who made this game were really kind of challenging what it is you're used to as a gamer, because you're used to making the decisions that are going to like kind of benefit the outcome you want. But it's like, well, yes and no, because as you said, up to that point, I was like, Lee's going to die. Like they're not going to do anything to Clementine. But I thought that was where I had my moment of doubt. I was like, maybe they will kill Clementine if I'm not like fucking careful about this. Like I could almost see them leading you into a position where she's going to have to be able to react based on the information and things you've taught her.
But that's the
and
thing
then,
you're supposed to be afraid of.
And so, but that's my point. But I kind of was. I mean, I admit, as a game from the gaming side of me, wasn't really worried because like it's a game, like as long as she's happy, like my interpretation is kind of like, well, then she'll be fine. But it's like maybe not. So
you were treating her as like a faction to grind.
Yeah,
almost.
I'm
grinding her up.
So
with
that moment with Chuck, that moment with Chuck
Like,
made.
that's
I was just gonna say, just real quick to finish my thought. That moment with Chuck was really cool because it sort of elevated the game a little more to me. Like they're really they know how this works, and they're catching the little nuances, and like this is how people would really talk to each other.
Subversive.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what happens when grown-ups with children make games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So-
you know, it's funny that you mentioned saying things to Clementine that she doesn't necessarily want to hear. I was in a completely different mindset of the world is fucking over, and I need to make sure she doesn't lose hope that her life is going to get better. So, like, the ugly reality, I need to soften that as much as I possibly can, because she's going to become a teenager, hopefully. God willing,
Yeah.
she's going to live to be a teenager and be a teenager, which is everyone is a teenager at some point, and everything fucking sucks. But imagine the fucking
Ben is
world
Ben
is
is
over.
enough proof of that.
I felt so bad for Ben.
Ben, Ben is in that horrible place where everyone expects him to act like an adult but treats him like a kid.
Yes.
Yeah. I have to admit, I thought Ben was a huge fuck up, and he pissed me off so much. But I
He
never.
was a fuck up.
No, he absolutely. But I have to say, I'm glad I never stopped feeling bad for him because I was wondering if the game was really going to try and get you to that point.
He's a child.
yeah, I mean, that's what it ultimately
always
comes
felt
down
bad
to.
for him, even when he was fucking up.
The narrative subversion of his arc, because I thought of it in gamer terms, like, oh, if I save Ben, he's going to like come back and have his hero moment.
No.
And he doesn't. No, he just.
He has his pipe
He
in the alley
fucking
moment.
he gets Kenny killed.
Yeah.
is what happens.
Exactly.
He gets the one character who's been with you since the beginning fucking dead.
He's been the one who's like, maybe Kenny and Clementine will survive. And then when Kenny died, I'm like, everyone's
Everyone's
dying.
about to. Yeah.
I was shocked Omid and Krista didn't die.
You know, it's interesting that Kenny's card at the end says he was lost to the herd. It doesn't say he died.
Yeah. Well, you know he's dead.
I mean,
Sure.
They're just
yeah,
playing
it's-
coy.
Yeah. They're just fucking with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Ben was actually a good character. Guys, that was a good. I never thought about it in those terms. That's good that he was just in that place, and that actually explains his character perfectly because he's just a kid. And I remember thinking too when he fell down, I was like, I kind of did want that moment too, where it's like he proves himself. I was like, you know what? No, sometimes it's just fucked. You can't do anything about it.
My only breaking of immersion there was you had the gun with like one bullet in it. And I'm like, well, obviously we know what the fucking bullet's for. It's like, just kill him and let's get back up the ladder. But I
Yeah.
understand that Kenny had already, like, that was the conclusion of Kenny's arc, one way or another.
That was really satisfying, I have to say.
And
too.
I love that he went as far as he did because that felt real too. Like, he was
Yeah.
just, the second he stopped running, he was never going to go again. And like, he
Yeah.
was like, the boat was just everything. And it was so nothing.
Well, because this Ben kind of leads into Kenny. Because let's talk about Kenny for a second. Because to me, Kenny was the most. I mean, you are Lee, so he's about as an interesting character as you choose to, like as you are as the
Sure.
player. But Kenny has the most.
For a best friend.
He has the most growth in that game, and like I
Yeah.
mean, he's just the most interesting character to me because he changes so much. Like at the beginning of the game, he's untrustworthy. That mostly, I mean, not untrustworthy. He thinks you're untrustworthy, and that follows you pretty much to the end of the game in little ways here and there. Whether you agree with him, whether you disagree with him, how you choose to react to the things he does. And one of the coolest moments I thought was when, if you decided to save Ben, he blows up at Kenny. And Kenny kind of like realizes like, holy shit, like I never gave this kid any fucking credit whatsoever. Like, I've just been thinking that I'm like,
they
I
spend
get
Act
the
4
worst.
doing that entire dance back and forth between each
Yeah,
other.
but I mean that was just really cool because I thought, man, this like Kenny just kind of hit all of the major like emotional points as a character. He
Yeah.
was, you go between like thinking he's great, you fucking hate him, like
I
what is wrong with
never-
this guy?
Even when I hated him, I never hated him.
No, but that's my
You know-
point.
but you
That's
know
what
what
I'm
I mean?
saying.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, like.
Eve-
Hilarious. Like, I totally understand.
No, I mean you understand the characters, but it's
Yeah.
like, Jesus, Larry, can you just fucking calm down?
It's
dude?
it's another one of those subversion things about empathy because everyone becomes an antagonist through their empathy, but it happens to be for someone who's not you. It's never selfish. It's selfish empathy. Kenny is selfish. He wants his wife and child to survive. Larry is selfish. He wants his daughter to survive. You butt heads with these people who only care about the well-being of another person. It just so happens it's not you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love about Kenny that you mentioned with his blow up with Ben, because he blames Ben for his child dying, and he's not technically incorrect,
No, I mean,
although
yeah,
it's
it's-
pretty you can see both sides. But Ben's comeback of, I never got to see my family or say goodbye. I don't even know if they're alive or dead. Was like, that was the first time, and Kenny goes through it with you. It's a very hit where he's like, Jesus, I never even thought about what you went through.
Yeah.
You know, and that was
And-
like,
and I
that
love
was his
Lee
growth.
Moves to do the protagonist thing, which is stick his nose in it, and then Krista has to stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was really satisfying.
Anyway, should we get back on the rails here and let's try to
I
go
don't
by
know.
story? We're
It's-
here.
I think we met Clementine.
We met to we should
And,
mention how he meets Clementine because it comes back around thematically later.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's true.
How she hands him a hammer.
No, how she, no,
And then you pass her the bat.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly like
thing.
that. No, how
No,
she's up in a treehouse
in a
hiding
treehouse
alone,
by herself, and she has no idea when she's supposed to come
and
down.
you just stumble across her by pure dumb luck, and then she saves you by pure dumb luck because Lee is the least likely to survive an apocalypse protagonist
He steps on the blood twice.
fucking ever. Oh my God, Lee.
That's why it made so much sense that he had to die, because he just was really lucky.
Yeah.
He was a really lucky
He was
guy.
running on
And he
borrowed
was-
time. He was slipping on borrowed time.
Yeah, so you meet her up in a treehouse, and you
Yeah, and
coax her
I
down.
really like her because she's smart.
Yes.
yeah.
She's a kid, but she's a smart kid, and that is a thing that is really tough to nail writing wise. And I think they did an excellent job with her. Is you wander too far in one direction or the other, you don't have either. You know what I mean? If she's
Yeah.
too smart, she's not a kid. If she's too kid, it's like, okay, well now she's just a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Duck was never trying to be smart kid either. He was just a dumb kid.
Yeah.
So he was purely believable. But if she was like, oh, you can be Batman and I'll be Robin, you'd be like, oh, shut up.
No, having
it wouldn't
having
be true to her character.
You know, having an intelligent 8-year-old daughter, like they wrote her perfectly. Like I
Yeah.
don't like, as you say, I'm sure these people have kids because she was perfect. She was childish in the ways that, you know, a child would be, regardless of, you know, you can be as smart as you want, but when you're a certain age, you're still going to act like a kid.
Yeah.
And she was also intelligent enough to where, you know, like, wow, this kid's like a smart kid.
And
So,
even though she grew, she never lost those child qualities. Like, she still wanted to see her parents,
yeah,
especially late in the game. Even when it was like, an adult would be like, they're dead. They're so dead. I've been living in this world long enough. I'm not even gonna... I mean, Lee got over his own parents dying in the first chapter.
Yeah.
He just saw the bloody fucking sleeping bag.
Yes.
It was just like, fuck. You know?
Yeah.
And just reminisced about that. Was like, man, I don't know. That sucks. Like,
Yeah.
he had a really adult moment where I was like, I've got my own shit to worry about, but this is really awful and sad. But I don't have time to mourn it right now. Like, I'll take a second for them some other time.
He takes
You know,
a picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then tears it
And
to hide the
Terry's-
evidence.
He tore his own face off, right?
Yeah, he
I think,
tore
right?
himself off.
the photo.
Because he didn't want them to know that he was related to the owners
Which
of the
is-
store. I don't know why.
Which is hilarious.
It's funny because it's an irrational adult thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's irrational kid things and there's irrational adult things. Like, it's
That- now that I
obviously
think about
his
it, that
guilt
was
with the
kind of
murder,
a-
but it's such a rushy, paranoid thing of, like, if he thought about it for an extra second, he'd go, what am I doing? This won't lead to any
And
conclusions.
Or vice versa if they found the
he
photo on him.
explains that he was estranged from his parents because of the murder.
Yeah. It's like he's living the whole narrative of what actually happened in his head, but he's forgetting that no one has any connection to that thread just because he's in his parents' store. You
Right.
know?
Yeah, that was. So, all right. Well,
I guess we can go over the
there are
first
so
choice,
yeah, there are
which
a
was
lot.
a
There are lots of.
non-choice.
I mean, that's interesting. There are a lot of decisions you can make in this game that just sort of have to do with the narrative, and then I guess. I think it was actually a number. There were 5 for every episode that actually affect.
Yeah.
I actually, like, I guess affect
Well,
the.
there are things that come up, but I think there are other choices which are more important. Like, I labored over what to tell Clementine way more than anything
Oh,
else.
absolutely.
Oh yeah. But so like I guess the first. I guess we can start talking about the choices a little bit. What was the first major choice we said? It was like Doug or.
Sean or Duck?
Yeah,
Was that
it
before
it
Doug
was
or Carly?
Save,
Yes.
save
Yeah, that
Herschel's
was.
son, which you
Okay.
can't do.
Herschel's farm.
And that's, as you were saying, that's interesting because there's sort of a back and forth pattern there. So you can choose to save Sean or Duck, but either way,
Sean dies
Sean
and Doug doesn't.
dies. Yeah.
I want to know what you guys picked.
I picked Duck.
Yeah. See,
Yeah, I picked Duck too.
I picked Sean.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you why. Because Sean saved me and Clementine. And I felt like, you know, I owed it to them. Whereas Kenny and Kenny's kid, I just met. And it was like, you know, I looked at his dumb kid, and his kid has only been dumb up to this point. And he's like,
Well, his
I'm
kid-
riding on the tractor.
his
I'm a
kid-
child. I'm like, you're never going to make it in this world.
So I can pull it back on Sean.
Yeah.
My-
I look at Sean and I'm like, this guy is an ally. He's done right by me, and he's about to die. And I'm going to grab this dumb kid who's not going to make it 7 months, which turns out to be true, unfortunately. But it's like, I can't let Sean die. And then I forgot that Herschel had lost a son, and when he got bit anyway, I was like, oh, it's that guy. I'm
When
glad I didn't read up on that
my
beforehand.
my
'cause it
thinking
didn't
was just
poison my
purely
choice.
that I've made a lot of decisions like that based on what was sort of, I guess you could say, logical. Like, I remember thinking that Duck isn't, like as you said, he's just being an idiot. So I
Yeah.
figure save Duck, and then Sean will, if nothing else, can maybe keep himself alive for a minute so you can help him, if not be able
Then
to
he
free
can
himself.
help you grab.
And then-
I thought Sean then Duck.
See,
I
that's
didn't
what's
think
interesting
Duck's gonna
because
die.
I think everyone has that thought process, but it's a
Yeah.
matter of like, what do you think would work the best? And for me, I think I just somehow assumed I'd be quick enough, or I didn't know, and
But you never
Yeah, I
are.
didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't want to try to push the tractor off of him.
yeah, that just seemed like that's a bad way to go. But it was interesting because either way, Duck lives, and I guess we'll bring it back to that when we get to the next decision that's sort of similar to that.
Yeah.
After that, it was the big decision. I mean, I guess you go back
It's
to
it's a non-decision.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
this was interesting because I saw the percentages too at the end of the game, and I thought that is an interesting decision, especially given that, I mean, I'm generalizing here, but probably the higher demographic of people playing this game were men, and I don't know why you would save Doug.
don't-
I hate to say that, but I don't know why you would have saved Doug.
That's not why I saved Doug.
Yeah, that's not why I did either.
You have a girl who shoots really well and has a gun and a lot of bullets, and you have a guy who's blonde.
a
It's
little,
like,
little chubby,
Do I
little
pick?
chubster.
Do I pick the really absolutely going to be helpful for the remainder of the game character, or do I pick the guy who I shared a chat with outside of the store? It was an easy choice.
I think I
mean,
just remembered thinking. I mean,
The other thing is, because she goes along with you to the motor inn to save Glenn, she gets a lot more screen time too.
there's that too. Doug is just kind of there. Doug felt like a background character.
see, I haven't gone back and like rewatched anything, so I don't really know what Doug's storyline
The
would have
majority
evolved
of
into.
Doug's conversation you have with him, you have when you're squatting outside the door when you're trying to get to your brother. Like he's
And
sitting
then
out
if
there
you
with
say,
you.
and if you save Doug, just nothing.
No, Carly dies.
No, I'm saying, but like, so Doug doesn't fill the role.
I
of,
have
like,
no
Carly.
idea because I
Oh,
had no
okay. I thought
interest
you.
in
I thought you
Doug.
were saying you had watched that.
No, no, no.
She
Okay.
doesn't prompt you to tell the truth to everyone because Doug doesn't know.
Yeah.
So you miss out on that whole line of conversations.
That's interesting. So yeah, like given the circumstances, one that you guys were thinking, she's more helpful. That they basically presented Carly to be more of a, I guess more of the desirable choice to save. I'm curious do you guys think
What
it?
they thought was going to happen was people were going to be nervous about her knowing about your past, so that you would just let her
Oh,
die.
see, I wouldn't have even. That's
That
interesting.
didn't
I
enter
would.
for
Yeah,
a
that wouldn't.
second
Have,
for
yeah, I
me.
didn't even consider that at all.
No.
Like, because
Right,
I mean,
they admit they totally misstepped with that.
yeah, I think because in retrospect, I think that might be the one weakest choice because
That
it
affected
doesn't-
the choices they made in every other game, though. They knew it was a fail. Because their stated intention was they wanted it as even as possible for every
Oh.
single choice.
Okay, because they
They
look
wanted the choices to be between awful and terrible.
Yeah.
okay. I mean that's fair, but I mean with that first one, that's not doesn't seem to be the case because Carly was definitely a more interesting character.
Because they
There's a
were
lot
thinking
more
like
that-
game designers and not like people.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I
Which
will
they
say,
fixed.
I'll say if that was like a stumbling block or a hiccup, like they didn't make that mistake again.
No,
because that was the only instance where it seemed kind of like, oh, that was interesting.
And it's funny, I didn't even see her as a potential romance interest until she kind of became one
Okay.
slightly.
yeah, no, I didn't
That-
even
that's
think.
the other
Yeah,
thing.
I
That's
never
the
thought
other
of
thing about
that.
Narrative subversion. I thought it was going to be Lily because she's the female lead. And I'm
Yeah,
the lead.
I think I had this.
Let's make this happen.
I had the same thought too because you guys had just enough conflict, but she was trying to do right by you and her dad, so it
And they
seemed
made
like,
it a controversy whether the dad would reveal your past to Lily or not.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So
whether
yeah,
she
so there's
matters.
conflict there. And yeah, when you get the keys, she's like, "You're amazing." I was like, "Yes, I am."
Ah.
Carly's still cuter than you, though.
Yeah. And it's funny because the second they made...
Yeah, but then she starts to, like, fucking come apart and break down, and I was like...
Well, salt licks, they'll do that to you.
Yeah. It's funny, the second that Carly kisses you on the cheek, I went, oh, they're gonna kill her. Like, I knew immediately, I'm like, they're setting it up so that you'll think, oh, maybe we'll make a family unit and this will be okay after all, so that they can destroy that and go, no, that's not what this game is going to be.
And that's another example of the interface fucking with you.
Yes.
Carly,
Yeah.
remember that.
Exactly.
And then
For about 6 seconds.
and the last thing that goes through her head is a fucking bullet. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I guess that was mostly chapter 1.
We didn't cover the chick in the apartment who was bit.
Oh, that's right, because that's kind of a...
Which, again, now that I'm thinking about it,
Is
everything in this fucking game is circular. Because my logic for that was the logic I was going to use when Lee was bit. When you have Irene sitting there and she's bit and she's like, just shoot me so I don't turn into one of them, I was like, yeah, I gave her the gun. I was like, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, was the moral... and I explained it to the party that way. It's like, this is awful.
Well, Glenn is the only one who doesn't want you to do it, as I recall.
But I made it okay with Glenn. And that was my logic. And then they threw that logic in my face when it was Lee, and Clementine had to shoot you. And I'm like, I can't make a child shoot me. And I was so gung-ho about it. Up until that point, because I knew it was coming. I'm like, I know they're going to make this be a choice, and I'm going to have her kill me so she doesn't have to worry about me being turned. But in that moment, like, looking at this child, I'm like, I can't ask that.
So wait, you're saying... So we're jumping ahead. You're saying you didn't have her shoot you?
We'll get to that.
Okay,
but
all right,
I didn't. And we can have a discussion about that.
That'll be interesting. What else? I guess that's a decision you can make. I really felt like, as far as sort of like the whole, pre-existing zombie narratives, it seemed like you just kind of have to shoot. I mean, you don't have to, obviously, but she's going to become a zombie. I mean, I did it. What did you do, Ara?
I let her shoot herself.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
said comforting words to her.
Yeah.
I don't remember the percentages, but I'm pretty sure most players probably did that. So, like, looking back...
If you don't, she tackles Carly and shoots herself anyway.
Oh.
Yeah. I wanted
there
to
you
spare
go.
her the indignity of trying to take the gun from me, because that's the next obvious conclusion
Oh,
for someone
boy.
who's that desperate.
That's funny.
See, that goes back to your choices, or Lee's lack of agency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, the things you say to Clementine are so important, but the choices you make kind of don't matter.
Yeah,
You
they
all
never
end up
matter.
in the same place at the end.
And you have no real power and no real ability to get anything done. And in shocking contrast to Mass Effect 3, that is a powerfully good thing. In Mass Effect 3, you want to throw your controller at the TV. But in Walking
You're
Dead,
supposed to have
it's
choices.
something that
You're
is
supposed to
an unwritten rule. Like, no, there's nothing I can do about this. I can just choose what kind of person I am. And I loved that.
Yeah.
And that was actually surprisingly more satisfying than being able to affect the world around me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Because that feels like the way you can actually affect the world.
So, this wasn't a moral choice, but you had us write this. You wanted me to write this down. So, talking to his brother and then the back room. I mean, we kind of covered that a second ago, but did you want to say something else? Or
Talking to his brother?
yeah, when he has to get the
Oh,
key.
right, when the telephone pole falls on his brother.
Yeah.
And he's all zombie and shit. I just wanted to mention that was a really great, well-written scene, because it was totally believable. It wasn't over-emotional. It wasn't like, isn't this... Here's the thing this game does amazingly well. It knows when to stop punching you and when to punch you 6 more times. And with the brother, the only punching part was that you had to hit him in the neck 60 times. But they didn't just twist the screws so much. You just had a really adult conversation like you would with a headstone.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm sorry I wasn't around. I fucked up. But you took care of our family. You made sure they were okay. And you have no proof that this actually happened.
Oh, no, it was, I figure you would have died to save them. And
Exactly.
I'm gonna guess that's what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's such an insight into Lee's character and how he thinks about himself by what his hopes projected on others is. you know. And I thought that conversation was really great because it wasn't trite, and it could so easily be trite. You know, there's
Yeah.
a zombie, and he's like, "I'm so sorry,
man.
I didn't want
I'm
you to
sorry,
get bit, man. I wish I was there, man." He doesn't do that at all. He's just like,
He's just very solemn.
he talks to him
Yeah.
like his brother is not a zombie.
Yeah.
Like, "I'm so sorry. You know, this is awful, but you did what you could, you know, and I'm proud of you." You know, it was so painfully adult, you know. That's one of the things the game balances really well is super adult and super child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's such a game for adults, and I don't mean that in the like, oh, it's blood splattered or anything.
Yeah.
It's very grown up, and I love that it took that direction.
It
Yeah,
draws such a
definitely.
deliberate line between adults and children and how they react to the same things.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not. There's been a rash of games about being a father. I mean, not all just recently, but Silent Hill was about you saving Cheryl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there was
Yeah.
Bioshock 2. Then there was Mass Effect 3.
Did that?
with
That one was so
Star
fucking
Child,
trite that we're taking it off the
which is
list.
awful. It's like, isn't children dying sad?
It's
Oh,
the
man.
first child you've ever seen in the entire
Wait,
universe.
give me a little context.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So
Here's the context. You're sitting at a meeting in a military building, and you look out a window and you see a child playing, and you go, "Oh, I bet that child's gonna die in 5 minutes." And sure enough, the Reapers show up and kill a child.
and is that really like?
A space
Despite this
monster-
not affecting you at all, Shepard has bad
A
dreams about it.
space monster comes down from space and shoots his mega laser that can blow up entire cities at a child in a shuttle. Because
God.
children dying is sad, man. It is such a jarring contrast between Walking Dead and Mass Effect 3. Those two games should be played together for that exact reason. Because you'll point at the child dying and laugh. Aha, you're dead. Skrillex killed
Like,
you.
I saw that coming. Haha, I'm so smart.
Yeah.
Oh my
And then
God.
he's haunted by it for the whole game. Never mind all of the, especially if you're a bad character, because as a bad character, you're literally walking on a mountain of corpses. So many people you shot in the face after saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna shoot you in the face, go fuck yourself." And this one child, the first child you've ever seen in the whole universe, because children don't exist in Mass Effect until they do, so they can die for plot.
Fucking die.
Has one fucking line, and already he's so precocious that he's not even a child character. You know what he says? He says, "You can't save me."
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, this was Mass Effect 3?
Yes, that's what the child
Yes.
says, because the writer thought,
Oh
it's a
my
metaphor,
God.
man, get it? Because it's true.
Oh,
But you
Lord.
don't even know it's true yet. But you're going to remember he said that, and you're going to be blown away. Whoa. And then,
And the dream sequences lasted so long.
Yeah, and then
So
Shepard
long.
has
I
all of
love
these
the
nightmare
one dream
dreams.
sequence from The Walking Dead
Where
was
he's like-
4 seconds just to shock you. It's like, oh fuck, I missed it. I didn't see her get bitten, and I'm a terrible father, so just let her bite me and die because I deserve it.
yeah, you're just running through this shadow forest while the child's, like, laughing and playing just out of sight. And you're like,
God.
"Come back, cliche, come back." And then the child burns. And you get shown this,
Oh,
like,
God.
3 fucking times. And this goes back to movie shit, not game shit. This is especially... It's not so bad in Red Dead Redemption, because that character
Just
is
think of
sad.
Terminator 2.
In fucking
She's
Mass...
screaming at herself, playing with her child.
Yeah. In Mass
Everything's
Effect,
just engulfed
you
in flames.
choose your actions, but you can't choose how you feel about the kid, because I would have chosen who gives a fuck, because I didn't care.
Yeah.
They failed to engage me.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make me a shithead. Walking Dead made me cry like a retarded baby. It's the writer's failure.
Yeah,
They
no,
wrote a
it's-
bad fucking crutch, cliche, the script demands this thing, and then they expect me to care about it.
No, that's
And then
terrible.
later, they reuse the character model for the Star Child, who says the dumbest shit that's ever been written in fiction. Where you're just sitting there like, "I can't believe you're still talking. Where's the shoot you option?" And Shepard's like, "You really think so?
That's what my
Man,
brother
that
said. He's
sucks."
Like, can I just, like, kill this guy?
Yeah, fuck him.
Keep talking?
Yeah, where's the button that blows up all the Reapers? Oh, there's conditions. It kills all your friends too. No, I'm pretty sure there's a button that kills all the Reapers, so why don't you shut up? I'm gonna go find it. It's so stupid.
Lord.
Fucking... Are we talking about Mass Effect 3 again?
Yeah, I guess we'll stop.
I can't even
we'll cut
remember.
it back.
Okay.
We'll bring it back.
Fatherhood games. See, you lured me in.
So, Okay, so we're on to chapter 2, and the first one I have is watch out for that bear trap.
Yeah.
Which
So a teacher gets caught in a bear trap, and you can try to break the bear trap, but you can't, or you can cut through his leg.
That's hilarious. I cut through his leg, and I think it's great that you tried to. What did you do?
I tried to break the chain. I'm like, no, I'm gonna break it. And then at the last second, I went, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna break it. And I hit his leg once, and then the cutscene started, and we left him. So it was literally the worst thing you could do. I just hit his leg, and he's like, "Don't finish." And I'm like, "No, sorry." And I was laughing watching because I'm like,
God.
the zombies are moving like 6 miles an hour. I could chop off it or hit them, you know, because I do have the axe.
Yeah, that was yeah, I chopped off his leg. That just seemed like a. If you want him to, I mean, if you really want him to live and not risk it, that just seemed like.
I looked at that like a gamer, and I'm like, there's no way they're gonna let me off the hook that easily.
Yeah, I thought the
So
same
I just
thing.
immediately hit his leg.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? If he's gonna even slightly have a chance to live, it's.
See, I decided early on, and I don't know what sparked me to do this, because I came to this game knowing nothing except that Era wanted me to play it. But
Oh yeah, that's right. I played the game the whole way through, and I know that you were like really about. I'm really about indie games, and I know that you're really about games as art.
yeah,
So I didn't tell you anything. I just got it for you for Christmas, and I'm like, play it.
Yeah.
I think it's like I started this game before you, but then you finished it before me because you
Yeah.
were just that's
because I
cool.
motored
Yeah,
through.
That's awesome.
But my mentality from the beginning was play this like you would play this in real life. Like I just wanted to see, like, I intrinsically knew the game was about morality and not so much about the nuts and bolts of surviving. Like I knew Lee was going to make it to the end of the narrative no matter what, and I knew Clementine was going to make it to most of the narrative, if not all of it.
See,
So
was
I
the
focused on
opposite.
just being who I would be in that situation rather than worrying about the video game aspects. I completely cast those aside and just went, I'm not gonna look at this as a game, I'm gonna look at this as a thing that's actually happening and how would I behave. And so that's why I really tried hard to fucking break the bear trap, because I'm like, I would never cut this guy's fucking leg off. I would either cut the bear trap or I'd plant this in his skull. And I didn't have that option, so it was break the bear. And then at the last second, I'm like, are they really going to make me do this? All right, fuck it, I'll hit his... And the second I hit his leg, then we ran out of time. And I was like, I'm the worst person in the universe.
Oh yeah. So the next decision actually is choice. This one doesn't show up, I think, on the percentages because there's too many variables. But it was to me the
Who you
most.
give the food to and
It was
why.
the most important one in the game because for me it really set the tone of like, holy shit, there's absolutely no such thing as a good or bad decision. Because the first chapter
That's
kind
not
of
true.
well. Okay,
We'll get into
arguably,
it.
but
Let's argue this, because
yeah.
I'd love to.
Because in the first chapter, there are decisions that you feel like kind of affect, you know, the narrative or the outcome or whatever. I mean, the choices you made kind of, I felt like, you know, you can kind of, by the end of the first chapter, I still felt like some of the choices I make are going to be like good ones, or
this is
like
the
ones
first
that,
non-binary choice.
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's what set it apart for one because it's like, all right, fuck it. Here's 5 pieces of food. There's 12 hungry mouths. Go to
Break
town.
that binary two rails morality
Yeah.
system.
Yeah,
That
This-
really wanted to challenge you, like, what do you value?
This is 12 rails.
yeah. It
Pick
was
3.
and I thought that, and for me, I remember I was
Fuck.
sitting there with my wife, and we were playing. I was like, "Holy shit, this is like the worst fucking thing ever."
It was
And
so easy for me.
Oh, really?
It was so easy for me.
Okay, I'm curious. What did you
What'd you
do?
pick?
I picked, because you get 5 pieces of
You
food.
get 5
You
pieces of
get
food,
four
yeah.
pieces. You get 4 pieces.
Oh, it's 4? Oh,
No,
okay.
because you can break 1 and 2 or something like that, I believe.
No.
Because I remember giving it to 5 people.
I seem to remember 5, but I could be wrong.
And I'll tell you who the 5
4.
were. The first one was Larry, because Larry was an asshole. And Larry needed to be part of the group. And I needed him to understand that we're all in this together, so eat your food.
I think I did the same thing for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did the same thing, and that also makes Lily happy.
Then I gave it to Lily, because Lily's in charge, and
Yeah.
she's under the most stress.
And she doesn't change anything,
Exactly.
incidentally. But yeah, I did the same thing.
Then
Because
I-
they were just most on the out. And then, of course, Clementine. I gave a piece of
Well,
food. but
Clementine
that's-
is the obvious one. That anyone who didn't give the food to Clementine's a shithead. I thought about giving all 5 to Clementine.
4% of players didn't give Clementine food.
Yeah, those are
And their excuse
sociopaths.
was they wanted to give food to adults because they could better take care of the children.
That's what a selfish lunatic says. Then I gave it to Carly because she's the best shot.
And she refused.
No, she took the apple.
No, she refuses. I think maybe.
I gave-
to give Carly food.
Oh no, you know what? She refuses, but you can insist.
Yeah, I insisted.
Because I think she
I'm like,
she does
no, eat
initially
it.
refuse. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I seem to remember
I
that.
completely ignored Stunt Legs because he magically appeared between Act 1 and 2, so he was
Stunt Legs.
never a real person to me. I can't remember what's his name.
He was a sacrificial lamb.
His name's Nick or something like that.
Mark.
It's Mark. Stunt Legs.
Yeah.
Stunt Legs McGillicuddy is not a real person, and I knew that he was shot into the narrative to take a bullet for someone else.
His
I just
appearance
wasn't
was
sure
very
how yet.
suspicious. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew
kinda-
he was gonna die, so I'm like, why would I feed him? I don't care how much he bitches. And then I gave.
I hated how clunky the exposition was at the very beginning when you're hunting with them. It's like, oh, I can't believe we went through all that commissary food in 3 months. Thanks for saving me from there.
Yeah, it was like, oh, shut up, Stunt Legs.
Yeah, I think I made the same decisions except the exception.
I have
of-
one more
Oh.
before we move on.
Yeah, you said 5, but
There's
think I'm only
5
remembering 4
because
now.
I
don't
gave
know.
food to Duck, and I gave food to Duck because I knew that would cover Duck, Katja,
Yeah,
and
I
Kenny.
gave food to Duck.
Because that's all they
Yeah.
cared about, and
gave-
they said as much too. You know, if you give food to my kid, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, like then everything's cool.
Well, I remember because you don't. It's before you have the option to give him food. You can like still talk to people.
Yeah.
I remember. I think Kenny said the first thing he fucking said is like, "Well, I'm not eating shit till my boy gets some food." So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
'Cause
like,
that's what a
well,
dad
yeah,
says.
obviously that's what. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I did this.
I totally understood and respected him for that.
Yeah. So I think I did the same things. I did Larry, Lily, definitely Clementine. I think Duck. I think those were the. You said 5. Now I'm trying to remember because I can't think of a.
I'm
fifth
positive
person.
I
I'm
have.
telling you, you can't break the food in half. She
'Cause
gave
I-
me 4 pieces of food for 10 people.
Because I don't remember, I don't remember now having any other reaction. Because I remember Duck's just his idiot self, like, oh, it's food.
Oh man, I'm so hungry.
Yeah, like he's just like.
Maybe I didn't give food to Lily then, but I remember. I
I definitely gave it to
remember
Lily
giving it
because
to
I remember
Duck.
thinking like, oh, she doesn't care either way, but well, at least
Yeah.
she ate it.
You know what I did? I mean, if I think about it logically, I knew it didn't matter, but I gave the half of an apple to Clementine because it was the healthiest option.
Yeah, you're too
You know what?
micro.
I might have done something.
You're
I
too
think
micro.
You know what she says?
what.
She says, "Oh, I love apples." I'm like, "Yes, I'm such a good father."
Points for that one, man. Oh man, that's great. Yeah, so that was just a really great thing because it breaks free of the sort of binary options, or I guess at the least in Mass Effect you usually had like 4 options.
No, you had 2.
2.
Really? Because I could have
Yes.
sworn I'd seen this. Maybe it was just when you were questioning people. I could
Be
have
nice or be an
Yeah.
asshole. This is the only
Yeah,
variations.
when the wheel fills up, it's when you're asking questions.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. All right.
exactly.
Okay. So yeah, no, I really loved that it gave you that option because, as far as I know, no other game has done that, giving you so many different,
Mm-hmm.
in this one decision. And that was I was like, holy shit, they are really gonna make you make some fucking tough decisions in this game. And
Yeah, and that's it's like it's not asking you, are you a good guy or a bad guy? It's asking like, what kind of man are you?
It's passive aggressive.
exactly.
It's asking you, who are you okay with dying?
more
Yeah.
or less, yeah. And so, yeah, then we come. I guess next is it says helping Larry, but I'm trying to remember if we're skipping a whole bunch of stuff between that.
The crossbow lady came first.
Oh, okay, so that's what I did. So yeah, the crossbow lady. She was interesting because, I guess this is a quick little aside. So did she figure into the narrative, or was she just?
Did you
a
kill
person
her
you-
immediately?
No.
Okay,
Like I mean, so like I had the conversation with her, but I was trying to.
Introduces you to the Save Lots bandits.
What I was trying to figure out was, I mean, I played through the whole game now, and I still, because I initially thought like, is this Clementine's? I don't know. It was some weird thing.
No,
Like,
okay. What happens is she's working in retail in the Save Lots with the other Save Lots bandits,
Yeah.
or they're not the bandits yet. But then the zombie apocalypse comes, and they have access to basically that huge store. I can't remember what it's called, like a bulk
Kmart.
food store.
Yeah.
So they have access to all kinds of equipment. So they
Probably
become
guns
bandits.
too. It's like a Kmart.
And they rape her and her daughter.
oh, okay.
And so she completely flips out and starts to believe that Clementine is her daughter.
Did you
she
read
steals
that,
her
or
hat
where did you pick that up? Because for some reason I missed that. I don't.
from the video camera at the end
Yeah.
when he put batteries in the video camera?
You didn't do that.
What? The
She
fuck?
she kind of videotapes like stalking Clementine and while saying really creepy shit.
I guess that's props to them for being subtle. I missed,
You missed that.
what was implied
There's
there.
a couple
'Cause
things in the game you
I
can
understood that
miss.
she lost a daughter, but I guess I missed it. Like they had both been like raped and attacked. Because Man, all right. Well, so yeah, so you have the option of shooting or not, and I didn't. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I think it's interesting to mention that up until this point, I was not sure that the St. John's people were on the up and up. Like, I had strong suspicions.
I was
But I didn't
from
know
the
what the
very
nature
from the
was.
very moment. Yeah,
I
you
would have been like 100% on board.
from the very moment you meet the St. John's, I was thinking there's something really wrong here.
I got
was
that
just-
feeling, but then I thought maybe I'm being paranoid.
No, I was,
because
like,
they seem really
positive.
nice. And then when you have the trouble with the bandits, I'm like, well, maybe they made a deal with the bandits and that's what they're hiding. And then it didn't work out.
No, it turns
but
out
then
it's worse
when
than
that
that.
lady was being really fucking crazy and the brother out crazied her, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
now I know some
Yeah,
some shit's really wrong.
What was the brother's name? Arrow?
Danny.
Danny. Oh,
Danny.
fucking
The
Danny.
younger brother is Danny. He's Creepshow.
Yeah.
What's not to like?
Creepshow talk like fucking making love to his gun.
Oh,
That
Jesus.
was the first time, by the way, in a long time that me and Kenny were absolutely on the same page.
Oh,
What
yeah.
the fuck is
Yeah.
behind
Yeah,
that door?
we were-
I'm
yeah.
like, let's figure it out, buddy.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, there was no disagreeing there. So-
Yeah, at first I was.
Man, okay, there's that great moment when you're creeping up on them after you escape from the meat locker, where Andy comes over to Danny because Danny's like guarding you, and he's like, "Stop standing in the rain like a weirdo."
Yeah, because that's what he is.
He's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not on here, but I will say, okay, this is the one time that, to my knowledge, that me and my wife actually reset, which is interesting because there are lots of moments where I think I remember thinking like we should, but we just didn't. I guess jumping forward a little bit, is when they're sitting at the table and you realize what the fucking mean is. It's stunt legs.
Everyone restarted
And-
here.
yeah,
when
and
everyone
I-
is about to eat stunt legs.
And it's funny because I ran into the room and I shouted like "stop." There,
Yeah.
You have several options, and it's like one of them is specifically Clementine, and the other one is just like a general.
Yeah.
The other one is like a general, just like everyone stop eating. And it's hilarious. I thought everyone stop eating. I wanted everyone to stop eating. I figured, oh yeah, Clementine too. It's like everyone stop eating, and then Larry says something like, "Oh fuck you, go ahead and enjoy." And then Clementine eats. I was like, no,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fuck everyone. I
Yeah,
just
that's
restarted. I was
exactly
like,
what I did.
Clementine cannot eat this
I
fucking
res-
shit.
and the thing is just Clementine, no.
Yeah.
And she like goes, oh, what did I do?
And she just
and
stops,
everyone else is
yeah.
still eating. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. I was
Fuck
like,
you guys.
whatever.
You can
Fuck you.
vomit. You're all adults.
Fuck
Deal
you
with
guys.
it. Yeah.
And it was just having that foresight of knowing that Larry was gonna like shoot me down and like encourage me. I was like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Enjoy your meal.
Yeah,
asshole.
enjoy, cunt.
Oh god,
Eat up, stunty.
that was like so that was like the one moment.
It's like you're all eating human meat. These people are butchering people for meat.
Yeah.
And then Brenda goes, "That's not a very nice thing to imply." I'm like, I'm not implying it.
Yeah, that wasn't an implication. I like how Stunt Legs crawls down the stairs, which is like the most insane thing. He's like bleeding to death and he crawls
God, help
forever.
me.
Zombified.
And then I guess he crawls back upstairs.
Yeah, I don't know what
No,
happened
they
there.
take him back upstairs to start cutting off his arms.
Oh,
They
I
never
see.
get around to it.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
But it's such a movie moment where he's like, I'm so sorry, guys, it's my legs. And everyone's like, whoa. I was like, oh, okay. See, this is exactly what I knew. This is what they didn't want to do to Kenny, so they made Stunt Legs.
yeah.
Yeah. They,
man.
they got away from that fear pretty quickly.
Yes,
Yeah,
episode
that's-
3 represented a
Yeah, so
huge
that's-
turnaround from that fucking
So
emotion.
let's wrap up
I
too.
also wanted to point out, Andy is one of the characters who calls you boy.
Oh, that's racist.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't
no,
even
that's
notice
true.
that.
Yeah, he says, when you open up the doors at the end, he says, "Boy, didn't you hear the bell? Dinner time."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
see,
think
that-
I think I remembered that, but it was just
And
It was
Larry
funny
calls you boy,
'cause-
too.
what's up.
Larry calls you boy a lot.
Yeah, I was funny because I remembered. I do remember Andy saying that now, but it was funny because it was like, you know, being a person of color, it was this funny little inflection where I thought that, I mean, maybe credit to the voice actor or whatever, but
Yeah.
like I could hear it being a little racist, but also at the same time I was like, well, it's
They
the
do that
fucking
in the
South.
South,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it was
Yeah,
just, it was.
he's from rural Georgia.
So it was just
Yeah.
kind of, it was one of those. I mean, so yeah.
And
I
when
guess-
Larry says it, Larry's like 78 years old. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like
So I
everyone's
thought he was
fucking
like,
boy.
you're a child. Like, I
Yeah.
totally didn't take that the racist way.
yeah, so
Okay, well, yeah, then Kenny calls you urban, so that kind of...
But then he
yeah,
immediately
that-
apologizes.
one of my favorite lines. One of my favorite lines in the whole game. I love it.
I mean, that was a little weird for me. Like, I noticed it. I mean, like, look, I'm not black, I'm half Asian, so, like,
What?
It's
You're
not-
not black?
what?
I'm just kidding.
Anyway.
Continue.
Yeah, I'm half Asian, I'm half Greek.
Oh.
But the racism that I come into isn't like looking down on me exactly. It's more like just kind of patronizing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was used to like people just being out and out like, yeah, you're a criminal, right? You know how to pick locks.
Yeah.
Or just people thinking they're better than I am. because
That
I'm
was
white.
such a. I love the way he said it too, because God bless. This is one of the reasons I love Kenny too, because he was. What it's, I think there's a meme for it. It's like called like almost politically correct redneck, where he's he's trying to be respectful. He's like, well, you could take care of this, can't you? He's like, what are you talking about? Like, well, you're urban.
I love it because Kenny is too dumb to lie. Like, that was a moment of pure honesty. But then he owns it. He's like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot.
No, yeah, I love that moment. So,
Oh, Kenny.
So the next decision was whether or not you side with Kenny about
Larry's heart attack.
Yeah. I think this was one of the few times I was like really neutral and kind of like, because up to that point I'd really disagreed with Kenny, but obviously like him getting mad at you is just like, it just was always a hassle, and he's always like giving you shit. So I was just like, oh God, what can I do? And I don't really remember what I chose. I think I went middle of the road as I could, and I mean, of course.
Can I say, after he gets salt licked, you can continue to administer
Yes, yeah,
I completely forgot that. But I remember doing that and laughing hysterically. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
oh man, it's okay.
I remember, yeah. You could.
His head is gone. His head is turned into a fucking Easter Island statue.
It happens right in the middle of it, and it's just like
And he's still pumping. Oh, it should be so tickled with murder.
It was just one of those weird
It's
little,
how we deal with it.
one of those
true.
weird little designs that just happened to not work out.
That was so stupidly brutal because there's no warning that it's coming. You're just
Yeah.
his chest, and then suddenly there's a blood.
That's exactly why I sided with Lily, because I'm like, well, we have the salt lick. There's a bunch of us here. Like, he's a big guy, but we'll kill him. Like, we'll deal with it. Like, me and Kenny can fight. Well, Kenny can deal with it. Lee will trip over something. He's got the salt lick covering, so it's like, well, let's just try. Because if I fuck up, he's gonna growl, and then you can cave his fucking skull in, and everyone wins.
So, I might be wrong, but I thought, because this one I was kind of curious about. So I think I read that if you side with Lily and do your best to save him, apparently he like takes a breath before the salt hits his face.
If you do like 4 compressions before Kenny drops the block, he gasps a little bit, but he doesn't open his eyes. He just
That's fucked up.
Yeah, because I remember I thought like, wow, that's pretty fucking.
Because that's the one thing they show you zombies turning all the time in the game and in the show. Maybe not in the game. I can't think of anything.
I don't think.
But
they
they never
changed them.
breathe when they turn. They always open their eyes and are not breathing anymore. Like, they never go the... You never hear that. Whenever there's a turning, like, that's like the internet... When you hear a breathe in, it's the fucking international sign for not dead yet.
Yeah.
right.
So what a... Yet another subversive little fuck you.
Yeah.
It's a good metaphor for the whole game. You're pumping on the chest of... Oh, you saved... Never mind. Dead.
Yeah. So then after that, most of the choices revolve around whether or not to kill the whole St. John family, and I didn't kill any of them. The first one, obviously, because Clementine is watching, or I guess she's not watching you, but she runs.
She's
in.
watching.
Was she?
Yes, because...
she's
trying to remember.
Because that's another one I reset, because I plunged that fucking pitchfork right through his chest, and I'm like, die, you fucking lunatic creep. The logic being, I don't want to have to worry about you later.
You know what I just remembered? I remembered that, okay, no, I did restart more than once, and this was the second time. And it was because I was not going to kill Danny, and my wife starts freaking out, like, no, you have to kill him, he's gonna get Clementine. And so, like, the timer's going down, I was like, wait, seriously? Why would you, like, I don't want to kill him. She's like, no, just do it. I was like, and I hit the button, and you plunge it in, and Clementine's in,
It's
and I was
horrifying.
No! I was like,
Yeah.
and then my wife goes, oh, we shouldn't have done that.
Clementine witnessed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my wife's like, no, we gotta restart.
For the record, if Clementine hadn't been watching, he would have been pitchforked so hard. I wanted to yell booyah when the fucking pitchfork hit the wood floor through his goddamn chest. Boom! You're dead forever, motherfucker! But
No,
then I
I
had to
just
throw it in
my
the hay.
thinking was like, as far as playing Lee, I wanted to try and be as consistent a character as I could. And I felt
That
like,
was consistent to me.
well, that's what for me
Yeah.
to pick and choose like that. I don't know. I felt like I couldn't make that call, and especially when I'm trying to remember. I think he's shot in the leg at that point, or what is?
He's
it's,
got a bear trap on his
Yeah,
leg.
he's got the bear trap, and so I was just thinking like, this guy's fucked. I was like, I can't just kill this guy.
Yeah, in that moment, it was just pure focus of your a threat. I must eliminate
That's where my wife was too. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then,
Leaving him is actually worse because then the walkers get him.
Because, yeah, then he just gets bit.
yeah, but
But you don't realize that in the moment.
yeah, it's,
You know, but once I saw that Clementine could witness murders, I became acutely aware that that was a possibility. That had never entered my head before.
Actually,
I was
Clementine
like,
witnesses pretty much every murder.
yeah.
I think so. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but that's like, that's one of the themes of the game is killing an undead person, which is not viewed as killing, but it's still bad, versus killing a living person and choosing to kill them, not accidentally killing them. It's something that comes up, and it's one of the things you can mention to Clementine about why you don't want her to shoot you, because it changes you. And I thought that was a great way to bring it back around to the first time he killed, and all the guilt he felt. It's one of those back-ending things that really works. But in that moment, I was being a video game character. I guess it was just my muscle training of kill threat. Just like in Modern Warfare 2, when you're in the airport, my first thought was kill everyone, because I've got a gun and I don't know what they're gonna do, so might as
All
well
it
blast them
said
all.
was follow him. It didn't say
Yeah,
do what he does.
yeah, but I mean, he's having so much fun. I wanted to join in.
Shnemmy boy.
Yeah, I think that really speaks to the game's strength that you were actually thinking about someone else's welfare more than your own.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah.
I was like,
I would
oh, I
agree.
can't mentally scar her by enjoying killing a person. It kind of flies in the face of everything that is about his character.
And so then, obviously, so continue on. I didn't kill the, I guess it was the mom, because you
Yeah, you
encountered
just
the mom
let her
before,
back up
before-
into stunt legs.
Yeah, and then I didn't kill Andy, because
I
he...
love
No.
that moment, by the way.
Which one? The backing her up into...
Mark's revenge.
Yeah, there you go. Stunt legs. Stunt legs returns.
I liked leaving Andy to himself by just beating him, because everything he was saying felt so pathetic. That was like probably the strongest moral victory I
What
felt
does he
in the
say
game.
again? I'm trying to remember.
He's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Man,
co-
this isn't over.
There's no better way to emasculate someone by making them say, "Come on and fight me like a man," than in that situation. That was the most emasculating "fight me like a man" I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Where you look at him with just pity,
Just
like how
like-
pathetic you
yeah.
are, and it just makes it that much easier to walk away. The last choice in that chapter is the car,
The car.
whether to loot it or not.
Which you had no idea what you were doing in that moment.
That to me, I understand how it played out, but that to me really felt like Clementine isn't a character; she's the morality chain.
Yeah, I see. Here's the funny thing, and my girlfriend accidentally removed that feeling from me because I'm Felicia, because I'm sitting there staring
No,
at the
I mean, never mind.
Your
I thought you
wife,
said
he
it.
meant.
who?
Your wife.
My what?
Your wife, yeah.
Who? I don't know what you're talking about. I walk up to the car and I'm like, well, we can't rob the car, and she's like, why wouldn't you rob the car? It's just sitting there. And I'm like, the door is open and the light inside the car is on. She's like, yeah. I'm like, it's been 8 months. It's someone's car. Like, someone who's somewhere. And I thought, it kind of, it reminded me of a conversation I had with Felicia about piracy and why stealing even from a corporation is wrong, in my opinion. Because I said, when you're stealing from a corporation, you just can't see the person that you're fucking. Right? And that was the exact situation with the car. Yeah, I could take all this stuff, and it would benefit all of us. And it's okay because I can't see who I'm fucking over. But I'm fucking over someone, regardless. In a corporation, if you steal from them, maybe the CEO doesn't lose his job. But if there's enough of you, some fucking guy in the company who did nothing wrong is getting fucked because you're a thief. And that was my conversation I had with her not long before I played this game. So that brought that all up for me. And I'm like, I can't steal from the car. I know, I intellectually understand there's someone out there who could be as little as 200 feet away, running, looking for their kid or some shit, and they come back and all their shit is gone. You know?
Yeah, that was kind of my viewpoint
Yeah,
for
Lily
for
even
that
mentions
one.
that. Like, if we steal the stuff, we're just monsters who come out of the woods and ruin someone's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I completely agreed with
Yeah,
that.
in that instance, yeah, I mean, and of course, it also had to do with just setting the example with Clementine and kind of sticking by her, because obviously then she's
and
gonna feel alone.
If you take the stuff and make her wear the shame hoodie for the rest of the game,
Shame hoodie.
Interface fucks with you again. It says you convinced Clementine it's okay to steal.
Because it's true. It's true, because that is one of her, one of her brilliant child moments. She's not fully connected to this as the apocalypse. She's still a child. And her parents presumably taught her taking from other people is wrong. And you're going, well, no, it's okay because we need it.
Yeah.
You know? Well, we'll just take it and fuck them because they're not us.
That you get for finishing that chapter. It's not stealing if you need it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so I don't agree that she became kind of the moral beacon, but only because of my particular bias.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's I can definitely see your point, because like I said, I made the decision for both reasons, which is that I wanted to side with her because I want her to not feel ousted or isolated, but at the same time, yeah, my thinking was like the lights are on in this car. It wasn't the sort of situation where at no point did anyone say like, oh, this car's clearly been here for months, or the battery's dead, or
Right.
it was just one of those weird things. So.
And it was one of those things where I knew when I made the decision, and they did a really good job of showing this, I knew it was a choice I would be thinking about for the rest of the game, especially if it started to get ugly. If I had just taken the food and the sweatshirt, would it be a little bit better?
Oh yeah.
You know?
Would she have been a little bit warmer?
Exactly. It's like...
a little less hungry.
It's like, what doesn't keep you warm at night? Smug self-superiority feelings.
Yeah.
Not as good as a fucking sweatshirt, and especially if it's fucking snowing in Georgia. I hope that fucking thin girl dress she's wearing is enough. But that's how Chapter 2 ends. And then the fucking...
Chapter
the Holocaust,
3.
or as I like to
Oh,
call
God.
it, Chapter 3.
Oh, no. Before we move on, can I just say that my favorite line in this game is from Chapter 2, and that's where when you walk into the barn, and you go up to one of the salt licks, and you say, what's this thing? And Duck's like, Dad says it's called the salt lick. And then Clementine chimes in and says, yeah, but don't lick it, it's gross. and then Lee folds his arm and says,
How do you
"Did
know?"
lick it?" And she stands there guilty for a
Yeah.
second and goes,
No.
I don't know.
I don't
that
know.
was great.
What
No,
a
my
child
my
actor.
favorite line
Such
was
a
is still
child
Kenny.
thing
Yeah.
to say.
No, that was really great. All right, so chapter 3 is
See, my
it pretty
favorite...
much just starts off. It just starts with the ball rolling with the girl in the street. With
Yeah.
you're with Kenny, I think, right at the beginning, and
I shot her. Fuck Kenny. Kenny's an asshole.
That's exactly what I did too. I'm like, you know what? I understand that you're thinking about yourself because your kid is not out here, so it defaults back to you. But I'm out here and I can make this choice, and it's one of the few choices I can make and have a direct effect on someone else. So
You know what?
bam, shoot her.
I think I didn't shoot her.
I didn't even
I'm trying to
hesitate.
remember if I.
Oh god, and you had to listen to her scream the whole time you were in the pharmacy, right?
I'm trying to. No, you know what? I think I did shoot her because fuck, I can't remember now.
Well, you'll know because did you have to rush to pick up all the stuff?
That's it. So no, yeah, we didn't shoot her.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I had to you have 30 seconds, grab as much as you can. I'm like,
And
food.
and she's filthy, and her hair's all stringy. And,
Yeah.
Oh god.
It's
it
just
felt
awful.
So awful.
Yeah.
Just looking at her.
No, I think we decided not to because we were just thinking about the group and getting the items, and we both felt really shitty for it.
Yeah, I didn't.
And it was
He browbeats the shit out of you if you do it. Like, you fucking asshole, we're out here too. I'm like, yeah, you know what, Kenny, fuck you.
That's one of the things that Kenny brings up to the other groups. Like, you didn't need to fucking talk about that. That's our own personal shit.
Yeah, that didn't affect anyone else here.
yeah.
Oh, and fucking Mark did that too. Like, whatever you tell Mark about Larry at the very beginning, he says to Larry, it's like, yeah, even Lee told me that we know you're just looking out for your daughter. Or
Yeah.
it's like, Lee says that you're a little
Yeah,
fucking racist.
I remember
or some
that.
shit like that. It's like, dude, just
Yeah.
just fucking tell him everything, why don't you?
Yeah,
Jesus.
stunt legs.
It's like,
Why don't you
Mark,
shut your fucking
God
mouth
damn it.
and cut that off next?
And he shoots his mouth off too to the St. John's when you're starting to get suspicious of them. It's like, yeah, how many people you got over there?
Yeah. fucking stunt.
That's
legs.
funny. That reminds me, that's the only time in the entire game that I lied that I can remember, at least.
Which one?
Is when you're walking with the St. John's and they ask how many people are in your group, and I said, a lot. And we have guns.
And we're heavily armed.
Because I know why a person asks a question like that. Like, I'm not fucking stupid. We're in psycho Mad Max world now. Someone's asking like the answer is always so many people, so many guns.
Don't fuck with us.
Yeah.
I think I said the same thing.
We're a
Yeah, we
scouting
like,
party for a giant army.
All right, so then they go. So what happens next? You go on the street. You get supplies. You come back.
Mm-hmm.
There's some arguments, and Carly tells you to tell people about your past.
That's right. I think I told. Who did I tell? I definitely told. Was that the instance where you tell Kenny?
You can tell everyone at that
Yeah.
point.
So I definitely told Kenny. I figured Kenny took care of Katya and Duck. So.
It's funny because Kenny goes,
No, you can tell Kenny and Katya individually.
No, I know, but I just told,
Yeah.
I just told Kenny because
it's funny, Kenny goes, well, it's going to affect your, it's going to affect whether you get on the boat or not. And as a person, I'm like, there's no fucking boat. So it's like, whatever, Kenny. It's just another passive-aggressive thing for him to say. So I'm like, whatever, Kenny, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I think he said something. I was like, all right.
But he also asked the greatest question ever, which is, was it for touching kids? Because that's the only thing
That's
that
the only
matters,
that matters.
especially to him, but that's the most reasonable question I've ever heard following I was in prison.
Yeah.
Or I was on my way to prison when this all started. For touching kids? And you say no, and he's like, and he's visibly relieved. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well,
But,
I mean, it's still bad.
I think I know I told
But, I
Clementine.
mean, I laughed initially because I thought it was a funny thing to say, but like he's dead fucking serious.
Yes, because
Yeah,
he only
yeah.
cares about his child, and if you touch his child, he will fucking kill you.
Did you guys tell Clementine?
I told everyone. I
Oh,
told
you
Clementine.
told everyone?
I told
Okay,
Clementine in the back
I
office.
told Ben, and he didn't even know what to do with it.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, thanks for trusting me." Yeah, I told everyone, but I told Clem in Act 1 when it came up in the back office.
Oh, did it? I don't even remember.
Yeah, you
that.
have a chance to tell her. I'm like, "Well, I killed someone," and she goes, "Well," like she kind of makes an excuse for you, like, "Well, you seem good, so it was
That's why
probably
I don't remember
okay."
that. I don't want to say I'd lied because I remember thinking early on like I don't want to lie to Clementine. But,
Yeah, exactly.
I remember sort of what I guess I picked whatever option would have been like to kind of just like let's.
Smooth it over.
Yeah, but I definitely told her at that point, and I remember her reaction at that point was pretty. I don't know about making excuses, but like she, I mean, at that point it felt more appropriate, I guess, as far as dealing with a
didn't tell
child.
her. I changed the subject.
Oh, in chapter 1 or
Yeah, when we were moving the desk.
no? Yeah, that's what. So I'm saying I did the same.
I don't really know you that well. This is none of your business. I'm going to take care of you. That's all you need to know.
So
That's
I'm
hilarious.
saying I wasn't. I don't think I know if I was that curt because I remember I picked whatever it was that was kind of like moving along. But I'm saying in 3.
No, that was my thought process. That's not what I told
Oh,
her.
okay,
What I
okay,
did was
gotcha,
I changed
gotcha.
the subject. It's like, yeah, I'm just. My
How
parents
about
were mad
them
at me,
Yankees?
And that's why we were apart. And tell me about your parents.
Yeah, but I mean,
How's that Splinter doing?
but it was interesting because it's one of those few instances where I think that was sort of. I mean, again, speaking as a parent, like I felt like that was kind of the good thing because by chapter 3, Clementine definitely trusts you and she understands that you wouldn't do anything to hurt her, and so I felt like for her to hear it then, especially because Carly gives you that opportunity, to just tell people. I felt like it went over better because Clementine, she I think she kind of does the same. I wish I could remember exactly what she says, but it's sort of like, oh, like I understand, like because you just say, I went to jail and I killed someone. She's like, I think she asks you something like, well, did you mean to do it? Or she's, she basically is
Yeah,
like
you get
asking,
it. You
like,
get a chance to
was he
clarify.
bad?
yeah, like
Because when you say it in Act 1, you're not like, I murdered a guy for fucking my wife, bitch. You're like, I fought with it, like I got into a fight with a guy and he died. Like, he still plays it a little bit coy.
Yeah.
But I remember my thought process was, I want to talk to her like the adult she's going to hopefully someday become. Like, that was my mentality from the get-go. I don't know why I just jump into instant dad mode. Probably because the second I heard her family on the
voicemail,
the message
Yeah.
machine, before you even meet her, I was like, her parents are so dead.
Yeah, they're fucking dead.
So she needs a
Yeah.
parent. And I thought, like, I couldn't live with myself. It's funny that you guys mention perfectly legitimate reasons to lie to her or to not even talk about it at all. I felt like I owed her the truth so that she can make her own decision if, like, this is a person you want to bond with.
And
Like,
again, this is one of the strengths of the game, I feel like, because, as I said, I feel like people a lot of the times think they know what's best with parenting. I sometimes have to check myself when I see like kids acting out in public, and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong?
You just
and
wanna
it's
beat
just
them
you. I mean,
savagely.
you just really realize like there's so many different ways of doing it, because like listening to you, that's totally legitimate.
Yeah.
That you would want to be straight up with a child and and up front, and it works, a lot of the time, because kids, we don't have no idea how fucking smart kids are
They're
sometimes.
extremely perceptive.
Yeah, they're very perceptive. They pick up on it. If you're honest with them, they'll just respect you without even knowing that they're, like, you have that modicum of respect for you. At the same time, a lot of kids, if you handle things sort of in a delicate way, they're better equipped to deal with it, which was sort of my thinking, because I felt like to say that to Clementine at the very beginning would just really put her on edge.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously it didn't really... nothing really comes of it. I don't know, because you told her right away. I don't know if you felt like you noticed a difference in gameplay, but
no,
I
because
felt
because the way he phrases it is like how you're saying. Like he lightens it as much as possible. So he doesn't like call himself a murderer.
Yeah.
He talks about it like it was an accident, and he feels really bad about it. And she, like, it's a weird moment of, like, she looks at you with pity, like, oh, you made a mistake, I'm so sorry. Like, she looks at you the way you wish society would look at people like that.
Yeah.
Which is that pure child love thing of, like, well, I know you're a good person because you've been taking care of me, so it's really unfortunate that this happened to you.
Yeah, so just so yeah, from my perspective, for the narrative, it worked really well that you told her in the third chapter, because I feel like you guys have had that moment where you're kind of standing together, and then she feels like, well, like, for her to, like, kind of, I think it's interesting, because in the first chapter, I think she knows that sort of instinctively, like, she just knows, like, this is kind of a good guy, that's the vibe, but by the third chapter, it's like, no, he's taking care of me, he's not fucking off the handle. I mean, unless that's how you play him, I guess, and I don't know.
Yeah, I have no interest in seeing that version of the game.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it felt very natural. It's like that's when you tell her.
Like Renegade Shepherd, it's like
It's like my dad. It's just the uncomfortable simulator for 25 hours. Wow, this is terrible.
But the interface helpfully tells you Clementine understands what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well,
you still get that opportunity because I
I know. Then you get to kind of clarify.
You get to well, you still kind of come clean about it. You're like, you give her more detail, and you're kind of acknowledging without saying, I might have been misleading the way I told you about it. Because he's still playing it super close to the vest in Act 1. So anyone that you can share it with is like, and in Act 3, that is like his moment of catharsis where he's able to just
like tell
put it out
everyone,
there.
yeah.
And so this is my dirty secret. And I told everyone. Like, everyone that I could tell. I think you can't tell Duck.
Yeah, like I said, I think the only person I didn't tell was Katya, because I just figured... I mean, it wasn't like I didn't want to, but for some reason in my brain, oh really? That's because for some reason in my brain I was just thinking like, well, Kenny's gonna tell everyone anyway, because Kenny's not the kind of guy who's like not gonna tell his wife that.
And the funny thing is, I didn't even see it as a means of disarming Larry's secret that he has on you. I saw it as like, I just wanted to get it out there so I don't have to worry about it. It's like how I feel in life. Like, I just need to get this thought out so it's not poisoning everything. Or this thing that happened. I mean, I don't really do anything like murder people and jealous rage. But if I did and it was the apocalypse, I probably would have done the same thing.
I didn't tell Lily.
So I told Lily...
I forgot about that. I didn't tell her because I just thought she would be totally unhinged at that point.
No, not at all. Because she's unhinging. She, like, is starting to lose her... And she's far more concerned with trust. And she sees that you're trusting her with this thing. And like Eru says, they kind of pose her as a possible romance interest just from her archetype in the group. So there's that... The more honest and, like, not... cracking the whip on Lily you are, the more she's a normal person. She's just a person who breaks under stress badly.
Yeah. Well, clearly.
But everything before that...
She's so normal when it's just you and her alone.
Yes, she is.
No,
and she even says...
I mean, I picked up on that too, but I was just really worried about it.
But she says that as much. She says, like, I'm flying off the handle. I'm not handling this well, but I don't know how else to do this. I'm just trying to keep everyone safe.
Yeah.
And I know I keep freaking out.
And
it was so strange to me to look back on that and realize, oh, I'm not the leader of the group.
Yeah.
I'm the protagonist.
Yeah.
I'm not the leader.
Yeah.
It's funny because I never felt like that.
And everyone talks to you like you should be the leader, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
But you're never the leader.
Well, towards the end you do, but
No,
but I didn't
only to
think
find
Only
Clementine.
to find Clementine,
exactly.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I'm the go-to guy. I'm the gopher. I'm the guy who they call on when they need some heads cracked open.
You're the most reliable
Yeah.
person, emotionally.
Ironically.
Yeah.
And
And
it
then-
also makes sense that Carly would kind of develop feelings for you because you're the only two reasonable people in the whole crew.
Yeah.
So you have that option, and then fucking all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, because Ben's been giving the
But you
bandits
don't know
food.
that yet.
Right. Oh,
All
yeah,
you
do the
know
investigation with
is the
Robin.
bandits are fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And
You don't find that out until, like, the end of Act 3 or somewhere in Act 4.
Well, yet another example of the interface fucking with you. Duck thinks you're incredibly awesome.
Yeah.
When you high-five him.
Yeah, and why wouldn't he?
Right.
Yeah.
I know a lot of kids like Duck. I have a lot of friends who have kids. I have a lot of kids in my family,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I know a lot of kids like Duck. They're just really enthusiastic. Nothing gets them down, and they're kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
and
that's
they're annoying, but you can't really dislike them because they think you're so cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just for
They
being
just
older
think
than
you're
they
the
are.
best.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. So the next major decision really is where all of that comes to a head, and you have to kind of figure out who you think has been helping the bandits, or if you think anyone has. And
I don't
Lily's
accuse anyone. And,
going crazy.
Yeah, it keeps boiling over, and at the first time, there's another time I restarted because I thought I got Carly killed by not being confrontational enough. Because Lily just fucking shoots Carly right in the fucking head.
Yeah.
And I reloaded it and said, I did it. You know, just to fucking defuse it, because it's like, stop laser focusing on this kid, because it's not helping. It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter.
I mean, at that point, it was interesting because, you know, I think I mentioned picking the neutral choice. What did I say I did it for? When you have the choice of what to do with Larry, I was kind of being very neutral because I didn't agree with either of them. This was one of those instances where being neutral felt right because you really don't have any evidence against anyone at this point in the chapter,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting because you can make an accusation, but at this point it's really just based on whatever you think. There's no real solid evidence other than what you find, but there's no one linking it to anyone specific. So I kept picking neutral because I was like, this really is kind of the only situation where neutral's almost right, because you were saying, it's like, it doesn't fucking matter, we just need to stop.
It just
And then-
needs to stop,
And
exactly.
Carly gets shot in the face.
It's
And
so brutal.
that was probably one of the more jarring moments up to that point, because it's just like, what the fuck just happened?
That was
Like-
that was the first time I literally went into Mother Bear mode and felt not even a hint bad about it. It was Lily is immediately out, because I was
Right.
like, the second she did that, now she's a threat to Clementine because she's a threat to both of us. Like, if she shoots me, Clementine's
it
alone.
happens right in front of Clementine.
Yeah.
She's standing in the door of the
It's
RV.
just fucking horror, and I'm just like, you're done. Like, I pushed her up again, and like, you're not riding with us anymore. Start walking, and we just left her there. And I didn't double think it for a fucking second, because I'm like, nope, you're a threat to everyone because you've fucking lost your mind.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. For whatever you want to say, like, again, in terms of being consistent, because I didn't kill the St. John's brothers, like, I didn't feel like we could do anything about her in that moment, especially to leave her with the walkers. Just, I mean, because that was a huge fuck up. But again, you're playing a character who fucked up himself, and so my perspective is
And
like,
that's exactly what she says to you as you're leaving her by the side of the road. You
Yeah,
made a
you killed
mistake
before and I
too,
forgave you.
and I forgave you.
Oh, does she?
Why can't you just forgive me now? And I'm like, because it's different. I killed selfishly when there was no child to protect. You put yourself in a position, like, it was, I completely understood why she felt what she felt, but she put herself in a position where keeping her was fucking impossible. It was either kill her or leave her behind. That
Yeah.
was the moral choice.
I mean, I can see your
Leave
point.
you alive.
I just felt like, because the game gives you, you know, that ability, and again, maybe this is something I learned from the game. If I remember actually in this situation, but like, I really feel like we need to deal with this later, and obviously it's not great later. I mean, you got rid of her, so, but later she just steals the RV anyway.
it happens not much later.
Yeah. Wait, she comes back and steals the RV?
No,
Or-
she stays in the RV and then she just drives, because she's like, if you don't vilify her at all,
No, I'm saying you left her by the side of the road.
she
so-
never
And
see
she
her
never
again.
comes back after that, no.
Oh,
She's
okay, no,
gone
so
forever.
that's my point, is if you do take her, she steals the RV, and yeah, then you never see her again.
And
so.
part of what tempers that, and I talked to Arrow about this, Part of what might have poisoned my whole choice was Lily shows up in the comics in Woodbury,
Oh, does she?
which is the governor's town.
Uh,
And Woodbury, and I watched this thing that kind of I was reading up about Lily because I was curious. This happened before I made the choice, and I kind of spoiled it for myself a bit. Woodbury on a map is like 17 miles away from where the RV is in the game, because Woodbury is an actual place.
Yeah.
All the locations are like real places.
yeah.
And their whole theory is, well, because they never name Lily explicitly in the comic. However, she looks just like her, and the arc makes sense. And there's this whole explanation of, and they showed a Google Maps that just went, if you run through the forest here, you'd make it, or as long as you didn't get bit, you'd make it. So I kind of knew she couldn't die, but in that moment, it didn't matter. Like, it honestly didn't. I was just like, no,
Yeah.
You are a direct threat to Clementine. If you were a zombie, I'd shoot you in your fucking face. But I do care about you as a person, so I'm giving you the opportunity to save your own life by running the fuck away.
Yeah, see, for me, it
Before
was
I
just
changed
like,
my mind.
for me, it was just like she was clearly unhinged. I was sort of like, if the severity of, I don't know, not quite sure where I thought it would go, but I was like, we just need to deal with this later. That was just my thinking. What did you do, Eric?
I left her.
Oh, okay. So
it
yeah.
was it was too much. Like, yeah, you're gonna start going off like that. You can't be around Clementine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy batshit. There's no trust. All the trust is immediately eliminated. And it's funny that it's again another one of the ways that the game is subversive. How they throw back in your own face what you did. However, and it's funny how you can rationalize what you did is okay, but what she did is not okay. But it's still
Yes, yeah.
I can look at that
didn't,
impartially,
so that
but
was,
emotionally,
yeah.
you're a threat to Clementine. That's the only reason why. I don't care that you can. I mean, I do care because I liked Carly a lot, too. However, that's not why you're getting thrown off the RV. You're getting thrown off the island because you're endangering the only thing on it that matters.
Yeah.
By being crazy. Yeah.
By being a lunatic.
That's
yeah.
not the end of chapter 3, actually. So
No,
you
not
continue,
even
so you continue driving.
That's not even the middle of chapter.
Yeah,
The middle
so-
of chapter 3 is giving Clementine a haircut.
Exactly. So so you get
Which I think that's very important. That's the middle of the game.
Yeah.
so you continue driving, and now I'm having kind of a fuck
The
up.
train blocks the road.
But I'm trying to remember, where does Duck get bit?
Duck got bit back at the escape, but you find out about it.
That's
at
right.
the
Okay.
Fucking
Yeah.
Right, yeah, after you leave Lily, or take her with you, after Carly dies, basically,
Yeah.
then Katya calls you up to the front and says that Duck got bitten back at the motor inn.
That's right.
And then you have another chat with Clementine about Carly. You tell her that, there wasn't any time for a burial. And then you have the nightmare.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess then the next... Because, yeah, you fix it up, you meet Chuck, so I guess the next major choice would be what to do with Duck.
Right.
Which, I mean, that was an interesting one because it's kind of obvious what the choice is, but it kind of gives you... Instead of kind of deciding what to do with Duck, the choice is more like, do you convince Kenny or do you just kind of... Like, do you gently coax him, or do you just kind of fucking tell him what's what?
It's not quite a... This is an interesting one, because not quite a choice. It's more like a situation. You're not
Well, that's
sure
what I'm
how to
saying.
deal with it.
That's why. I mean, I tried to be as gentle as I could with him,
Yeah.
and it worked. I mean, I
Yeah.
did. You guys? You said you fought him down, or what did you do?
No, I talked him down. But
So did
Okay.
I.
Yeah, I don't know of
If you
anyone
don't
who.
talk him down, you have to beat his ass.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I just you talk him down, and yeah, then he goes back and you pull over, and
Take care of
the
Duck.
next choice
The
comes
next
up, which
uplifting
is
choice.
No, an important element of that is after they go off into the woods to either deal with it or say goodbye, based on what you chose, you sit down with Clem and explain to her what's happening.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
was yeah. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I explained it. I don't remember.
I never liked
Yeah,
Clementine.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I
Guy,
didn't. Yeah, I didn't
They
lie.
say, I'm going to take care of him. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, you're all saying the same things, but it's very different language.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't lie to Clem, and then of course,
I wanted her to understand why what was happening, because at this point I became more aware this is how the game guides you in a really great way. I was more aware that she's going to have to live in this world, and there are rules for this world, and this is what morality has become.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're going to go back to backyard barbecues and this is just a sad thing that we have to deal with this. There's no not dealing with this now. This is the world we live in. So you have to understand, you know, it's really sad and it's really awful, and I'm going to take care of it so that they don't have to, and that's the way it is.
And so, before you can even do anything about that, though, Katya offs herself.
Well, yeah.
And, then you're once again you're given the option of,
And yeah, that was such a slap in the face about, you know, there was nothing you could do.
yeah, there was... So you're given the option of, again, making Kenny just do it, or doing it yourself, and obviously you're not gonna... I don't think anyone made Kenny do it. I can't imagine that...
Well, we had a...
Someone been like, just do it, man!
Did we have a discussion on... I can't remember now. Was this on the podcast or not, where we talked about even having that conversation and the morality of it?
Which one? You mean the... With
One
Kenny...
with Kenny and... Yeah, with
After
Katya and
Katya's
Kenny.
offs herself?
No, when they're even talking about...
Oh, yeah. Was that on... Was that off the record, or...
Oh yeah, I mentioned that I didn't say anything because that was between them. That was their own familial situation.
Yeah. And I was saying... Well, we were both saying, Brian and I, that we were really happy to step in.
I thought that the
Because it's
conversation...
super fucked up that they would even talk
Yeah,
about it.
I thought
Yeah.
the conversation was so awful that the moral thing to do was to not make them have it. Like, just take the choice completely out of their hands so that they could focus on surviving the awfulness of it.
Yeah, I was offering up the parental perspective that, like, if we were in a similar situation... If my wife and I were in a similar situation with our daughter, my first reaction would be...
Don't think about that.
Well, no, yeah, obviously.
Don't even do that.
But my first reaction would be, like, I have to be the one to do this because I can't let my wife do this. And you brought up a good point, which I didn't even think about. And, I mean, knowing my wife, I don't think she'd really have this thought, but it might go through her head, which is maybe she'd be thinking the same thing.
I brought up that point.
Oh,
God
you
damn
did?
you.
Oh, I'm sorry, you did.
How dare you.
Which is a good point. But, honestly, I mean, I was thinking about it from the perspective of if I did it, she would know that I did it. And even though she would know it was the right thing... I know that she
There's
would...
emotional and rational things.
Yeah, there's both, and she would just know that, like,
Well, yeah, there's my dog, Pop. I'll do it.
Yeah.
yeah, and she would just know that I was the one who had to do it, and so thinking about it, you know, Lee really does kind of take the... If you choose to do it, you know, yourself, I'm glad that he does, because it's the most fucking terrible thing, one, to even outlive your child, but then to be the one actually to pull the trigger, like, I can't even fucking imagine.
Yeah,
it's too fucking
I just
much.
reversed the situation in my brain. If Clementine
God.
was that and Kenny was living, I would not have been able to shoot Clementine. It just wouldn't have happened.
No.
Like, it wouldn't even... I'd just be like, I'd just shoot myself. Like, fuck this.
Yeah. So in that respect, I definitely understand what Katya did.
Yeah, I totally got it.
Yeah.
Because
I was-
that's...
okay. You know, the thing is, you know where the name Clementine comes from? Because I was struggling so long to remember where I had heard that name before, and it's from an old folk ballad, an old
My
American
darling
folk ballad
Clementine.
about a girl who falls into a river, and her dad can't swim, so he can't save her, and she drowns.
Oh.
Well, that's touching.
I know the song, but I didn't know that was
You
the
know the song?
context.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all know the song. I just
Yeah.
didn't know that was what it was about.
Gives it
Yeah.
a whole other layer of
It's
sadness.
fucking terrible. So I was like-
Awfulness.
and then I realized that I'm like, oh my god, is that like portentous? Is that gonna come back?
But that's what makes the game great, is that is your state of mind rather than the reality. That's what they put your brain at. Like, that's them tapping into the thinking you're already having.
Yeah.
Like, only a really transcendent piece of work can do that, rather than leading you on, just reminding you of what's already there, you know? Because I hate that led-by-the-nose shit, where if they tried to make it a fucking hook around to, there's a folk song and there's a person named Clementine, I would have said, fuck you. I don't give a shit about a folk song, you know? Rather than going down that road, they just have that in your mind so that you fuck with yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I chose to shoot Doug. just knowing all of that.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys
Yeah,
did too.
that's some Silent Hill 2 shit right there, where
Yeah.
they make you fuck with yourself.
Yeah.
And so then, actually, the next part isn't a moral choice, but it was kind of one of my favorite parts of the game, which, God, did we talk about this at the beginning of the podcast? I'm kind of losing touch of what we talked about before. But I guess I'll just reiterate. I really liked the conversation Chuck has with Lee about, you know, what are you actually...
You're not preparing her.
Yeah, like, what are you actually preparing her and training her, and, like, how are you making your decisions? And I like that conversation, one, because it's good and that it works within the scope of the narrative, because... You know, he's a character who's kind of telling you how it is. Two, I like it from...
Chuck is the most coherent homeless person I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ever.
I would agree. He's kind of...
It beats the hobo life.
Yeah, did he crawl out of 1930s? He's got all his
Yeah.
teeth. And so, I also liked it from the perspective of... I don't want to say they're not spoon-feeding you, but they are making a point with the character about... Hey, just in case you weren't sure, we're reminding you that this is a game you play a little differently than you would most games, you know. Before that point, I was making a lot of my decisions, I feel like, as a gamer. Not to the extent of, like, as I said earlier, I want item X or item Y, but I thought about, well, what makes sense for the kind of story I want? Mm-hmm. And, like, how do I want my relationship with Clementine to sort of...
grinding.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, exactly. And then he brought it back to, like, well, this is the way I would react in real life, which is... You know, I'm going to tell my daughter shit she doesn't want to hear if it's going to make her a better person in the end and prepare her better for the world, you know, in the future. And I really liked that because it kind of reminds you... Because not most... I don't know about most, but a lot of gamers are not parents, especially young gamers.
Sure.
And so I think it kind of is an interesting little moment where you think, well, yeah, I've been maybe other people were in my position who don't have, you know, kids, and were like, yeah, I've been playing this. Like,
I think
to
that
grind,
was a
and...
perfectly...
I really resent being told that this is a child. You have to be a parent now.
Yeah.
And then the child has no character or is badly written or worse is just completely new. Have any of you played Fahrenheit called Indigo Prophecy?
Yes.
Oh, no, I've never played it, but my friend played it a lot.
There's a child in that game. She's mute. You're supposed to care about her, but you don't.
It's
because she's
impossible.
fucking
I
mute.
cared about...
She's
I
not
cared
even
about
here.
his ex-girlfriend
And
way
in that
more.
game, Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain I never played, no. I heard it was
Never played
good,
it.
though.
I don't have a PS3.
Okay, I did play Heavy Rain, and it was an interesting game, but I didn't really connect with the child characters because, again, they weren't characters. They were just MacGuffins.
Right.
Like, your character has been taken. You have to care because it's your child.
Right.
Yeah.
That game sounded like it was relying on the audience to do that heavy lifting rather than investing you the hard way, which takes skill. Because I know a lot of people who played that game felt fucking claustrophobic over it, but those people had kids. So it was just like inviting them to take a fucking sick leap in their brain. You know, where they're just, oh, these are my kids because I'm the protagonist of a game who has, you know, kids. What was I going to say? I thought that was a perfect converging point as far as the narrative goes, because up until that point, I was focused on just keeping her morale up. And that was the perfect moment for Chuck to jump in and go, keeping her happy is not going to mean shit if she dies.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, it's great that you're keeping her happy, but if something bites her neck, all of that has no meaning. Like, all of your, not even just work, all of your emotions and, like, everything that you've poured into each other will have been for nothing, and it's your selfishness that you're only looking at this part. Like, you're just being the dad.
Yeah.
Like, you're not being more than just the guy who's, like, he's kind of calling your intent into question. Like, are you taking care of her to make you feel better about yourself?
Yeah.
Or are you taking care of her because you actually care that she's going to make it? You know, and I thought the way that it was phrased was really brilliant.
It was a great little piece of writing right
Because,
there.
you know, Clementine goes up to you and says, Chuck says I'm going to die.
Yeah. That's right.
You know, and you go up to Chuck and you're like,
And you're like, the fuck he did?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, Chuck, what the fuck, dude? But, like, I didn't start off yelling.
I didn't
Which
either.
was
I was
definitely an
just like-
option. I'm like, hey, I heard you talk to
I was like,
Clementine.
yeah, what's up with that, man?
What the fuck, dude? And he acquitted himself well.
Yeah,
And by then, I'm
he
like,
definitely like, wow.
you're not wrong. I haven't
Okay.
been looking at this the way I should be. You know?
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite parts of the game, especially as far as like a turning point. So that's not even the end of chapter 3. So I guess the last thing we can... I mean, emotionally, the rest isn't as bad. I mean, at that point, it felt like the end, but it wasn't the end. You run into...
Once you meet Omid and Krista, they distract you with Omid's...
Krista and Omid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They distract you with Omid's injury for a long time. You think, oh, this guy's definitely going to die. But the second you know he's not going to die, I started to heavily suspect that this is who Clementine's going to end up with, not you. You know,
Right.
and
Yeah, I kind of thought the same
and in
thing.
a way, they're kind of wiping the slate of everyone else who'd been involved in all of the uglier previous business. These are people who just survived together. They never do anything unscrupulous, ever.
Yeah.
You know?
And the way that she kind of bonds with them is kind of funny because Lee even mentions to Omid that he thinks Omid is her favorite because she lets him swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, you mentioned this before, that right after you get a talking to from Chuck, you take Clementine into a post office or a rail depot, and she almost dies there.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes later, when you're trying to get her to learn how to do this shit.
Because she can't pull the trigger.
And then,
Yeah.
and then Krista browbeats you, and it's so funny how unreceptive I was to that browbeating. Like, Chuck's words just felt more real, and it's like, I understand why she's saying what she's saying, but fuck you. This kid has to be able to do this.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there is no pretty way to
Krista
handle
is
this.
there to be, like, you know, as I said, the kind of person who thinks that they know everything about being a parent.
Well, she's pregnant, which they never explicitly
Which is
acknowledge,
nice,
but
yeah.
unless you're
Yeah.
fucking blind, you can tell almost immediately that she's
Yeah, I
pregnant.
couldn't tell immediately, but I did pick up on it.
I
I'm
could
happy
tell
to
by
say.
her moralizing that she had a greater stake than just this is some kid. Like she was.
Immediately when you come across them, when you climb up the ladder, they're arguing about whether or not to join a group. And
Yeah.
Omid's like, this is exactly what you need, is a group of guys.
Yeah.
And immediately I'm suspicious.
Yeah, it was. It felt. She just felt like she was projecting to me, and it took me a second to figure out what. But I was like, oh, she's probably pregnant. And then she does a
Right,
couple
but
of
then-
things.
But then after that, I warmed up to her.
I warmed up to her. I didn't warm up to her right away, only because she felt like she understood my relationship with Clementine better than I did, and that annoyed me. Because like, you've known us for 5 minutes, and you have no idea what the fuck we've been through.
But I understood where she was
You have no idea.
Yeah, no, I
what
definitely
she
got
has-
where she was
Yes,
coming
I
from, but-
understood it. I'm just like, listen, lady, shut the fuck up for now. Spend a little more time, and then you can talk. You know, and I was fine with her. I never, like, disliked her. I just thought that was really... And then I thought about, like, what would make a person be that way. And I thought, oh, maybe she's pregnant. Because then she's, like, she's projecting her own fears onto you. You know?
And it's great that made sense. Like,
Yeah.
she had a motivation. Like,
Yeah.
she wasn't just put there to criticize you.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything is so intricately woven into, like, every detail is not just there. But it can be just, like, that's one of the hallmarks of great writing to me, is they give you these details that will give you a really rich tapestry, but they can also stand alone. And nothing is just purely standing alone. Like, you know, it's, in mediocre writing, everything means something, and you can figure out what it means when you see it. Whereas with really great writing, there will be things that just work sitting there, but then if you go back and look at it, it can fit into a greater narrative seamlessly. You know what I mean? It can stand alone and be part of something greater, instead of just being one or the other. And it's really hard to do that well. You know, you either lead the audience too much, or you're too obscure, or there's no connection at all, and all of those are big mediocrity failures.
We are the Walking Dead.
Exactly. We are the Walking Dead. Oh, are
Can I
we?
just mention that I fucking hated the way they handled Lori's pregnancy?
Ugh.
I hated the way Lord. Well,
On the
I-
show or in the comic?
No.
I at least liked that in the comic, Lori seemed like she'd had sex with Shane once. And, she was so useless on the TV show. Anyway, so the
Even if it's Shane's, it's yours. Oh, that's romantic. Fuck
Thanks,
you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Better hope it's Shane's.
Yeah.
So last decision, kind of anticlimactic. Just do you help Omid or Krista? I hoped.
It's also notable that when knows she's not your daughter.
Oh yeah.
Because throughout the game, and this is another like race issue, I guess, but throughout the game, everyone just assumes that she is.
Right.
And you can either say nothing or correct them.
Right. And her dad is black. Like, if you look,
Yeah.
her mom is Asian and her dad is black, so you could easily pass for her dad. You know, and it's funny that
She
she
got that
is
nappy
able
hair.
to pick that up.
It's got them waves.
Pick that out.
She got that nappy hair, them chinky eyes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saved Omid just because I figured, well, Krista can run. She hasn't had an issue yet, so.
I kept trying to grab Omid, and Krista's icon ran in the way. So I helped her up by accident twice, and then she immediately goes, why aren't you helping the guy with a fucked up leg? Which is funny, because Omid does the exact same thing.
Yeah, no, he does too.
If
He's
you
like-
help him up, he's like,
he's
why
like,
didn't you help my girl?
Why did you help my, like, you're not gonna save a woman? I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Like,
Like,
your
dude,
leg
she's
is
fine.
fucked up. She runs, look, she's right there.
She's taller than you, which means she can run
Yeah, but
faster.
at that point, it's like, oh, she's
Yeah, but then she comes, and he's like, oh, sorry, dude.
It's like, you're fine.
Yeah.
And that's how chapter 3. Good God, that chapter was. I played that in one night, and that was why I had to stop for like 2 weeks. So I was like, Jesus Christ.
Because they cull the group into, like, half the size.
Yeah, and
So,
Yeah, you start as 8 and you end up as 4.
yeah, Duck, Lily, Carly, and Katja,
Katja.
all gone.
And then I think it's at the end of this chapter, real quick. Isn't this when Ben admits that he's the one who fucked up?
Yeah, on the train.
Yeah.
He's like,
So I guess we jump forward a little bit.
and it's funny because at that point it doesn't matter anymore, and there's no way
And
for.
you tell him not to tell anybody.
That's one of the things you
That's
can
one
say.
of the things you can say.
That's
yeah.
what I said, because it's like,
That's what I said too, because I was just like, dude, fuck you.
Just
but
keep it
doesn't-
to yourself.
Yeah, it's like this.
my reasoning I wasn't mad at him because I understood his explanation. He's a kid. He just looks like an adult, but he's a dumb kid, and he made a dumb kid.
I was
error.
mad, but I wasn't.
And he
It's
didn't-
not the kind of situation where like I would have killed him. You know, like
Right.
you had the option or whatever. But it was just like, dude, you
I read
fucked up
those
so
dummied out
bad.
Lines, where there's a little more explanation of that.
Yeah.
Why he's so afraid of bandits, and that's because at the very beginning of chapter 2, when you first meet him and his teacher,
Yeah.
he mentions that these could be the bandits that raided our camp, and we barely got away from that.
Yeah.
He explains that his class had a camp, and that the bandits captured all of them and raped his classmates to death in front of him.
Jesus.
Wait, what?
And while they were busy with that, he and his friend and their teacher wriggled out and escaped.
When does that fucking come out?
Wait,
Is that?
Yeah.
That was a dummied out line. That line was cut out.
Oh well.
Okay.
I'm glad because they went way rape heavy in
Yeah,
that
that's
too.
that's like.
Like, oh, everyone's raping away.
I was gonna
Jesus
say,
Christ.
Damn, man.
That's a fucking rape.
Yeah, if he'd explained that.
Yeah, I understand. Walmart breeds animals. I get it.
Yeah. So chapter 4, you start with the house you find. Well, I mean, you make it to. You're in where? Georgia?
Oh, no,
I mean,
you stroll into Savannah.
Savannah. That's what I was
Savannah,
saying.
yeah.
And then Molly, who you don't know yet, starts ringing the bell, and then the radio comes on and tells you to get out of the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think it's connected.
Krista gets mad at you for saying that the radio was broken. You tell her that you thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And then
revealed in
Ben
the end of Act
abandons
3.
Clementine.
That's right, because someone's been talking to
Yeah.
Clementine.
Because it comes over on the radio, and I think it's Kenny. Clementine's asleep. So
Yeah, she's asleep.
he has the
Yeah.
radio, and Kenny's sitting there, and a voice comes over, and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But then you don't really get an opportunity to tell Krista and Omid, so I didn't appreciate the fucking, oh, you didn't tell us about this? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't get an opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't like Krista as much as I thought.
so wanted to wring Ben's neck.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, he and Clementine get cornered, and there's a chance to slip away. and
That.
he panics,
Oh my God.
And Clementine looks up at him
I
like,
fucking-
oh my God, what do we do? And he runs away.
I lost
Yeah.
my shit. I was. Oh man.
I just looked at that at that point after Ben gave his whole spiel about I was afraid, like they had one of my classmates and I wanted him to be okay. I ceased to see Ben like an adult. Ben just became a giant child.
No, yeah, no, that's
So
yeah.
when Ben did that, I got about as mad as if Duck had done that. I just saw a child running away in fear. Like, the more responsibility you put on him, the more disappointed in him you're going to be. He's just not equipped for this world. He's a doofy teenager who's not even close to being an
Yeah.
adult yet. So
I
when he
agree.
did that,
I
I was
agree with-
like, "You fuck!" But
I
then
agree
I was
with-
like,
I agree with everything you say.
Band geek.
I
Yeah.
agree with everything you say, but he still pissed me off.
Yes, he
It's
pissed me
like-
off too. But, you know, at the end, like, and the other thing that helped was he felt bad about everything.
No,
he
I
did.
mean, yeah, of course.
Like, he
and-
wasn't just the, I feel sorry to get out of this situation. It's, I don't know what to do with myself. I keep doing the wrong things. I don't know how to not do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You know, and you just feel, you're like, oh, you're such an awkward, dumb kid.
So then you make it to the house, and you're exploring, and Kenny goes up in the attic, and Ben comes and get you. Comes
By
to
the way,
get you,
that
and-
stupid dog door mechanic thing
Yeah.
took me out of the game completely. And I actually had
Really?
to look, yes, because I just thought it was such a video gamey thing. Like, oh, dig up the dog collar that's ID chipped.
I would agree,
I was just
but
like,
it didn't take
ugh.
me out. I mean, I thought it was kind of weird, but no.
It took
didn't.
me out because I couldn't figure it
I
out
didn't
for the
feel- I didn't
longest
feel that
time.
way at all.
Oh, you couldn't figure it out?
Yeah, I was like,
I always thought that they made sense within the context of the game.
because on my in my game it didn't show a dot at the doggy door, so I didn't know that that was a thing you could look at.
That's
So I'm like
weird.
running around going, how the fuck do I get into this house? And eventually I looked it up and I'm like, it's a buried dog. And I knew I had to dig something up.
Yeah.
Like, I saw the shovel there. I'm like, okay, video game. I'm going to dig something. But it didn't let you dig until you realized you needed a dog collar.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, you fucking asshole. Like, I had to read up on it. And
That's
I was just
it.
like,
I mean, but
oh, fuck
but
you.
unfortunately, that sounds like it was just a weird flaw. Because I mean, the reticle was right there. That's why
It didn't pop up on my game.
That's
So
really weird.
I didn't even know that was a clickable thing. So it didn't even occur to me.
Yeah, that wasn't even a thing.
Like, there's
I
a shed, I can't get in the shed. There's a house, can't get in the house. There's a shovel, and I can't dig. Fuck us.
Yeah, no, I didn't have that issue. So, but anyway, so Kenny goes up into the attic and he finds a child that's starved to death. And
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is why I wanted to mention how you meet Clementine, because
Yeah.
this is one of those moments where they bring it around and show you without explicitly saying this is what would
this
happen.
could have been Clementine.
Exactly. This is what could have happened to her if you had never come along. You know, and that was something I was thinking about and just made me feel really bad. I already felt bad that it was a dead child and it was awful, like because it's the most awful way for a child to die,
Starvation,
alone and
yeah, like,
afraid
oh,
and
God.
starving. And is another thing I wanted to mention this when you are able to kill Duck, and it's also relevant here. One of the things that made the game incredibly good to me was they knew when not to push it and ruin the moment. Like with Duck, Duck doesn't turn in your arms and try to bite you because they know, as writers, this scene is awful enough. It doesn't need more, and it doesn't need an out.
Yeah.
Because if Duck tries to bite you, then he's the enemy, and it's less sad.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
Whereas if you're just killing a sick child, and it's awful. And this child is so not a threat, ever. Like,
Yeah.
there's not a moment where, oh, he has a little bit of strength, he's gonna get your ankle. They leave it so it's just sad.
Well, I
and
mean,
you
and
just
that's,
have to deal
and that's
with the
why
sadness
the
of it.
child had to have died of starvation. Because I was thinking, I was like, why? Like I was thinking all children. Well, I mean, I was thinking every character in this world when they die become a walker. I was like, if he starved to death beforehand, he has no muscle mass. Like even
Right.
for so I was like, that's awesome.
He's obviously-
not awesome that the child starved to death, but like that they thought about that. Like,
Yeah.
because as you say, he's not a threat at all. It's purely about what do you do about this.
But
Do
it's
you-
another metaphor because this is a child who's alone and he withered away to
Yeah,
nothing.
and it's-
There's
oh,
no
it's fucking
in a game
heart-wrenching.
about emotion. This character had no positivity flowing. I know I sound like a fucking hippie right now.
No, but
had
it's-
no positive emotional energy flowing into him, and that is what's left. Just a desiccated, sad
Yeah.
child.
And it's one of those moments where you're like, oh, these people are victims. Like the
Yes.
zombie had character now.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Not just a shuffling enemy to be mowed down with gunfire.
Yeah, it reminds you this is humanity. These are people, and if you're anything like me, and Arrow is sometimes a lot, we have the same reactions to things. It reminds you that all of these people that have killed your friends didn't choose to be that. Like, they didn't fucking wake up and go, I'm gonna murder a family. They just became... It's just an awful thing that happened to them. And it's really easy to hate zombies, and games encourage you to do that because it's the easiest villain to write ever. However, I really like when they look at the other side of, look at these poor people who didn't have a choice. You know,
Or a
this
chance.
this awful thing happened to them, and it was out of their control. And now all of these things they have to live with, and that comes back around when Lee gets bit. But that's always kind of
and
there.
that's something that they absolutely do not do in the television show or the comic. It's just like, oh, isn't it fucking awesome to cut off all those zombies' heads?
Because the show is fucking brain dead like the fucking antagonists of it. That is a show that has no heroes, no villains, and no characters. The zombies just exist. The governor just exists. I don't know in what universe the governor could possibly exist the way he does in that show. But the worst of all, and the one that me, Arrow, and Coin can never stop browbeating, is Rick. He's the worst fucking antagonist I've ever seen. Lee makes him humiliatingly
is that a
bad.
little Freudian slip?
No,
or-
he's but he's nothing.
But
He's
he-
neither.
But I
He
said you
doesn't-
say antagonist because he's like hurting his own.
He
heart.
doesn't
Yeah,
advance the
he's
plot.
such
He
a bad
doesn't
character.
have a
He's so
character.
terrible.
Do you know how you fool Rick? Say the same thing twice in a row. You could be having a conversation with Rick about anything, and it happened in the finale. He's talking to his kid, his child, that he's supposed to be raising. And when you play the Walking Dead game, you can't remove Lee and Clementine from your brain when you're watching the show, right? And he's having a conversation with his kid, and his kid has turned into a lunatic. He's just shooting people because, better not to worry about it. And he's like, you can't shoot children, it's bad. And he's like, no, I should have shot him. No, you can't, it's bad. No, I should have shot him. It made things better. And Rick just kind of puts on a dumb face and walks away. Oh, I guess he's right. Who's the parent, Rick?
What?
You're looking at an amazing failure on your part. And something that was actually a plot point in Season 2 that Lori was worried about. I don't want my child to turn into a monster. Rick is such a fucking retard.
Wait, is this?
Yes, and he just he just wipes sweat off his brow. That's his, and then he kind of stares awkward into the distance and just walks away dramatically. That's whenever anyone
is
talks
that?
to him. There's a scene where he sees the dad from the beginning of the comic. You've read the first volume of the comic,
Yeah.
right? You remember the dad who has the son, the black kid, and the black dad, and the wife is out there?
Yeah.
In the show, they run into him again, and the kid died because the mom bit him. And the dad has gone crazy because of that. And Rick hears this awful story and stares at him for like 35 seconds and goes, well, maybe this is your chance to be good. And I'm just like, please shoot Rick. Please fucking shoot Rick. He just heard your awful story and added nothing. And
Oh yeah, that was the Left 4 Dead episode.
and this was his moment to like go, there's like you know, there's ways to live in this world. You have the ability to do good, and doing, like, you could see a Lee speech that could sit right there. Like, listen, I know this is awful, but there are still people hurting out there, and you can help them.
That's not even the same thing. Lee doesn't give speeches. He just talks to people.
But yeah, exactly. But that's a moment where Lee could have, like, responded to what he was saying. And Rick just sits there and sweats and then goes, well, maybe God is giving you a second chance. And I'm just like, die! Please, God,
mind is
die! Shane was the best character on that show, and that is the biggest problem with that show. An overacting, screaming lunatic who shoots zombies and goes, I'm going to kill them because I care about Carl. I get him. I totally get him. He
Because
makes
he's a character.
absolute
Because he has
sense.
motivations.
I know what he cares about, and I know what he's willing to do to rescue. Rick is nothing after 3 seasons, and he's in charge. And there's a moment in the prison where there's new people filing in, and like, oh, this could bolster our group. And Rick hallucinates seeing his dead wife because television. And he goes, no, you're not supposed to be there. Oh, get out. And scares them out of the prison.
So conflicted.
And that is the moment where any real person would go, okay, Rick is not in charge anymore. That was his Lily moment. Where it's like, okay, not only are you not in charge, we might have to shoot you, but you're certainly not running shit. 3 days later, he's wandering in the woods chasing hallucinations, and they're all sitting in the prison waiting for him to show up again. Like, he'll come back and tell us what to do eventually. And I'm like, you know what? I hope you all die. I hope every one of you dies, because Shane was the only one worth saving. And at least he died like a man.
Oh, seriously? Fuck that prison. Why were they so intent on protecting it that the whole thing was a death trap? They didn't even bother to clear it out.
I don't know. They just fucking... even in the comic, which is awful, they at least turn it into a place to live. But in the prison, they just are squatting, waiting to die. While a lunatic wanders in the reeds.
If Rick was in the video game,
then I never would have seen the end.
I'm saying every option would have just been silence.
Yes, it would have been silent. It's Silent Rick, yeah. Rick is Silent Lee, yes. Is that your son? Your only option you can't see the face, the retard face I'm making. Your only speaking option would be wipe sweat off your brow, repeat yourself, and then slowly walk away.
Oh, Jesus. Well, bringing it back, it is a very, I don't know what you want to call it, human moment. It's really cool. And it's an interesting decision because you both decided to kill the kid.
Yeah.
And actually, at my wife's suggestion...
We're back to the emaciated kid in the attic.
We at my wife's suggestion, we decided to actually kind of let Kenny do it. And it was interesting because that was not my first reaction.
That wasn't mine either.
But my wife said, no, like, he kind of needs... Because her reasoning was he couldn't save his son. In a sense, her thinking was, like, he could not save his son. But he can help this child because, I mean, really, as you said, it's the most pathetic thing, and it's terrible, and it's fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But, she was thinking, like, he has a chance to do what he could not do before and have it actually help someone, and he doesn't have to be so close to it. And it was interesting because we decided to do it, and, you're like, come on, Kenny, you got to do this. Lee kind of coaxes him into it, and he does it, and... I got the reaction I wasn't expecting, which was in the upper, your little, what do you call it, Ari, when it comes up in the upper right corner? Yeah, the interface. It says you helped. What did it say? You helped.
Kenny
Kenny move on. You helped him heal, basically, or something. He goes and he's just like, "Thank you, Lee." Like, he's like, "Thank you, man. I really." And it was just interesting because I thought that wouldn't have been my first reaction.
Yeah, so. It's funny that never occurred to. I never thought along those lines, but I've been thinking about it since you mentioned it first. And I have to agree with your wife. She's totally right.
And that's why it was kind of interesting playing this game with someone who doesn't play games, because that was her first reaction. I was thinking, like, no, I got to do this
That's
for
the
him.
only choice I regret now that I look back on it, because it was totally selfish. It's like, no, I'll deal with it. You don't have to deal. Like, I was babying Kenny.
Yeah.
Like, Kenny became my child. Oh, yeah, we're going to find the boat, Kenny. It's going to be great.
Get on the boat, Kenny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that was one of those interesting moments because I really think of it in terms of just... I said me and my wife made a lot of decisions together and we kind of agreed, but that was the only thing we disagreed. Again, she said to kill Aunt Danny way back when, but then she immediately regretted it.
Yeah.
But that one, she made the call, and I was like,
but
wow,
we did the same thing. It's so funny how synergized we are on that. Because I was like, kill! You can ask Felicia, I killed him with joy. And then I saw Clementine was horrified, and I went, oh my god, I did a bad thing.
So yeah, I thought that was actually a really interesting moment, because I don't remember how many people, what the percentages were, but I would guess probably most people would have taken it for Kenny, but we didn't, and
After episode 2, it was pretty close to... It was usually between 40 and 60% for most of the decisions.
Yeah.
So the only really skewed decision was whether or not to chop off Lee's arm.
Oh, yeah. But we're jumping ahead, so...
Yeah.
I did that, and okay, so then you bury the child. That was
with you. That didn't really feel like a moral choice.
Yeah, but let's talk about burying the child, because that was one of those interesting moments where
Oh, so much dirt, dude.
They made you shovel
they made you
the
do it
earth.
every moment, and it was interesting because they looking back on it, they do anything that involves more than just one motion. They usually do make you do, like, if you're kicking a zombie off you got to kick it several times.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that you notice it right then when you're actually burying the child, and it's really apparent.
There's really a genius in the game design of when to make you do more than you expect or less.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of moments where that really shined, and shoveling that dirt was one of them. I think killing the brother was one of them too. Killing your own brother.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's so every swing you just reflect on you weren't there.
yeah.
You know, this is your failure, and it's not easy to deal with. It's not going
Yeah.
to be clean and and pretty. It's you fucked up. You got to
They
hack.
really used the simplicity of the controls of the gameplay as an advantage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to enhance. It's clear that they were thinking, how can the controls go hand in hand with the narrative, which you see so rarely in gaming. It feels like.
Oh
Like,
yeah, there's so much story and gameplay segregations. Like, oh, okay, here's the shooting section. Okay, cutscene. Shooting, cutscene.
yeah, exactly. They're seen as two completely separate systems.
Yeah, and I mean in that case, it's I thought it was really cool because it's really about what you can it's like really about, you know, it's just reflecting on the fact that this is basically what happens to Clementine if you are not involved. So
Sorry, we're plugging something in. I hate to break down the fourth wall with fucking bazooka.
there we go.
There we go. His fucking our list was dying because
Or
it's online.
not
It's
charging.
electric. It's an electric list.
Oh, it's a solid driver then.
Let's talk about asking Clementine to come to not Woodbury with us.
Crawford? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Otherberry.
Yeah, was that the next decision?
Well, no, the
No,
next
the next
decision
one was
was whether to
Vernon,
bring Vernon with you
but-
or not, but that
Oh,
didn't
that's
feel
not
like a
really a decision,
decision.
whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck Vernon. What an asshole.
Well, he made sense
Okay,
to me
here's
too.
the other thing. Vernon had like 3 scenes, and he has more character than any character in the show.
Yeah, but that's true of everyone. That fucking chick who runs out and you can shoot her or watch her get eaten has more character. It's just
We
terrible.
should try not to talk about the show though, because it's going to get way derailed.
Yeah, we're gonna go off the rails and just not be able to stop talking about the fucking show.
But
Yeah.
no, but in the case of Clementine, it was one of those moments for me where
I want to know if you brought her or not.
I
and
brought
why.
her. I brought her, and it was for 2 reasons. One is because fucking the only person who would be there with her was Omid, and at that point,
An almost dead guy.
yeah, if he fucking dies, like, yeah. So there's that, and then there's also a lot of it had to do with, you know, what Chuck had said, which is, you know, like, what are you kind of preparing her for? And at that point, I honestly felt like, you know, she wants to come, and you have that moment in the previous chapter where she's helping you out at the train depot, and I remember thinking of it in terms of like, well, at some point you need to trust Clementine to be able to, you know, help herself and also be an asset, and it really just
I
seemed
thought it was so important that you allow her to take on more responsibility.
exactly, and
So that she doesn't end up like Ben.
exactly.
Can I
Oh
s-
God, yes.
Can I say that I agree with that? That is absolutely not why I brought her, and I didn't think that was the most appropriate place to begin training, which is Ground Zero, armed guard fucking place. Hey, really? Shoo! Ooh, I gotta sneeze. Shoo! Ooh. I brought her because some fucking creep is talking. Oh fuck! I got. Shoo! Oh, it's totally derailing me. Some creep is talking on her radio, and I need her where I can see her, because if I leave her at the house, the only thing I'm gonna be thinking of is where the fuck is that creep, and is he gonna take her while I'm gone? You know, if she's in the fucking school with us, it's a bad situation, but there's no way he's gonna sneak in and grab her. You know, and also there's like 8 of us in here, whereas you just have fucking sickly Omid. But, you know,
I didn't think of it in terms of those specific terms, but yes, my thought was, as I like the previous things me and Eru just said, but also like, yeah, I need to be able to see her 24/7.
hold on, I'm writing the list.
You still
before
there?
the thing dies.
Okay.
No, and there are a lot of instances like that where you're trying to be careful about dangers that were still present in the world before zombies. Like when Chuck gives them candy, you sit down with her like, does the candy taste funny? No funny
Yeah.
aftertaste? Okay.
I love Chuck. He was just so unassuming. Want some candy?
Yeah. But that was one of those...
But I love that it was acknowledged as, yeah, it's gotta take a look at that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
And I think other characters like I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Christo or maybe it was Vernon. They talk to Clementine. You come across him or her talking to Clementine. It's like, are these people taking care of you?
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, fuck you.
I'm- so okay, what do we got?
Well, we have next on the list when Ben is at the clock tower. Do you let him plummet to his death? And that's what he
Can I just
wants.
say that, like, Lee is a big, strong guy, and never is that more evident than when he's climbing the bell tower, where he just throws 5 zombies over the rails like it's nothing.
Yeah. Well, adrenaline will do some crazy shit.
Well, yeah, absolutely, but I really like that he didn't look like he had melons in his sleeves.
Yes.
In order to indicate that he was a big, strong guy. He was
Yeah.
just a big, strong guy who looked like a normal person.
He kind of
Yeah.
looked sickly, actually, which I thought was funny.
I don't know about
Like,
sickly, but
he
he
has
definitely
wiry
he looked
strength.
a little lanky. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a big guy. He's like one of the taller guys there,
Yeah.
apart from Larry.
But Larry looked big. Like, Larry
Yeah.
looked like a fucking problem.
Yeah, but
Well,
Larry
what I'm
also
saying
had
is,
like
like-
I mean, it's still a
Like,
game, and Larry had Mr.
Shit
Incredible
games have
chin.
fucking
Yeah, he
fucking
did.
dysmorphia. It's
Yeah. He did have an enormous chin, though.
Yeah, so I mean, I saved him. I'm assuming you guys did too, right? I mean,
Well, why did you say it? Well, because there's the...
for the same reasons. I mean, he, as you say, he's just such a fuck up. But I mean, if you let that dictate why you would like kill him, because I mean, I didn't. This is for my personal narrative that I had. Like, I didn't kill Lily, and she just shot fucking Carly in the face.
Yeah.
So I can't kill this kid just for fucking up,
Yeah.
And I really felt like, as you say, he's just really doing the best he can. It's like, God, kid. Like, I really felt like, if nothing else, there would be a moment where I could just scream at him, like, dude, come on, just.
But he was never... He's never going to
to
find
give him
that
a
moment.
chance.
I didn't necessarily
to
think he
redeem
would,
himself,
but I
and
thought I could at
like,
least.
also thought of it in game terms, like if I save him, he'll have his hero moment, right? But also, it had a reaction shot of Kenny, like Kenny's watching you, and I knew that Kenny wanted me to drop him,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Fuck you, Kenny."
Yeah,
He
yeah,
does get
exactly.
annoyed that you don't fucking let him plummet to his
Yeah.
death. I mean, like, I pulled him up. He doesn't deserve to die, even if he wants it. He's a kid. He doesn't know what the fuck he wants.
Yeah,
And I didn't expect him to have a hero moment, but I did want him to see that he was a part of something, and that his choice to participate is what mattered, and not the result. I wasn't as bummed out when he slipped and fell on the pipe. It was a pretty awful way to go. Because it was anticlimactic, because I didn't necessarily see it as anticlimactic. It was in tune with his character.
no, but I saw it as anticlimactic in the same way Omar is anticlimactic. It was fitting. Like I was, like a part of me was like, seriously, fucking.
Yeah, it was so.
But
hyper-realistic. Like,
yeah, but then
just
it's
sometimes.
exactly, and then a second later I think, well, but I mean, look at this kid. Like, how else? I mean, really, he's not going to suddenly like pull out an AK and be like, "I've got this, guys."
Well,
And,
no,
like,
but he could have done exactly what Kenny did. Even though Kenny's sacrifice was pointless too, he could have done that. Like, I'll hold the door, you guys get. He could have had that, and that would have felt trite, honestly, to me, if he had that redemption moment. Like, he didn't need. This was, to me, felt like a real story.
That's what I'm saying. It worked. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that I felt like whatever they were going to do would have felt right. I mean, at that point, I trusted the writers. I was like,
Yeah, I guess
if I'm
that's
going to
true.
keep him alive, like they've done a great job. If I'm going to keep him alive, whatever needs to happen to him will happen.
Right.
And I even think I remembered thinking like, even if he's just going to die, they'll do it right. And they did, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, that's fucking just how it goes. But yeah, I did save him, and did we jump ahead or am I crazy? Is this still chapter 4?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, chapter
You know-
5 begins when Lee gets bitten.
yeah. The only
Yeah,
thing
that's
that
right,
bothered
that's
me
right.
about Ben is he sounded like Seth Green to me.
Only-
Specifically, he sounded like Seth Green playing
I was
the
distracted by
retarded
people
son
like
from
Shaggy.
Family Guy. Yeah, he also
a
looked
little
like Shaggy.
bit, yeah, a little bit, but
Anyway, so the next choice is after because I guess Clementine disappears because after you come back from the hospital and fix it, or the school, and fix up Omid's leg, you have a conversation with Clementine, who still wants to see
Her
if her
parents.
parents are alive
Yeah.
because she's a child, and you
That's
really
totally
have no
reasonable.
way. You really have no way of agreeing. Yes, we'll go see. All of them are
Oh, yeah, you did lie
letdowns.
to her.
Yeah.
No, you can't at that point because I looked for an option.
No, there
you
is
know.
a lie option. I don't remember what it was.
There is a lie option.
It was.
She asks you if we'll have time to look for her parents, and you can say, I don't think so, or you can say yes, and it says lie.
Yeah, it says lie.
Oh, then
Yeah.
I didn't even see it.
I
because
didn't. I
don't,
mean, I didn't pick it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was there.
No, I mean, how could you?
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
literally
sure,
blind
baby
to the
girl.
option.
Sure, baby girl.
You're setting her up for a horrible smackdown.
Yeah.
Well, she's kind of setting herself up so insistently.
Yeah, and then she goes missing, and it was fucking horrifying.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, that's an adult grown-up fear right there.
Yeah, no, it's Jesus. Yeah, they did a really good job of capturing that, and
then
it
when
actually
Lee-
another really good one was even before, I think before that, because they have two instances. Obviously, the end of this chapter, she's actually gone, but there was another instance beforehand where you don't know where she is, and everyone's in the house. You're like, "Where's Clementine?" And they're like, "Oh, I think she's downstairs." Or
Yeah,
whatever. Like,
no one's
like,
been keeping
where's
an eye on her.
Clement? Like you're just
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
out,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
Molly gives you shit.
and then
It's
she's
like,
like-
I'm our fucking keeper. It's like,
Yeah.
I look like I'm going to be driven around right now.
and then that's when she actually finds the boat. Oh, Kenny, the boat, and
Yeah.
and but yeah, so back to the end. Yeah, she's actually fucking gone, and you find the hat in the alley, and I knew it was. I will honestly say I didn't know it was coming. Just in looking at the setup,
I
but the
absolutely
giveaway for me
fucking
was
knew.
the reticle showed up on the hat and the box,
Uh-huh.
and as soon as I saw the reticle on the box, I was like, "Fuck, fucking
Yeah, I
fuck."
was like, there's a zombie.
I was like, "Why is there a box with a piece of wood over it?"
I'm just gonna stand here forever.
And I was like, well, I'm not going for the hat. I'm going for the fucking box.
Yeah.
And I went for the box, and you
course.
get bit, and
Yeah, once again, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
no, but it was an interesting moment because I feel like the game really captured, like, I don't know how to say it other than, like, I got as close to that moment as if it had happened in real life as I could get just by playing a game. Because even though you know it's happening, or I mean, I shouldn't say you, I don't know if there are other people who didn't see it coming. Obviously, the three of us saw it coming.
I'm sure there were
I
people.
still felt like, fuck, I can't undo
But
this. There was no
thematically
way
it
to
makes sense
avoid
because
this.
That is Lee's weakness.
No, it
that made him panic and not be careful and not check his corners and not, protect
no,
himself.
it absolutely makes sense. But it's just like, as soon as you see the bite, you're like, there's that small part of you like, how can I not do? Because it's a game. You're playing a game.
Yeah.
So there's a part of your brain that's thinking like, okay, what do I need to? You're like panicking for a minute, just the way Lee is, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of it's the game clashing with like your instincts as a gamer. Like, okay, wait, I need to go back, but it's like, no, this is what's fucking happening, and it's happening, and you got to fucking deal with it. And then, sure enough, everyone rolls up, and I think this is the last option you have before the end of the
Right. Is to
end of the
reveal
chapter.
your bite.
Is whether you tell whether you show them your bite or not.
Yeah.
And then they all start talking to you consolingly like you're dead. Which is true,
So I'm assuming we all told them
because
that
no
we
one
had the bite.
fucking
We all
thinks
showed the
to
bite,
cleave
right?
his arm off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's and then you all decide to go get Clementine, and that's the end of chapter 4.
Yeah, before we move on, can I just say, I think Kenny's... I just wanted to, in case we didn't touch on this enough, I thought Kenny's drive to get the boat after his family was dead was really brilliantly executed. Like, it was such that adult denial thing of, like, I'm
Right.
still hanging on to the mission even though it means nothing
No,
now.
the writing and the voice actor were both great
He's
in that
so
respect.
good.
It was
The writing was so strong that
Yeah.
I would react to something, and one of Lee's dialogue options would be exactly what I just said.
Yeah, that happened a
exactly.
lot.
Like, it would be something like someone would say something and be like, "Why would you do that?"
Yeah.
And then it would come up the prompt, and Lee would
Why
say,
would you
"Why
do
would
that?"
Yeah.
Or just so many examples of that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was really great because I mean the whole time you get the sense that's all he's allowing himself to think about.
Yeah.
He's not even in the space to deal with anything else. No, that was great. So let's see. 5 opens up, and chapter 5 was interesting because it was the most. It felt the most quick to me.
It was actually about half as short as the other chapters.
Yeah, and I felt like that was really appropriate given the circumstances of
Yeah.
what you're dealing with, and
Because it's called No Time Left.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's that, and there's also the fact he's been fucking bit, and
There's also a fucking achievement called Twice Shy, which I found really cruel.
which one was that?
I don't remember what it's for, but the thing is,
Achievement
once
Bar
bitten,
for
twice
Achievement
shy.
Story.
It's so fucked up. It just twisting the knife a little
Oh,
bit more.
jeez.
Whoever named that achievement was a dick.
There's so many examples of that. Like, it's not stealing if you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill you.
Yeah, that one was funny too.
So, we, what did we up? So I think we all, what did I miss this? We all,
Did you show them the bite?
yeah, I showed them the bite, for sure.
Yeah. That would blow up in your fucking face, dude.
Yeah, I was like, that, you have to show them, there's no fucking way. And one of the things is that you were with, excluding Kenny, is you were with basically the most rational members of your group.
Yeah.
And that, at that point, like, if it, if that had happened early in the game and you were with Lily or,
Lee calls Krista and Omid dangerously normal.
Yeah.
Suspiciously normal.
So, yeah, it just made the most sense to show them. And then,
Yeah.
everything happens pretty quick. You guys have to run under and you pass out. And when you wake up, what was it? What did Kenny have? What was he holding?
A bone saw?
Yeah. No, was it a bone saw?
I expected a salt lick, but okay.
Oh,
No,
that's
no.
right, that's right. Yeah. Okay, because I straight up, thought he was going to have a salt lick, but he has a bone saw.
Why would he have a salt lick?
Because that's just Kenny's reaction. He's just got those things, he's got them ready.
He's kept it all this time.
So I thought I might need this again.
Yeah.
So then
Bust
you...
out the salt lick for your son.
Yeah. Oh, God. So then you have to choose whether or not... I cut off my arm.
I did too. My rationale being it might slow down the infection and buy me a little more time.
That was
Like
kind
at that point, I knew it's over, Johnny. He waited way too long to cut it off, and he's gonna die no matter what. I didn't think that we'd have to be scaling rooftops, climbing ladders, especially ladders that were over like 4 foot. It's so funny how the second you cut your arm off, the game dedicates itself to making you regret
Did you,
that as
Aaron,
much
did
as
you
possible.
cut your arm off?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay, so yeah...
That's, well, because I did want it to slow down, but also I thought it would make it more narratively interesting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of did too. And the bottom line is there was a small part of me that... Because, again, my wife is much more about happy endings than
this
I
is
am.
not the right
so,
game.
No, obviously not. But, it sort of placates the even the fantasy that maybe, just maybe, that would somehow work.
And I want to
And-
emphasize that it's not the bleakness of The Walking Dead that I criticize. It's not just because it's cruel. It's because it's fucking nihilistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no humanity to it. It's not interested in exploring anything about humanity or people or characters.
Yeah, it
It's
never
just
shows you anything
ripping
worth
away the
saving. It's always like this is all that's left. There's no. It's like when we were playing Left 4 Dead the other day, and we were talking about the difference between Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Fallout 3 feels like a dead world. Like this is never gonna be again, and everyone in it is just wasting their time. There's no life to it. And New Vegas, it's like this is a new. You really feel like the people here don't even remember the old world. This is a new world, and we're gonna build something interesting, and you
So-
can be a part of that. It's like there's that humanity in it that gives it spark and life and goes, this is something we can survive. That's what makes this game so fucking brutal, is you're always holding on to the hope of maybe you can make Clementine survive, if not yourself.
Yeah.
That's totally non-existent in The Walking
This is a
Dead.
quick little... You're talking about the show.
The show and the comic.
Okay,
It
the
wasn't
comic.
the bleakness of Mass Effect 3's ending that made it bad.
Yeah, no, not at all. It was...
because I've heard that a lot. It's like, oh, you people are just upset because it was a sad ending and you can't handle it.
Right, because they give, and they, in the extended cut, they give you a happy ending, and it's still shit. It's still nonsense. That's not what was bad. Ugh, fucking BioWare. I don't know what the fuck happened. I have a different theory on that, but that'll be a different podcast.
Quick little aside, so are you saying, just because I haven't played either game, but I am interested to play, so are you saying Fallout 3 was not
I would,
good? Or
I would
Fallout
highly
New Vegas?
recommend you play Fallout 3 after New Vegas, because Travis loved Fallout 3, and I found it almost intolerable.
Really?
I mean, it was beautiful to look at, but awfully beautiful. Like, look how ruined everything is. And there's no hope. It's all just... Everyone is just scratching and getting by barely. Whereas
Yeah,
New Vegas,
they're just slowing down the end.
it's literally titans fighting with each other. It's
And
these
the end
brilliantly
is just being
interesting
sex
characters that are forces of will, and all of them are going to dominate the landscape, and they're all clashing with each other, and
Okay.
you're the catalyst with all of them. It feels like such a living place. You can see all the things it could become. None of that is in Fallout 3
Okay.
at all. It's just, this is going to be dead forever. You know, this is the best we can do. We can live in a bombed-out hole and hope it doesn't rain. And in New Vegas, you're like, I can't wait to see what this world becomes. You know, this is so almost something. It's great. I love it.
I remember that. Okay, so bringing it back, yeah, I cut off the arm, and yeah, I thought it was really funny that after that, it's only at that point when you're missing an arm that I thought it was really funny that these people who you're with just watch you do everything.
Yeah.
From finding the ladder to being the one to jump over.
Well, you're still the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was
No,
just
that's
so,
not even why. Their logic is perfect. You're bit. You're definitely going to die, so you do it.
I mean, that part of it made sense, but it was just still funny to kind of like watch. Just
Yeah.
so that kind of...
Dude, when they made him climb the ladder over to the other side and then the ladder fell,
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, jump across. I was just like, fuck you guys.
yeah, yeah. Like, all right, come on, guy.
Yeah.
And Lee has a sense of humor about it, though, too.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, another arm would just get in the way.
Oh, that jump is the most horrifying jump. And they don't really help you climb up, like, in the moment that it really
Yeah,
matters.
they're just
They
like,
don't try
they
to
just
catch
watch
you.
Oh.
They're like, we'll see if you make it, mostly, and then we'll pull you up if you do.
And so then you guys keep going, and that's when you lose Ben. And was there a choice there? Because that whole situation.
No,
was
When you
not
come
at
back-
all.
When you come back, you lose the boat.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Vernon
lose
stole the boat.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so somewhere there's a bunch of, like, 60-year-old cancer survivors pushing a boat down
Yeah.
the street.
Yeah. So
Fuckers.
then, okay, so
And then Ben chews out Kenny.
yeah, that was a great. So that whole basically Ben and Kenny in Chapter 5 are one of my favorite parts. I mean,
Yeah.
because it brings Kenny's story kind of to a really, really nice conclusion, and as much as like. And as much as like all of these, characters have really awful endings, and like in the case of Omid and Krista, it's kind of like ambiguous. Like who knows kind of what the fuck happened to them.
Yeah, we can get into that.
Kenny's story is really interesting, and like I actually really cried when Kenny stays with Ben, because it's just such a fucking human moment. Like
Yeah.
Kenny has really despised this kid for
He's
like
done
what he-
nothing
yeah.
but browbeat the shit out of him and make him feel guilty, like
And-
you murdered my family.
And now this is a world where shooting someone before they are killed horribly is an act of mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, in Ben's case, as you say, he chews, he kind of like explodes in Kenny's face, and Kenny really kind of understands, like, holy shit, like, this kid has been through the exact same stuff I have.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, like, he's not like he's just been.
He basically says that too. He's like,
Yeah.
I've been so focused on my shit, I didn't even
Yeah.
think about what
And,
you
like,
were going through.
The fact, like, what it came down to me, and maybe people interpret it another way, maybe I just added this layer of it, but the way I looked at it is like, Kenny finally kind of connected with Ben on that level, and to me, Kenny's thought process was like, you know what? This kid is so fucking, like, he was just like, I'm not going to let this kid die alone. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that was my thought, because Kenny knew there was, I mean, as far as I know, he had no way of knowing that he would survive, and it was just like, I can't
He
let
had
this
nothing
kid...
to live for.
Yeah, he's like, I have nothing to live for. This kid is about to
Yeah,
die. I'm not going to let this kid die. As far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned, this kid needs to die knowing that, like, someone tried to save him, and that he
Yeah.
was, kind of like what you were saying, he was part of something, and,
Yeah.
like, like, that got to me. Like, I actually really cried, because I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, Kenny, like...
That was his.
Like-
that was his human moment.
Like, yeah, it's like, we had our fucking back and forths, but it's like, that was great. Like,
That's where he transcended the
like,
bullshit.
good for fucking you, man, because...
That's what I love about this game that you never see in the comic or show. They transcend themselves at just the right, most perfect moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel trite. It doesn't feel hack or force. I saw
It's
this
so
entire
natural.
growth cycle, and this is exactly where it would happen, and I'm so glad it happened.
Yeah.
You know?
He doesn't have a boat. He doesn't have his family. This kid is just gonna fucking die on the street. It's like, this kid is gonna die knowing that someone cared, that someone
Yeah.
like fought for him. Like,
Kenny,
That-
who will browbeat you over the smallest thing.
yeah,
Arrow put it perfectly when he said he's Mr. What Have You Done For Me Lately? And he dies for something that's so small, and yet it's so profound for someone who has nothing.
yeah,
Has just had nothing but despair and be a disappointment.
yeah.
You know? As many
Yeah.
times as Lee has tripped over an inanimate object, Ben has disappointed someone.
Yeah. Oh man.
God, Lee falls down so much.
Oh my god, it's hysterical.
Yeah. And so yeah, at this point, I mean, you can definitely feel it drawing to the conclusion because you're just losing people.
Yeah,
and-
they're just starting to, but they're still not culled in a horror movie way where it's like, oh, we're running out of time, kill him. It
Yeah.
still feels like the speed of the bite pushes it forward in a natural way.
yeah, definitely.
You know, and they're like, you just got to keep going. This is my thing now. You know, and Kenny doesn't. I guess he sees that he doesn't have any place rescuing Clementine, or he sees like this is more important. Like this is his moment.
Yeah.
Like this is his moment to give. No one else can give that to Ben.
Yeah.
You know, because they've been fucking this way the whole time. Kenny's one of the best characters ever.
Kenny's fucking. He was such a great character. And it's hilarious. I really didn't like him at the beginning of the game.
No, neither did
and
I.
by the end, I was like, "Oh my god, Kenny, you're awesome."
You know, and Kenny, I was like, am I always going to be arguing with this fucking guy? And do I need to suspect that he's going to fucking let me down at a time where I need him to come through?
And he did the exact opposite.
And
he was just like
yeah, and it still manages to work, you know.
perfectly, yeah.
Oh, it's great.
And then, so Kristen Omid, it's funny they're there and they're necessary, I think. And I mean, what did you guys choose? Did you decide? Did you tell them to take care of Clem, or did you tell them to like find a family?
I told them to get out and wait for Clem.
Yeah, I told them.
I told them to take her.
I told them to take care of her, yeah, and to get out.
She likes them, and I trusted them.
Yeah,
Do the
they're.
best they could.
I mean, and given the layer that she's pregnant, you feel like they have an investment in Clementine, and they would take good care
Out
of
of
her.
everyone living in that world, they had by far the least baggage and the greatest handle on reality.
Yeah,
I never
agree.
looked at Omid and thought he's going to do something crazy because he's unhinged.
And that's
You know.
so crazy because Omid is barely in the game.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
has that he has that laid back, like, I can still find a way to laugh about this or keep it light energy in the apocalypse,
Yeah.
which is a huge deal.
Yeah,
And I'm glad they put him in towards the end because it's such a breath of fresh air. You know, and the worst you're ever worried about Krista doing is just fucking
just like
overbearing,
you out.
mothering someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine her smothering. Like, she's not going to Andrea Yates fucking Clementine or anything like that.
So did anyone? I'm just curious. Did anyone have Krista or Mead go first across the thing?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, I didn't think so.
I didn't think it was an option.
No, it was, but it was weird to me because obviously what happened. You get
Yeah.
across and it falls, and I was thinking like, what would have happened if you? I mean, it's the end of the game,
Yeah.
so I guess they could have just died. But I mean, I don't.
No, they make it.
Yeah, they make it no matter what.
Oh, okay.
No matter what choice you make, they survive.
Okay.
That's what makes the ending ambiguous when you see the two
Yeah.
figures. Yeah.
No, and I figured, but it just seemed kind of funny because I was
Yeah.
like, oh. And yeah, then walking through the zombies into
But
the.
see, but that's so blatant that it had to have been like, yeah, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
I wonder who could possibly choose to send. Yeah, Omid, why don't you do it?
I mean,
Like, motherfucker, you got one arm and you're
You're
about
bit.
to die.
I mean, you got this, right?
Yeah,
buddy?
hey Krista, why don't you scoot your ass across that pole?
It's explicitly mentioned that she's pregnant. He says your leg is busted
Yeah.
and you're walking for 2, so
You're-
I'm going first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only time it's about. I mean, it's explicitly, yeah. So then we get to the last part, which was in
You know what? Before you continue, I just
Okay,
want
what?
I just want to say it feels like when you're trying to change your name in Deus Ex. No, you're John Denton or whatever it was, or JC Denton.
Wait, what?
If you try to change your name, it gives you the option in the beginning of the game. It says
Oh.
blank Denton,
Yeah.
and it's JC, and you can try to change it, and it goes, no, your name is JC. Like, it's just there to fuck with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm sure the dialogue thing that's similar happens exactly like that.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so then
He's
you fall,
not-
and you have this incredible moment of catharsis where you're like, I'm so fucking sick of zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the, I'm
That
tired of
was-
these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane
yeah, that
moment.
was great. I loved that.
You know what
And he
would have
just
made me
fucking
love
walked
it even
through.
more is if he tripped immediately and just died.
Oh, that's it. End
That's
of game.
it. Game
Oh,
over.
fuck you.
That would have made me laugh. I mean, that would have totally ruined
But then
the
we
game.
can't get to the stranger, and
Yeah.
in my, I don't know what you can call him. I want to call him a boss, but he's not really. But
He's the
the
final
stranger
boss,
is one of my fucking favorite things in games ever.
He's
it was,
so catalyzing.
It was just so fucking perfect. It was like because I kept thinking to myself like,
at the end of an action movie, there was a quiet scene where the protagonist sits down with the antagonist and just talks to him.
Yeah.
exactly. It's
It's so anti-game.
Yeah.
it's so perfect too because you don't know who's on the other end of that walkie-talkie, and so you're expecting all manner of things. And like, I kept thinking, like, man, this guy's. I don't know if he's gonna be.
I thought it was
unhinged.
one of the St. John
and-
brothers for real.
Oh no, I didn't.
I'm
No,
like,
I
one of
never
those
had that suspicion.
motherfuckers lived. I should have fucking killed them.
I kept thinking. I for a minute I almost thought it might have been her like actual dad, but I was like, no, that wouldn't really
No,
make
that'll
sense.
make no
No,
sense.
because the guy says, "I've got your parents right here."
No, I know, but just that's what I'm saying. Like for a part of me, I was just like, well, maybe, yeah. But then I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. But I was so glad it was someone you'd never met before because that added so much to the tension.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he fucking knows everything about you. He's just one of the best. Like that guy is everything the governor wishes he could be.
Yes.
Like that guy was.
Because
fucking...
he's a true reflection of intent versus reality.
Yes.
Because like he's such a foil to Lee. He's like if Lee made all
it's
the
like,
wrong
this is
choices
what Lee could
Yeah.
have become
for
if
the
he lost
same
all the time.
reasons. Because he's got a reason for everything that happened, and he's awful, and he has no awareness of how awful he is.
He has no
and he's
fucking
got his
idea.
fucking wife's head in a purse, and
Okay, see that's
you
that's
just
what I
talk to
didn't-
him.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's that I kind of felt like they let you off the hook because this guy is criticizing you for all of the bad things that you did. But then, oh, he's crazy, so it's okay.
I agree with you in that respect. That was the one thing I was like kind of weird about because up until that very moment when you see the purse, you don't see it. I mean, you see it sitting there, but there's no. He doesn't give
You
any
don't think
indication.
there's
Like,
probably a severed head?
yeah,
in that
like
purse.
at no point, and that bugged me a little, but not enough.
What's
to
in the bag?
John Doe has the upper hand. At no point did that didn't take me out of it, and it was just I feel like I can't put into words what was so great because literally that whole moment there's zero music, there's really no other sound effects. It's just you having a conversation with this fucker.
Because it's nothing that you expect.
Yeah,
including the tone Lee takes.
Yeah,
He doesn't
he's-
take a "you're threatening. I'm gonna take you down." You talk to him like another man.
Yeah.
Like look how
Like, that's how you
crazy the
have to.
fucking
Like,
world
it's-
got. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exact.
And
He's
he's pointing a gun at you, but he's being reasonable. He's like, I just want you to understand what happened to me.
yeah. That's such a great point. That is exactly who the governor should be, and that never fucking comes out. But that scene is so enthralling because, and I like that his wife's head was in the purse because it didn't take away from what he was saying about you at all. For me, it was like this guy's batshit nuts, but it doesn't matter. I still have to face I still have to face the situation. And Lee is and I didn't agree with the stranger's interpretation of my actions, but I like that it was the way it was.
Yeah.
I like that there's a crazy guy who's looking at you like you're what's wrong. Like if you were just me, Clementine would not be where she is now, and by extension, my family. Like he's doing so much projecting.
Yeah.
That it's
yeah.
like he's obviously seeing his own family do over. Like, oh, I'm gonna replace the weakness, which is you, with me. Like almost like he's time traveling back into before his family got fucked. It's just so nuts, and yet he's still perfectly calm. He's not screaming it at you. He's just
that
saying
was
it.
the part that was so brilliant. He's just totally fucking.
And he's
calm.
like, and do you have anything to say to me? And he's like, yep, I killed my wife. It's so fucking weird and real.
Oh,
Yeah,
He's like,
it's-
yeah, have you ever hurt anyone you cared about?
I was like, yes.
And you can say yes,
Yeah.
which is the honest answer.
Yeah.
And Lise asks, who did you hurt? And one of the options is my wife.
Yeah.
And that's of course what you
that
say.
moment,
Yeah.
And that's the only moment in the game where you're absolutely honest about what happened.
It's like
You just straight up murdered that guy.
And
Yeah.
what I love about it is, for as crazy as he is, and as crazy as the world is, this room is almost in a different place for a second. Like,
yeah.
we're acknowledging that craziness is at the door, but we're sitting here and fucking saying what we think. Not fucking angry, not fucking losing our shit, pot over your head, now we're struggling. But before that,
Yeah.
it's just so surreal. It's surreal in a way. It's like it feels like a thing of like I wouldn't believe this happened if I didn't see it culminate up to this point.
And it's an interesting thing because it's one of the more normal moments in the game, but it's surreal because of everything that came before it.
Yeah.
It's like two guys having a conversation, and that's weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and the other thing is you can tell he's kind of like working himself up to kill you. Because
Yeah.
you can tell him, you're going to have to kill me. And he says, yeah, I know.
yeah, he's like, yeah. Oh, Jesus, it was so brilliant. What did you guys? I guess backtracking a minute, what did you guys pick? I initially told him I didn't have anything, and then I gave up all my items.
I need to save Clementine, so there's no fucking way I'm giving up my knife. Never.
Yeah, I said I only have this
Never.
radio, and then he kept pointing the gun at me, and he says, "I don't believe you." I'm like, "Oh fuck, he's got me."
I'm
so
like-
I put down the knife too.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I-
Because my thinking was just like, if he finds out I'm lying, like I just don't know, like I can't risk it.
Yeah, the
And
way
I kept
thought
thinking
is,
like, I'm gonna die if I can at least just kill him. It doesn't matter. Like it.
the way I thought he could shoot me, he won't stop me from killing him. Like if he fucking like, cause he pushes you and I go, no, there's really no knife, no, there's no other thing, cause he has to get close to prove it. And that's
yeah.
all the fuck
Oh, yeah,
I need.
he's like, you can
Lee is
search
not
it.
trying to survive. He's trying to win. He
Yeah.
has all of the advantage in that. So I'm like, I will fucking give up my life before I give up this fucking knife. You know,
That's true. I
Because
hadn't
you're
thought
not
of
gonna
that,
kill
yeah.
me with one shot, and I am gonna stab the shit out of you. It's gonna, and you know how strong Lee is. I'm like,
Yeah.
he kills him with one hand.
Yeah.
You know, choking him one-handed, which is like the ultimate
And
man
I
way.
love that that's a callback
Yeah.
to what happened with the senator without
Yeah.
drawing attention to itself.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what's brilliant about it. There's so many callbacks. There's
Everything
the way you
is
meet Clementine,
circular.
finding the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the callback to what happened with the senator. Fucking, we were just talking about it. Yeah, there's lots.
Kenny dealing with his kid
Yeah,
twice.
Kenny dealing with his kids twice. It's so.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
everything comes back around in that game, and in a slightly different context, so that you're forced to look at all of these things and make it's. It felt like they're trying to tell you there's no right answer to every version of this problem. This
Yeah.
problem persists endlessly, and every permutation has a different effect. You know, you
Yeah.
can't just write off all of this. You know, as,
Incidentally-
it's this or that.
Incidentally, nice little touch. I liked that I told Clementine to hit him with the bottle, and it's one of those little things. I love that the bottle didn't break because most bottles don't when you hit someone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like-
Turn.
I like that I put the cleaver down because then she can pick it up.
yeah. Oh, there you go.
See, I didn't want
And
her
fucking
to.
stick him to the bone.
No, I had her do because
Yeah, I
again it
didn't-
came down to I didn't want her to murder this guy.
Yeah, I
It
didn't
was-
want that either. I didn't know that she was going to come out to grab a weapon, but even if I did, I would not have put my knife on the table. I'm like, this is my knife to sink into his face, not
You guys are
hers.
all
So what was your option then? Were you able to use the knife or?
No, you just keep struggling, and the knife never comes up
Oh,
as a
okay.
possibility
Sure.
because you're too busy trying to choke each other to death.
Got
It's
it.
more about getting the gun away, and once that's away, then it's down to hand.
Yeah.
You know, and the knife is out of reach, but I got a good hand. That's all the fuck I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And then
When I'm strangling ain't easy, but it can
Nope.
be done.
yeah, no, I strangled the shit out of him. Like
Yeah.
I was tapping so fast, and I'm so glad, especially now knowing that if you don't, Clem kills him because
That would have made me feel bad.
yeah, that would have been.
Oh my god, because she goes, she shoots him, and he flops off of you, and then she immediately just starts crying.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Because it's terrible. You know,
Yeah.
it's totally terrible. And it's funny, I was just thinking the choking can, in a way, be circular, be seen as the salt lick with Larry when you're trying to revive him and his fucking brain is smashed. You can keep choking him after he's dead, and I did. And I didn't do it ironically,
No,
unlike with Larry, where
No.
I'm like still doing compressions because it's fucking hilarious.
No, there was irony. I was the same way. I was like, I
Like,
kept
I'm
doing
gonna
it.
choke your
and then
head off.
And it was funny because I kept going, but even when I was ready to stop, I said, "Okay, I think he's dead." And my wife said, "No, keep going," and I
Yeah.
just kept
Yeah.
going. I just kept going.
I'm gonna keep choking until they cut away.
Yeah,
'Cause,
exactly.
You know, it's like the ending in Twisted Metal Black with the cop who redoes the sniper shooting. I don't know if you ever played Twisted Metal
Yeah, I'm
Black.
trying to remember which one. Who was
He
that?
is,
Was that?
is in the asylum because he
Which guy was
he went
that?
crazy. He's the cop. He's the ex-cop. He was a sniper, and he
Yeah.
shot the criminal. But in his haste, he accidentally shot the hostage too. So
Yeah.
he goes back to that moment in time and just shoots and makes sure every shot counts. Just shooting the criminal. It was like that energy of like, no, I'm gonna make sure that all of my energy is focused on this, so that
Yeah.
even if you try to do it, I can't go back and go, I didn't choke him enough.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a world I want to live in.
You don't want to choke him not enough.
No, yeah, I don't want to live in a
Too much
world
than
where I
not
can
enough.
have that regret ever. I want to go to my grave going, I choked him sufficiently.
And then
And then you pick up the gun and pop it.
Yes.
yeah, and then the denouement, which
And
is
you explain to Clementine why you understand why I'm shooting him in the head, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't come
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
That's
you wanna
right.
Come back.
We're not monsters, Clementine. We're just doing what we need to do.
Yeah, and then stuff on her.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when I
Which was
disgusting.
disgusting but cute.
And
That's
adorable.
how a little. Yeah, exactly. Ew.
Yeah. Which is funny because when I opened the door, I thought the reason the zombie didn't notice is not
Because
because.
they're too
I thought-
zombified.
Yeah,
I thought that
he
too.
was so
Yeah.
close to turning that he couldn't even recognize him as a person.
I thought
anymore.
the same thing too.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh god, this is so ugly.
That's why I thought it was like Salt in the Wound. I was like, oh, come on, guys. like,
But they're so good with that. They know they never gratuitously put salt. There's never ineffective
yeah, no, it's always
torture. It's always effective.
And then it's interesting because I didn't I don't know that I didn't expect Clem to see her parents, but
I expected her to handle it worse
but
than she did.
But I knew what was happening as soon as she was, you know.
And
like-
yet another example of it doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you have three options and you only get out Clem. Don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she drags you in, and oh my god, that was.
Which is like I was really impressed by that actually.
That whole
Yeah.
sequence is awful, and I remember when the zombie is crawling to get Clem, I tried to reach with the handcuffed arm. Or no, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I tried to grab something off the floor with the cut off hand, and I went, I have no hand!
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's exactly why. I
Which
hate
is
myself.
another little subtle nice thing because of whole phantom limb syndrome. That's probably something we
Yes,
would have done.
I
like-
put completely in the heat of the moment. Every other moment I knew I had no fucking arm. But in that
Yeah.
one moment, and I actually reached twice, I'm like, no hand!
I think I did the same thing. Yeah.
I was so terrified that
Oh,
she was going to get
that
bit.
Was so heartbreaking. There were so many lines in that denouement.
Yeah.
That was
It's-
so heartbreaking. Like,
it's-
like when you explain to her for the first time why you cut off your arm.
Yeah.
Because you were bitten, and you can say, "I'm sorry. I'm supposed to take care of you, but
Watching
I can't
watching her oh my god, watching her reaction is like that. Like
She's so crushed.
I started crying in that moment, and it didn't stop until the end of the game. Like
Yeah, I was.
that was.
Like, I put up the hand. Stage 1 is always hand shield, where I put it. Because Felicia's sitting at her computer, I'm like, don't look at my face. And I just start eating my own face so I won't cry. And I'm like,
now." Yeah, and then you have this big,
I didn't
strong
even-
guy leaning against the view table for the jewelry,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Clem, a little 9-year-old girl, says, "You can lean on me if you have to."
Oh god.
And then at a certain point, like maybe 30 seconds after that, I'm like, there's no. It's like a dam breaking. There's no way to stop. So I just
There's-
start crying. Like I'm like, I'm actually crying.
So then it's just
And
all.
then you have to direct.
It's
Clementine
all
and
the
how
final
to
lessons. I mean,
solve this puzzle and
Yeah.
prepare her to go on without you.
yeah. I had her take the gun first. I remember
That's
saying it,
that's
yeah.
why I was like, always take
Always
the gun
take
first.
the gun first.
Yeah.
And fucking hell.
And then but yeah, when you pass her the bat, I'm like, oh god, this is gonna take a fucking hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
Luckily,
my
it
girl
didn't.
strength.
Yeah,
I think they knew. I think they knew exactly, subtly, how to make it less awful, like, or to make it balanced so that you could focus on the awfulness. Like they didn't make her beat his skull for 10 fucking hours. But if you notice, they also didn't make her take her parents' death so terribly. Like she handled it really well.
I mean, yeah.
I really feel like on some level, she already knew.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, kids are funny. I mean, I've
But-
made it a policy because my wife likes to kind of maintain the image of fun things like Santa, Easter Bunny, and stuff like that. But I've told her I won't lie to my daughter. It's just a thing I have. I don't.
Yeah.
So when she asks me if I believe in that stuff, I tell her no, I don't. But I mean that I tell her you should believe whatever you want to believe, and she'll say things like, well, I think the Easter Bunny's real. I think Santa's real, and it's interesting because my daughter is so smart that to talk to her, I really get the impression that she kind of knows, kind of like what you're saying intrinsically, that these things aren't real, but that she still has a childlike appreciation for
Well,
them and
when
enjoys
I was
them.
She actually says that in the second episode, I think, where you're talking to her about the broken radio.
She knows. Yeah. She
Yeah,
knows
yeah,
it's
yeah,
broken,
she
but
says-
it
she
makes
says
her
she
feel
knows,
bad.
yeah.
I know
Yeah.
it's broken. It just makes me
Just
feel
makes me feel better, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's funny. You remind me when I was a kid. I aggressively pushed my belief in Santa because I knew once Santa went away, Santa would never come back.
yeah,
And Santa brought a Santa gift.
yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta ride this shit as far. So every time I was like, "Oh, you still believe in Santa?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I had to be aggressive with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting because, yeah, like you say, I think she probably does know. She handles her parents' death a lot better than you would have thought. And
Yeah.
handles it better than Lee because just knowing Lee is going to die fucking destroys her.
But that's the thing is,
It's-
imagine if she started freaking out going, "Oh, my parents are dead and now you're gonna die." The gamer would just be like, "Fuck you." Just like, this is just awful. Why would you make me sit through this? They balance it in such a way so that you can be powerfully emotionally affected, but not just fucking cascaded with shit.
No, and
No.
I think that's their credit. And
And
again,
it
it's
goes back to you feeling like, okay, I haven't adequately prepared her for this, but I have done something. I have
Yeah.
strengthened her.
They
Yeah.
let you feel like I've done the best I can do, and I'm not going to die fucking despairing horribly. Like, everything is shit, this child's gonna die. They don't leave you with that unless you're, I don't know, unless
Okay,
you
and
love
the
to
last minute
fantasize.
advice, and once again, the interface takes this last chance to fuck with you.
yeah, Clementine will remember that.
Yeah.
She remembers everything you tell her.
But
because-
it's true. I mean, I don't think that was a fucking with you thing.
No, I think it is true, and I think it's poignant to and as far as the gameplay, it's telling you like she's gonna remember this shit, like what you are saying.
It's fucking with you as in it's lying to you.
No, yeah,
it's
but
fucking
yeah.
with you, like,
It's just
remember
twisting
this
the
mechanic.
knife a little bit.
Yeah, it's like reminding like what you say to this girl matters
But
within the scope of this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. They de-emphasize the choices and emphasize the things that you tell her.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the choices you make because no matter what happens, you're always going to end up in this jewelry store. But
Yeah.
it does matter what you tell her because she's going to go on without you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're always going to end up handcuffed.
And then there's the last choice, which this was an interesting discussion to have because
Yeah.
what you said, I'll miss you. Did you both of you say that? I can't remember.
Of course. That was the
I
only
said,
option.
I'll miss you, but
And-
in my head canon, it's I love you.
Yeah, no, and yeah, we talked about like where obviously if it wasn't a game, it was real life. That would be the first thing.
Yeah.
And then but it was interesting because if for whatever weird reason, I think I said this. I don't know if it was outside the podcast or earlier on, but I said if a child has to hear one thing, I really feel like as much as I want my daughter to know I love her, I feel like the best thing you can say is you'll be okay. That was the option I saw, and I thought I have to say that because. If you say, I really feel like if you say I'll miss you, or if you say anything very sentimental, of course it's great that the child knows that, but you are not offering that child any comfort. And I felt like as a parent, you have to be able to say you'll be okay because you want the child to know in as much as every way you can that, I showed you what I could.
Yeah.
You're strong. You're intelligent. You're gonna be okay.
It's so
And I felt like that was the most appropriate response that you could give this
Yeah.
little girl's like, you'll be alright, and it fucking destroyed me.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because me being me, like, I didn't have a dad, so I totally see where you're coming from. And when I put myself in the child's shoes, to be told by this guy who's basically kept me alive but cared, I'm gonna miss you, like, is saying you have value. It's like something to live for. Like, I have to live for this person who's dying.
Yeah.
They cared so much. They put so much energy. And in this last moment, they're just saying it more. They're not going, I'm dying. they're using their last
Yeah,
breath
he's
to tell
like
you,
trying to spit out
you
as much
have
advice as
value.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I had to give that. Like, that was the thing that was like, I have to have Clementine believe that she's worth living. Like, she's worth keeping around. Like, you need to live because you matter.
Well, I mean, I don't remember the
We're
other...
strangers. We started as strangers, and you're the only thing that matters to me.
Yeah.
I thought that was powerful in that way.
And that's what's great. I think that they both were. I don't remember the other two options, but I don't really remember there being a bad last choice. I mean, I could be wrong.
There was 3 options where I'll miss you, you'll be okay, and don't be afraid.
Yeah, I mean, none of those to me strike me as really bad things.
Don't be afraid sounds a little too Mufasa-ish.
It's a little, but I mean, that's still, again, kind of a little in touch with the you'll be okay. Whereas you'll be okay is like confident building.
Don't be afraid is something you tell someone who's dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most appropriate, but it's still not terrible. Like,
Yeah, no, none of them are terrible.
Like, I think worse would have been like, hey, don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
You die.
His last words, Ayo, whistle tips go.
Oh man, when he started to Starts breathing heavily. I'm like, no.
Bitch had it coming.
Game is the game.
Yeah.
No, so
Ride or die.
and that was the conclusion to, like, seriously one of the best games I've ever fucking
Well, I
played.
still think we need to talk about the last and most important choice, which is, do you have Clementine
Oh,
shoot you or
that's,
not?
I can't believe it. Yeah, I
We
had her.
can't
I had her.
not touch on
I had
that
her
one.
shoot me. I had to.
The reason I had her shoot me was because I wanted to prepare her to do that in the future, which she absolutely would have to do.
I'm right there with you. That was, I mean, there was that, and I felt like, you know, for her to walk away and kind of know, like, she saw her parents become those things, and I feel like she had the time to kind of, you know, move on. I think she would have with Lee as well, but to know that that Lee did not become that, and that she, you know what I mean? It's almost like the reverse of
These are
the parental and the Doug situation, where in this particular instance, I feel like,
you just like Kenny need disclosure.
yeah, like, she needs to know that, you know, he did everything and that she kind of gave him what she could, because that's what you're building her towards, is, like, you know, being that person.
these are
Because
all
as sick and dark as it
rationalizations.
is, a bullet in the head is how you show love in this world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are all rationalizations that I said to myself going into the choice, and then when the moment
I know, I
fucking
totally
came,
understand, dude. You couldn't have her do it.
I
get
went.
it.
I understand that she needs to get used to shooting people before they turn, but not Lee. Because this journey is so much more. Like, Lee is not just any other person who's gonna turn. Lee is a moment in her life, you know, and yes, she's gonna she always has the opportunity to come back and get that closure when Lee is a zombie, as awful as it is. However, killing someone that you have such an emotional attachment to just so they don't turn was like so Lee's needs over Clementine's needs, because it's such an awful thing to make Clementine do. And when she had the gun, I just couldn't do it. And I tried so fucking hard to tell her, please shoot me, so that, because I rationalize as an adult will that you don't want to worry about me later. But then I thought, this is a fucking child who has been through what a soldier at war has been through, you know, and this is like parenting on a completely different level. There's, you know, the saying blood is thicker than water actually has to do with bloodshed on the battlefield, and water refers to blood from the womb. That is how I felt in that moment. Like, that bond was so much more powerful than her bond with her parents, whether that's fair or not. When she saw her parents as zombies, it was awful, but she was okay. But shooting Lee was way, like, not okay. I could see it looking at her. This wasn't a thing that was okay, no matter what.
What does she do if you have her walk away? Is she...
You just tell her to
takes one
run.
last look at you, and you pass out and lean against the radiator.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to black.
You die peacefully. And you don't go, "Rah," you know, nothing. Because, again, they don't
You
do that
just pass
shit.
Out,
Yeah.
You fall against the radiator gently, and then it cuts to black. And
It's
it
just
says,
sad.
Walking Dead,
Yeah.
the Telltale game.
But, like, of all the things I gave her, the thing I wanted to give her the most was not that. You know, like, I've worked so hard to keep you from that. The last thing I'm going to let you do is do it with me. You know what I mean? And that for me represented Lee's arc coming around, all the way around, of I've killed a human being. And whether it's quote-unquote right or not, and this is what Lee says when you pick this option, killing a person who's alive changes you. It's an awful thing, and you can't get rid of it. And I don't want you to ever have that feeling.
Oh, he says that's like
Yes,
actually what he says.
that's
Oh, okay.
exactly
Yeah.
what he says.
Yeah, depending on the circumstances of the game, he brings up a person who has died in the course of the game in order to make his point.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's just, like I said, I was so, shoot Lee, closure. You can't give closure to a 9-year-old. You give closure to an adult. An adult grows up and finds closure. A child only finds horrible trauma. That's where all trauma comes from. You never see a fucking kid who has a grown up, like, he's 7, oh, my dad beat me, but I'm okay with it now. Like, I've faced my demons. He's 7. He only gets demons at this point in time. Let Clementine grow up, and like I said, you're chained to a radiator. She can always come back. You know, she can always undo it if that's something she needs for her growth. But in that moment, you can't take the bullet back ever. And just as you're saying, she's gonna she's gonna think about what happened to Lee. She's gonna think about what she did if she does it. You know.
And again, I think it's testament to the fact of it's testament to what being a parent means because you can't know these things.
Of course,
that's what's great about this discourse because everyone and I are both right, and you're right, and we're both all wrong too because it could be anything. She could have that closure and it makes her stronger, like what Arrow and I are hoping for.
Yeah,
she could be exactly what you're saying. She might regret it but come back and then she'll be okay. Right. For us, she could be fucking crippled for life. For you, she could kill herself before she has a chance to get closure because as a child.
Yeah.
What's that?
You don't know how your kid's going to handle it.
Yeah, you don't know, and that's what's so fucking brilliant about it. Because you have these options, and it's like you have no idea. You just made the best choice you could with what you thought you knew, and God fucking speed Clementine, because a whole generation of gamers fucking loves you, and you're not even a real character.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's just, it's...
But yeah, such a powerful ending, and especially with games. Games are terrible at doing that.
Yeah, they are.
They just kind of end.
Most games they just
There's never nuance. You either have to win completely or lose completely. Like, there's got to be some gamey thing to it. It can't just be, this is out of your control, and you can only hope that the best will happen. That's so anti-climactic and, like, anti-gaming, structure-wise. Yeah. Everything is always so wrapped up in games.
Yeah.
And I was afraid that the next shot would be Clementine wandering into, like, a military place, and they're like, oh, we're rebuilding civilization. It's over now. You don't have to deal... And it would be like, now you're just trying to make... The power is not knowing.
Yeah, that's what makes it all... I mean, because... And that's the beautiful thing about the other ending, is she sits down, she sees two people in fucking black. And it's like...
Yeah.
That's literally...
Where you hope that you've taught her correctly.
Exactly, and that's exactly what being a parent is, because one day, my fucking daughter is going to be out there by herself, and she's going to be making decisions based on everything I've done to equip her, and I'm going to have no say. At all. Whether I'm dead or alive. Right. Like, it's all her at that point, and it's...
If she had wandered to some, like, military outpost and it was a touch...
that would have been...
Then everything you said would have not mattered at all. Well, you're going to be okay. It doesn't matter.
So
Good thing Batman exists in this world.
Yeah.
Thought about getting married, that I would play Silent Hill 2 again, just to make sure I really mean it.
I don't think...
And if I ever thought about having children, I would play The Walking Dead again, just to make sure I really mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to say, as a person who doesn't have a child and doesn't intend to have a child anytime soon, this was the closest in experience I had to raising a child.
And I'd honestly say it's a good one.
And it felt...
If you're playing it for more than the game, and you are picking up all of the nuance, as you are, like, you would actually be better equipped to raise a child than someone who just kind of thinks they know what they're doing.
And that's the whole fucking point, is when you experience art, you're hoping that it makes you a better person.
Yeah.
That it shows you something that you wouldn't have ordinarily seen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or it challenges you and challenges you to be different, or challenges what your notion of yourself or anything is, Art always makes you change in some way, whether that means grow or alter. That's what the point of art is. When you play a fucking video game where all you do is shoot shit, that's not art. It's just entertainment, A game that actually makes you think, holy shit, I feel like I raised a child who maybe survived, but
I'll never know.
And I'll never know. Makes such a fucking enormous impact. But we're still a long ways away from gaming becoming mostly that, unfortunately. I'm glad...
Stuff like this is very underrepresented. hours.
I don't even know if I would necessarily need mostly, but maybe just a good chunk. Because I mean, even most films are shit. But I mean,
But there's so many.
But there are a lot of
that
good
there are
ones.
so many good.
and
ones.
that's what I'm saying.
I
is
see
like,
at
I would,
least 2 or 3 good films a year. I see this game.
The last game that made me feel this this was probably BioShock 2, and that I mean, this takes a huge step above that.
Yeah, I liked.
but-
Bioshock 2 was child's play compared to
Yeah, I
Yeah.
liked BioShock 2. I didn't love it. I can't remember the last game that I loved or had such a profound impact on me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and
You know, even as much as I loved Silent Hill 2 as an artistic venture, take a shot, emotionally, this game far exceeds it in
No,
heart power.
it
Really?
is
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I don't connect with what James did. I never did. And that's fine. I didn't need to, and I was fascinated by his journey. And I like how each ending perfectly wraps up whatever connotation the player
Really?
might be in.
Even the UFO dog ending.
Well, no one cares. No one gives a shit about that. But Walking Dead is like right in your face with your own belief system and what
Fucking
matters.
humanity, yeah.
You know, and it so expertly reinforces that the kind of person you choose to be is what matters in the end, not the circumstances you face. Like, you get thrown through so much unfair shit in that game, and there's nothing you can do to avert it. People will die no matter what the fuck you do, and it's unfair. The only thing you can choose is what kind of man you are. But
Yeah.
that's the only thing
That
that really
matters,
matters.
yes.
And that's the thing I took away more than anything, is that no matter what, everything that happens in life is just a fucking thing that happens. But every choice you make as a person is hugely important for you and the
And
people
for your
around
children.
you. Yes, you know, and caring and having a connection to the people around. Like Kenny, I argued with the whole game, but when he died, I was crushed when he died. I
Yeah,
was like,
Sam.
Yeah.
fuck, you know, because it just reminds you of your own humanity, whether you want to be reminded or not. And games don't do that ever.
Yeah, very,
They just
very
don't.
rarely.
You know, I play games and they're entertaining as shit. Sometimes they're bleak as shit. You know, sometimes they have really witty dialogue, but never do they dig into the core of what being a person is. You know, and I don't know, like I said to Arrow, when I finished this game, I just got mad. I just got mad. It's like, I can't believe gaming has been around this long, and I felt this so
like that,
few
yeah.
times.
Yeah.
And so much money I've spent on this horse shit schlock. Shooter after shooter. Puzzle games, adventure games, sports games, horror games. None of it made me feel shit compared to this game. And this game cost $25.
Yeah.
And it made it look easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so,
it
it
did.
just feels so
It was
natural.
effortlessly
Like, how
brilliant.
could it have gone any other way?
And anyone who shits on this game is a fucking sociopath. They're a fucking
That's
weirdo
what I wanted to
lunatic.
get to,
Yeah.
There was criticisms that I found of the game.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear some of these actually.
it's just gonna make me mad.
Yeah.
Just give me one. Give me one good one.
Your choices don't matter.
Ugh.
See, it's
Fuck
just...
you.
That's the point.
You know what? And I said this to Arrow when this originally came up. These are gamers that don't know how to confront the fact that they were actually challenged to feel emotion in a game. Because I had to confront that feeling myself. When I realized I'm going to die and Clementine's going to be alone, my instinct was, no, this is a game. I can't feel this strongly. It was shame.
Yeah.
Like, this can't evoke this much for me. And then it was like, why am I fighting this? I can imagine
It's
a
a
ton of
fucking
people
good story.
not
It's-
being able to see that.
Yeah,
and just going,
yeah.
no, it's a game. It didn't behave like a game is supposed to behave.
And that's what they said about movies like
game
100
gives me an
80
ending.
years ago. And you know,
That's the other criticism. Oh, this isn't really a game. It's just a graphic novel.
oh fuck you.
And that is just ignoring... it's just blinders in another sense. Because like we said, the gameplay is so simple that anyone can play it. That alone makes it fucking genius enough. The fact that I can give this game to my mom and I know she can beat it says
Yep.
volumes about its accessibility. But beyond that, the things that they subtly make you do within the game to reflect on what they want you to reflect on, it's just an idiot statement. It's like someone looking at the fucking Sistine Chapel and going, "It's just paint." Yeah, you're a fucking idiot. It's just idiocy. Like, there's nothing to even say to it. It's like, oh, you're that dumb. Like, it's unbelievable how not smart you are. I can't have this conversation with you. You look at a telescope and you think that could break a walnut open. It's like, there's no conversating with someone like that.
I love your analogies.
Resentment towards Clementine, like it's just an emotional manipulation. She's just a morality chain.
Yeah, these are people that just feel guilty about feeling. I don't know what to say to them. Yeah, you felt something and you feel dirty. I'm sorry, it happens.
Like you read a book, or you watch a movie and you cry, and it's the same difference.
I read Where the Red
don't
Fern
exist.
Grows.
Like...
Yes, they're not real. Clementine doesn't exist. Clementine is a woman that's doing the voice of a girl.
Yeah.
Like some blonde woman who's just doing a kid voice.
But you feel things.
I read Where the
Asshole.
Red Fern Grows. I don't give a fuck about dogs. That book made me cry like a retarded baby. Like, I reached the end and I was just inconsolable. And I was told, this book's gonna make you cry. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about dogs. Why would I cry? I didn't even make it to the end before I was like, that's so sad. And then I gave it to Eric Aldrich, and I'm like, dude, this book will make you cry. He's like, this book's not going to make me cry. And sure enough, like 2 months later, he's like, I was reading in class and I had to stop because I was crying. It's like, art affects you. Let it. Yeah. It's okay. You don't have to be ashamed that you were emotionally affected by something. It's not weak to feel. It's weak to not feel. That's the thing. You know, that's the thing that I got from The Walking Dead more than anything, is that suppression of emotion, of empathy is weakness. That's what weakness is, because you can't build
I really got the
anything.
impression that these criticisms were being written by very young gamers.
Yeah, they just don't know.
Yeah,
they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's like going Silent Hill 2 is bad because it's hard to run. Okay.
Right.
You don't get it. I get it. It's fine.
Because, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, we're at an age where it's reasonable to expect that we could have children. We may have even thought about it, or we may actually do have children.
Heyo.
I played this fucking game, and I swear to you, and I had this conversation with Felicia not that long ago. We were walking through South Shore, and I was like, after playing this game, and I know this sounds fucking stupid, but I just sat there and thought about it, and I thought the chance that I will never have a child feels so unlikely for the first time. And that is such a bizarre feeling. I have no plans to have them. None whatsoever. And at 18, I was adamant that I would never fucking have kids. But I played this game and went through this experience and sat there and thought, I'm probably going to have kids in my life. Don't know when it's going to fucking happen, but it seems impossible that it won't.
Likely.
Yeah, it just became real. It's fucking... That came from a game.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The idea that came from a video game is fucking bizarre to me.
Yes.
Because it's still such in the early stages. It's still growing. It's still trying to find what it is and what it wants to be.
And how many games aspire to be this? How many?
2.
None? I've played 1. We talked about it for a while now.
For 3 hours, I think.
Everything else is so wrapped up in pretension and
They
entertainment.
so nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't even... They're talking about doing a sequel, but I don't...
I'm not going to play it.
I'm debating. I don't
need to.
I would consider it if it has nothing to do with Clementine.
I'm going to play it because I'm so in love with the writers at Telltale for the craft that they have.
No, that's what I'm saying. If
it's not good, I'm not going to let it poison what I've already felt, because I can segregate like that. I've already cut off the Mass Effect 3 ending and shot it into space. It's just a game that ends abruptly.
I think I'm between you two, because I feel like I will play it if it doesn't involve. I feel like if they try to pick up Clementine, it does diminish the story a bit for me, because it's
I would
just
be
so
curious
perfect.
to see if Clementine was the playable character.
I would hope not.
And how I would feel about
because
it.
I almost
I would hope not.
I feel like the closest they could get to bringing Clementine back, and I would be okay with it, would be if she was an NPC and she was an exact reflection of what, like, you know, they took all the data from the first one, and she was a reflection
can never
of
do
what.
that, though.
I'm not saying they could, but I'm saying that's the only way that I would be okay with it, is if she could be a reflection of what you saw,
right?
Or like, I mean, what you did, and then you get to see it. But even I'd be a little iffy with.
That saps the strength of the first.
And that's why I'm saying I'd be iffy with it.
The point is, you don't know. You just cross your fingers and hope that she listened to you.
Yeah, like we said earlier, not knowing is is where.
So
the
that's why
power
I'm
is.
saying like it's hard. Like
So
it's
you
yeah.
either don't have her at all, or and the only reason I like Clementine as a playable character is because
you connected with her.
no,
Really?
it's because it's provocative. Because when you see that, you're instantly conflicted and afraid. Like they can so fuck this up. But in a way, that fear is a compliment to them. That you hear that and go, why would they do that? That's so
No, see,
easy to
I don't
fuck
wanna
up.
play it because I'm Lee and I'm dead.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, I think that's a good argument. I'm dead. I can't play this again.
Yeah. That's why everyone only plays The Walking Dead once.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It's
I
one of the
couldn't
only
play
games
through it
I
again because the choices I made were the choices.
They were the
to
choices,
make.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like
No,
to play through it again.
false. You went back and changed it, you cheaters.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
moment because I was like, "This fucking sucks."
Yeah, I had two of them. What were those two I said? One of them was I wasn't fast enough, but it wasn't the decision I would have made anyway because I
Yeah.
didn't want her to eat.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other one? Oh, the other one.
Pitchfork.
The other one wasn't the decision I made because my wife wanted him
Yeah.
fucking dead.
Because your wife screamed for blood. Because your wife is like the fucking guy from Gladiator.
Are you not entertained? Oh Jesus!
Yeah, no, I completely agree with her. It was the
Yeah.
right call to make until Clementine saw that it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the benefit of a video game is I can unmake a choice.
Yeah.
But the important choices, you know,
I wouldn't.
you
yeah.
couldn't unmake or it was irrelevant to unmake. That's why I felt like it didn't matter. You know.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. Those choices didn't matter. The
My
choices
computer
that really
sucks.
mattered were what you tell her.
Yeah, exactly. And those you couldn't really see reflected in anything. You just had to have it on faith that it was all going to work out. So anyway, I think we thoroughly covered the Walking Dead game. If you haven't played it, I don't know how you
837
made it to the end of
universes
this.
out of 2 planets. It's that good.
Yes,
That's my rating.
yes. I'll give it 500 billion golden shoehorns.
It's so rare that that a work of art changes your life.
10 means nothing now because so many lesser games have also been given 10. I don't even
Yeah.
think it can be given a number score.
I know that's
The
why I would.
Walking Dead got middling, got a lot of...
Because reviewers are
It got middling
fucking
reviews, like 70s
idiots.
and 80%.
We've covered this topic before.
Yeah,
Reviewers are
it's
paid
they're
to be
retarded.
stupid. They're valueless people. You pay them money, you're already ruining their opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. The fact that it didn't run away with every single award you could possibly mint just says everything you need to know about what's wrong with the gaming industry.
Yeah.
The fact that people aren't fucking clawing each other's eyes out going, what the fuck? Every single person who won a fucking,
But yeah,
whatever
the fact that I
award
can
that
sit
even
here and be like,
means.
yeah, this game changed my life. I'm actually rethinking about whether or not I want to have kids.
Yeah,
And you gave it
I'm
fucking 70, that's meaningless to me.
yeah, I'm giving thought to a thing that is an adult thing in life. No game is. I can only imagine going on stage at some whatever fucking award show they're. Could you imagine beating Walking Dead for anything? I'd just be like, I'm sorry, this is the dumbest thing. I'm actually part of the dumbest thing that's ever happened on this stage. So I apologize, and I'm just gonna give it to them. And if you want to get the statue reworked or whatever, I mean, this holds no value for me because I just made a game. You made a thing that changed a life. So, you know,
Oh Lord.
it's just nonsense. And anyone who, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we can say about this game. It's one of the greatest
I know
things
it won
I've ever
the
played.
Spike VGA award or whatever.
Oh, fuck Spike TV.
I'm just saying that's the one right thing they've done, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. I love this game so much. I'm making everyone I know play it. I sent it to you, obviously.
Yeah.
After I was done with it. I'm making my mom play through it now, and she doesn't want to because it's too rough for her.
Yeah, I bought a copy for my mom on Steam, and then her computer's shitty, so I bought another one on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, I'm
'cause
probably
she
gonna
has
buy
one
this
in her
for
house.
my mom.
And I had a
got-
conversation with
I
her.
got it for my brother and his fiance. I got it for some very good friends of mine who have children, and they don't even want to touch it.
Yeah. I actually sat in
It'll
a car
make
with-
them hug him tighter, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sat in a car with my mom and I said, this game made me understand as an adult for the first time how fucking terrifying parenting is and how important it is. And I didn't have any connection to that as an adult before going through this weird experience.
Yeah.
You know, and I have no real insight into actually having a kid yet because I still don't have one. But I had an experience that can only be categorized as
A glimpse.
transcendent. It changed me as a person in a weird way that I still haven't quite figured out, and to what extent. But I'm thinking about things that I don't fucking think about. You know, it's affected the way I've thought about my writing and about myself. You know, and there's no more profound statement to make than that.
Yeah, that's so strange. I mean, just yeah, I don't think I've ever been as deeply affected by anything as by this.
Yeah. So what can you say about it besides that? There's nothing more you can say.
I mean, I'd be interested because I mean, lots of people reviewed the game. I haven't heard anyone specifically tied in with. I am also a parent, and I think I'm the only person I know whose opinion I have because it's my own, obviously. It's
Right.
a stupid thing to say, but I mean, I will say that it's definitely.
Yeah, your daughter's 8 years old, so
Yeah,
Jesus
so
Christ.
it hits super close to home, and it's a fucking great piece of work because it really, in the most subtle, nuanced ways, just encapsulates what it means to be a parent. And obviously, some of it is not so subtle because you're in a fucking zombie land, but it's when you get down to it, if you're really, really paying attention, it has that effect. As you know, Brian is saying, it'll make you rethink. Like, wow, this is fucking crazy shit. This is an important role. This is not something to take casually. This is, you know, it matters. And the fact that a game says that, as we've just been saying for the last like 10 minutes, is just fucking amazing. And
In the same way that I would say with Silent Hill 2, you can dig and dig and dig and just keep finding more. Take a shot. This is the same thing, but with not just with art, but with life. Like, you will find yourself having fucking opinions that you didn't know you had, and facing thoughts that you didn't think you'd think. You know, and the more you dig, the more is in there. And it's just so exquisitely crafted. It's so well crafted, you don't realize it's crafted while you're playing it.
it's, yeah.
And when you go back
it's
and look at it, you're
seamless.
like, it's so well put together on so many levels. I don't know why anyone says there's like a fucking weakness to this game. I don't understand those people. I really don't. So
Well, it's because it's like, oh, there's not enough zombie shooting in this game.
yeah, those people are fucking
There's
idiots.
Left 4
Play
Dead.
Left 4 Dead 2, which
It's
is what I
fun.
did for
Yeah,
the next.
exactly. It's a great game.
We've
It's
been
fun,
playing
enjoy
Left 4 Dead
that,
2
and
trying to
then
wash the
when
fucking.
you want to feel something, go play Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So I think we've said everything that we
I
need to
think
say.
so.
I mean, I guess we could talk some more, but it's almost 12, and we've been here for
3.5
goddamn near
hours.
4 hours.
Didn't we do this last time?
Longer than the music podcast.
Yeah, we've officially talked
Is
about
it
this
longer?
more than the music of
Oh
our
my
childhoods
God.
combined.
But there
And
really
I feel
doesn't
like-
that much to go over.
Yeah, and I feel like we could probably dig some
We
more
could
out
keep
if we thought
going.
about it. Yeah,
We could definitely keep going. Travis needs to play this.
yeah, it's a crime.
I'm gonna-
Needs to play this.
I'm gonna be on him way more to play it though, because this is
I told you to finish it,
Yeah, and now you know why we were harping on you to finish
Yeah.
it so much.
I'm really glad
and I
did.
totally understand why you stopped at 3 because I had a moment of like, can I keep going through this? Because that was
Yeah.
awful.
Oh Jesus! All right, well,
So I
guess
guess
we'll be
this
signing
was,
off. Thank you, Arrow, for
yeah.
joining us.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure as always.
I have very strong feelings about this game.
As
That's
did
why
we
I-
all.
Yes, we're still talking about it months later on a semi-regular basis, possibly the fault of the TV show. Anyway,
Yeah, every time the TV show comes up, we have to compare it to the game.
yeah, it's impossible not to. So this has been.
Let's hope Robert Kirkman keeps having ideas and then leaving them to other people.
I hope
That's,
Robert Kirkman has an idea and buys a gun. That'd be great. No matter
writes
how
it on
that
a little
turns
note,
out, it's
write
right.
it on a post-it and
Yeah.
give it to someone else.
Post secret. So this has been Downloadable Something, or as I like to call it, Brian and Lucio's Trader Hour,
We love you,
with-
Travis.
with guest appearance by Arrow. He won't listen to this. It's fine. It's totally cool. We'll have to use a different opening. We'll have to record all of his lines from the opening, but your voice, and just
Oh
make
my
it seem
God.
like you were always there. Just erase him from a
Yes.
picture like Stalin. Yeah.
I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to make excuses for it. It was just beauty.
Yeah, see, we're already halfway done. So we're gonna cut some liners and pretend Travis never existed. You go to bed, because it sounds like it's probably, if it's 12 here, it's like 4 there.
4 o'clock.
Yeah. I mean, the listener is probably listening to this whenever. It has no relevance whatsoever. And they probably didn't make it this far anyway. So, yeah. It's wrapped up. I'm going to press stop recording now.
Au revoir.
Yeah. Go fuck yourselves.
Atop the crags and cliffs the air is thin, so we'll find a mountain path on down the hill. Meet me where the snow melt flows. It is there, my dear, where we'll begin again. Skip and stones, braiding hair, last year's antlers mark the trail. Take us back, oh, take us back, oh, take us back. Take us back, oh, take us back, oh, take us back. When the higher hills have turned to blue and the waves are lapping where the children grew, all that we have known will be an echo of days when love was true. Muted voices just beyond the silence.